Br Qianming let out a scream that was extremely sad, and the sound was as harsh as a slaughtered pig. Br his body curled up on the ground, twitching violently, and cold sweat fell from his forehead like a waterfall, instantly soaking his clothes. He felt the heartbreaking pain coming from his lower body, as if he had lost something. Chu Feng's foot still stepped on his thigh, and the strength did not relax at all. A genius who has not grown up is just an ant. A simple sentence, but it carries a domineering look on the world. In the face of absolute strength, the so-called talent and the so-called future are just a mirror. So what if Qianming has the 9th level alchemy talent? In front of him, a Yuanying realm monk, he is still vulnerable and can be crushed to death if he wants. Qianming's screams gradually became fainter, and his eyes widened. He wanted to threaten Chu Feng with harsh words, but the severe pain made it impossible for him to speak. His vision went black and he fainted from the pain. The square fell into a dead silence for an instant, and everyone was stunned by the scene in front of him. After a long time, there was a burst of whispers in the square. Chu Feng is really overbearing, he actually killed Qianming directly. Qianming is the future alchemy emperor with 9th level alchemy talent. Isn't he afraid of Qianming's revenge in the future? Qianming after all, Ming is a disciple of the Danyang sect, and he is so talented. If Chu Feng deposes him, the people of the Danyang sect will definitely stand up for Qianming. Sun Yuan stood there, looking at the miserable appearance of Qianming being deposed, and the flattering smile on his face instantly solidified. He was trembling all over, his legs were weak, and he almost collapsed to the ground. Chu Feng is right in saying that a genius who has not grown up is an ant. Until Qianming completely clings to other major forces, he cannot offend Chu Feng. Sun Yue looked at everything in front of her, the despair in her eyes gradually faded away, replaced by a trace of complicated emotions. Chu Feng is still the same Chu Feng, still so domineering, still so invisible. Chu Feng slowly retracted his feet and his eyes calmly swept across the entire audience. All the monks who looked at him lowered their heads subconsciously, not daring to look at him. He sneered, ignored Qianming who fainted on the ground, turned around and walked in the direction of Chu Mansion. Shengguan quickly followed Chu Feng, his steps quick but cautious. There were too many questions in his mind. Master clearly entered the dam pagoda, and the dam pagoda lit up with 9 layers of golden light. That means someone must have triggered the 9th layer of Dan Dao talent. Everyone thought it was Qianming, but he wouldn't believe it even to death. Qianming knows what he is capable of best. Refining a 4th grade Jade Phoenix pill, even if it is 80% effective, will never trigger the 9th level talent. Back then, the alchemy king was so amazing and talented. The elixir he refined in the alchemy pagoda was a 6th grade elixir, but he only received a 7th level talent. Why did Qianming have it? The only possibility is master. But if the master is the true possessor of the 9th level talent, what about the elixir he refined? If master really succeeded in refining the 9 transformation condensation pill, why not use it to prove himself? But if the master failed in refining the alchemy, how should we explain the 9th level talent? Shengguan wanted to ask several times, but he swallowed the words again. After a long while, he finally couldn't hold himself back and spoke tentatively. Master, you are in the dam pagoda. Chu Feng's footsteps paused slightly and did not look back. Qianming is a 9th level alchemy talent, and will be the future alchemy emperor. If you change your sect now and become his disciple, it's still too late. Shengguan's whole body tightened suddenly, as if he had been drenched in ice water. I don't dare, how can Qianming be compared with my master? I will only recognize you as my master in this life, and I will never have any second thoughts. After the Shou Yuandan incident, he has long been convinced of Chu Feng's alchemy attainments. Even if the whole world thinks that Qianming is a 9th level talent, he also firmly believes that the real genius is only his master. At this moment, a gentle figure walked forward quickly and took Chu Feng's arm affectionately. Husband, how about we move out of Qingshan City? No matter where you want to go, I will accompany you. Chu Feng looked at Zhao Yarong's worried face, with a hint of doubt in his eyes. Why do you want to move? Qianming has awakened the 9th level of alchemy talent. Zhao Yarong frowned slightly. You abolished him today, he must hold a grudge. With his 9th level of talent, he will be trained by the Danyang sect in the future. The Danyang sect is the top sect of the Dafeng dynasty, with a profound foundation. BRBR Although Chu Feng is at the nascent soul realm and can cover the sky with one hand in Qingshan City, facing such a large sect, it is simply like a fly shaking a tree. BRBR, I'm afraid that he will rely on the power of Danyang sect to take revenge on you in the future. BRBR Chu Feng looked at Zhao Yarong's worried look, raised his hand and patted the back of her hand gently. BRBR don't worry, there is no need to move, BRBR let him have sweet dreams for a few days. When the people from Danyang sect really come, he will wake up from his dream. BRBR hearing this, Shenguan couldn't help but fell into deep thought. BRBR Danyang sect. BRBR Dong, BRBR a deep and distant bell suddenly rang from the bell tower, penetrated the clouds, and spread throughout the Danyang sect. BRBR huh? What's the sound? BRBR, how many years has it been since the luck bell rang? BRBR, I remember never hearing the luck bell ring since I entered the sect. BRBR the disciples of Danyang sect stopped what they were doing and looked up in the direction of the bell tower. BRBR the luck bell is just a legend in Danyang sect. It is said that it will only ring when there is great opportunity. BRBR Dong, BRBR the second bell rang, louder than the first. BRBR twice, the luck bell rang twice in a row. BRBR what happened? Could it be that some peerless genius has appeared in the sect? BRBR impossible, the sect has not had any particularly talented new disciples recently. BRBR the elders also came out one after another, their figures flashing, looking towards the direction of the bell tower. BRBR the bells sounded one after another, getting louder and louder, reverberating like thunder over the Danyang sect. BRBR Su Qing grabbed a white-haired old man next to him, his face full of curiosity. BRBR, Grandpa, what is this bell ringing about? BRBR this old man is Elder Su of Danyang sect. He is looking up at the direction of the main peak, his lips are moving slightly, and he is actually counting the bells one by one. BRBR 1 ring, 2 rings, 3 rings, BRBR as the bells continued to ring, Elder Su's body began to tremble slightly, and the calmness on his face was gradually replaced by excitement. BRBR his breathing became rapid and his eyes became brighter and brighter. BRBR 4 rings, 5 rings, 6 rings, BRBR Elder Su's voice contained a subtle tremor, and the trembling of his body became more and more obvious. BRBR Su Qing became even more furious when he saw his grandfather's abnormal appearance. BRBR Grandpa, what's wrong with you? Isn't it just a few bells? BRBR 7 bells. BRBR Elder Su suddenly raised his voice, his body trembled violently, and an astonishing light burst out from his eyes. BRBR 8 rings. BRBR when the 8th bell rang, Elder Su's eyelids jumped uncontrollably. BRBR having lived for nearly 1,000 years, he never thought that he would hear the fortune bell ringing 8 times in his lifetime. BRBR boom, BRBR the 9th bell rang loudly, echoing over Danyang sect for a long time. BRBR 9 rings, it turned out to be 9 rings. BRBR Elder Su could no longer suppress the excitement in his heart and shouted loudly, with a hint of choking in his voice. BRBR when the elders heard the 9th bell, they were completely excited. BRBR 9 rings, the luck bell rings 9 times in a row. BRBR, the ancestor once said that the ringing of the luck bell heralds the birth of a great alchemist. BRBR 9 rings, what a heaven-defying talent for alchemy. BRBR Su Qing was startled by her grandfather's reaction. She quickly supported Elder Su and asked eagerly, BRBR Grandpa, what's going on? BRBR Elder Su took a deep breath and tried to calm down his excitement. BRBR Qinger, you don't know something. This luck clock was left by an ancestor of our Danyang sect. BRBR this ancestor left a dam pagoda in Qingshan City. That dam pagoda was not only a place of inheritance, but also a talent-testing tower. BRBR the alchemist enters it to make alchemy, and can test his own alchemy talent based on the quality of the elixir. BRBR he paused and continued, BRBR, the Qi luck bell is connected to the dam pagoda's Qi luck. If there is a person with 6th level alchemy talent or above, the Qi luck bell will be activated. BRBR the ancestor once left a decree that the day when the luck clock rings 9 times is the beginning of the prosperity of our Danyang sect. BRBR alchemy tower, luck bell. 9th level alchemy talent? BRBR Su Qing's eyes widened. She had heard about the dam pagoda, but she always thought it was a legend and didn't take it to heart at all. BRBR I didn't expect that the dam pagoda was actually related to the luck clock, and there really was a person with 9 levels of alchemy talent. BRBR Grandpa, this legend is actually true? BRBR, can this be false? Elder Su said with emotion, the alchemy king also entered the alchemy pagoda trial back then, and he tested out the 7th level of alchemy talent. At that time, the luck bell rang 7 times. BRBR it is a pity that King Dan is not a disciple of my Danyang sect, otherwise our Danyang sect would have become the #1 sect in Dafeng. BRBR Su Qing's heart was beating wildly, and she finally understood why her grandfather was so excited. BRBR the 7th level alchemy king is already the #1 person in the alchemy world. Doesn't the 9th level talent mean that there is an alchemy wizard in Qingshan City who is even more incredible than the alchemy king? BRBR grandpa, you mean that a person with the 9th level alchemy talent has appeared in Qingshan City? BRBR elder Su nodded solemnly, his eyes sparkling. BRBR, such a peerless genius, no matter what, must be accepted into my Danyang sect. BRBR, I want to see the sect leader immediately to discuss this matter. BRBR Danyang sect Holy Land. BRBR Yun Kanglin was standing respectfully in front of Taoist Xuanzhen, reporting in a solemn tone, BRBR old ancestor, I have found out that the 100% effective Shoyuan pill that was auctioned by the Wantong Chamber of Commerce was actually made by Shenguan, the elder of our sect's outer sect. BRBR what? BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen's body shook violently, and a trace of unbelievable shock flashed through his turbid eyes. BRBR, how can an outer sect elder refine an 8th G raid longevity pill that is 100% effective? BRBR Yun Kanglin nodded, with a hint of certainty in his tone. BRBR with Shenguan's alchemy attainments, it is absolutely impossible to refine the longevity pill that is 100% effective. BRBR according to the disciple's opinion, there must be someone behind him. The longevity pill was probably refined by the person behind him, and he just auctioned it on his behalf. BRBR as soon as he finished speaking, a deep and distant bell suddenly sounded from a distance. BRBR Dong, BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen and Yun Kanglin were both shocked. They looked at each other and saw shock in each other's eyes. BRBR, this is the luck clock? Yun Kanglin said quietly. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen did not speak, he just pricked up his ears and listened solemnly. BRBR the second bell rang. BRBR the two no longer spoke, but fell silent in tacit agreement, counting the bells quietly. BRBR 1 ring, 2 rings, 3 rings. BRBR when the 7th bell rang, Yun Kanglin's body had begun to tremble uncontrollably, and his face was full of incredible excitement. BRBR 7 rings. BRBR when King Alchemy was tested, the luck bell only rang 7 times. BRBR this means that a prodigy with at least 7 levels of alchemy talent has appeared in Qingshan City. BRBR 8 rings. BRBR the moment the 8th bell rang, Taoist Xuanzhen's eyelids twitched uncontrollably. BRBR 8 levels of talent. This has surpassed Alchemy King. BRBR the 9th bell rang loudly, reverberating over the Xuanzhen palace like thunder. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen and Yun Kanglin suddenly looked at each other and said in unison. BRBR 9 levels of alchemy talent. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen's body trembled violently, and the previous fatigue dissipated a lot in an instant. BRBR 9 levels of alchemy talent. BRBR the legendary talent only possessed by the Alchemy Emperor actually appeared in Qingshan City. BRBR and, it is very likely that he is the person behind Shenguan. BRBR Yun Kanglin's face was also full of ecstasy. He suddenly remembered something and immediately spoke. BRBR ancestor, I also found out that Shenguan has a disciple named Qian Ming, who is a native of Qingshan City. BRBR tell me, is it possible that the longevity pill with 100% efficacy was refined by Qian Ming? BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen suddenly stood up, exuding a majestic aura from his body. BRBR let Shenguan come to see me immediately. I want to ask clearly in person. BRBR old ancestor, Shenguan is not in the sect. Yun Kanglin said quickly, all the spiritual stones he obtained from the auction of Shoyuan Dan were used to purchase. I bought a copy of the medicinal materials for refining the 9 turns condensation pill, and I seem to have gone to Qingshan City. BRBR the 9 turns condensation pill. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen's body was shaken again. BRBR if someone can refine the 9 turns condensation pill, then he must also be able to refine the Wuji Shoyuan pill. BRBR I want to go to Qingshan City myself. Wanbao Pavilion. BRBR get away from me. BRBR a burst of arrogant footsteps came from far away, and a group of people surrounded a woman and walked in swaggeringly. BRBR the woman walking in the front is none other than Zhao Chui. BRBR she is dressed in silk and satin, with a gold hairpin in her hair, a thick layer of makeup on her face, and her eyes are full of pride. How can she still have half of her former humble appearance? BRBR Qian Ming has known for a long time that there is a sworn grudge between Zhao Chui and Sun Yue. BRBR after he was deposed by Chu Feng, he had nowhere to vent the hatred in his heart, so he specially asked Zhao Chui to come to Wanbao Pavilion. He wanted to spread all his resentment on Sun Yue. BRBR after leaving Wanbao Pavilion, Zhao Chui went to Baodan Pavilion relying on her former relationship with Qian Ming. BRBR now that the Qian family is backing her, she will naturally want to show off her power and take back the anger she suffered in the past. BRBR behind Zhao Chui followed a burly old man, who was Zhou Gongfeng, newly recruited by the Qian family, with a 6th level golden elixir cultivation level. BRBR he was originally an idle monk. Hearing that Qian Ming had awakened the 9th level alchemy talent and that his future was unlimited, he came to the Qian family and joined the Qian family. BRBR thinking about being able to take advantage of the glory in the future and follow the chickens and dogs to heaven. BRBR behind Zhou Chongfeng, there were more than a dozen servants of the Qian family. BRBR one by one, they showed off their power and glanced at the Wanbao Pavilion clerks fiercely, as if they were the boss and I was the second child. BRBR as soon as Zhao Chui entered Wanbao Pavilion, he walked straight to the center of the lobby and his eyes fell on Sun Yue. BRBR Sun Yue was wearing a light blue dress. She looked at Zhao Chui in front of her, her brows furrowed tightly, and a trace of disgust flashed in her eyes. BRBR Zhao Chui, how dare you come to my Wanbao Pavilion? BRBR Zhao Chui heard Sun Yue's words as if he had heard a big joke. BRBR Sun Yue, do you think you are still the aloof master of Wanbao Pavilion before? BRBR she walked towards Sun Yue step by step, her eyes full of provocation. BRBR, to tell you the truth, I am now the steward of Baodan Pavilion. BRBR I am here today on Master Qian's order to take you to the Qian's house. BRBR, take me to the Qian's house? Sun Yue frowned even more tightly, I have nothing to do with the Qian family, why should I go to the Qian's house? BRBR Zhao Chui sneered, her tone becoming more and more mean. BRBR don't pretend to be confused because you understand. Your father has long agreed to send you to Qian's house and give you Qian Shao to be a maid. BRBR Sun Yue's body trembled suddenly, and the blood on her face faded instantly. BRBR she never imagined that her father would actually make such a decision. BRBR in order to cling to the Qian family, he even sacrificed her happiness and asked her to work as a maid for Qian Ming. BRBR my father would never agree to such a thing. BRBR Zhao Chui took out a note from his arms and raised it proudly. BRBR, this is a note signed by your father himself. It clearly says that you will voluntarily be sent to the Qian family to serve Mr. Qian. BRBR Sun Yue looked at the document and felt like the world was spinning. Her heart seemed to be blocked by something, and even breathing became difficult. BRBR seeing this, Zhao Chui approached Sun Yue, her tone full of the pleasure of revenge. BRBR no one in the Sun family can support you anymore. You have to go today, and you have to go even if you don't go. BRBR Sun Yue's eyes swept over the elders of Wanbao Pavilion. They all lowered their heads and did not dare to look at her. BRBR her heart sank a little bit. BRBR yes, father. They all agreed, who else would support her? BRBR Sun Yue raised her head with a hint of determination in her tone. BRBR even if I die, I will never work as a maid for that loser Qian Ming. BRBR Zhao Chui's face suddenly darkened, and a trace of cruelty flashed in her eyes. BRBR she raised her hand suddenly, slapped Sun Yue on the cheek hard. BRBR pa. BRBR the crisp and loud slap sounded particularly harsh in the silent Wanbao Pavilion. BRBR Sun Yue, how dare you insult Mr. Qian, I think you are shameless. BRBR Sun Yue turned her head away from the slap, and there was a burning pain on her cheek, and even a trace of blood oozed from the corner of her mouth. BRBR she stared at Zhao Chui, the anger in her eyes erupting like a volcano. BRBR a maid who was kicked out of Wanbao Pavilion now dared to hit her. BRBR Zhao Chui, you are seeking death. BRBR Sun Yue violently circulated the spiritual power in her body, wanting to teach this bitch who knew nothing about heaven and earth. BRBR but at this moment, Zhou Gongfeng, who was standing behind Zhao Chui, suddenly moved. BRBR he snorted coldly, and a majestic wave burst out from his body. With the pressure, the spiritual power of the 6th level of the golden elixir swept away like a tide, instantly covering Sun Yue. BRBR Sun Yue felt a huge force pressing on her body, and the spiritual power in her body seemed to be frozen, unable to function at all. BRBR the 6th level of the golden elixir. BRBR she is only in the foundation establishment realm, and has no power to resist at all in front of the golden core realm. BRBR Zhao Chui saw Sun Yue being suppressed by Zhou Gongfeng, and the smile on her face became more and more proud. BRBR she stretched out her hand and gently stroked Sun Yue's red and swollen cheeks with a sarcastic tone. BRBR Sun Yue, you are worse than a dog now. BRBR it is your honor that Mr. Qian is willing to let you be your maid. BRBR Sun Yue glared at Zhao Chui and spat fiercely. BRBR Zhao Chui, you ungrateful villain, if I hadn't taken you in, you would have starved to death on the streets. BRBR now you are helping outsiders to bully me, you will be punished. BRBR Zhao Chui sneered and said disdainfully. BRBR it's much better for me to follow Qian Shao, enjoy the popular food and drink spicy food, than to work as a cow and a horse in your Wanbao Pavilion. BRBR Sun Yue looked at Zhao Chui's face of a villain, and the despair in her heart surged like a tide. BRBR she knew that she would not be able to escape today. BRBR however, she would rather die than give in. BRBR Sun Yue suddenly stretched out her hand, pulled out the dagger, and held it tightly in her hand. BRBR, I would rather die than be a slave to anyone. BRBR. As she said that, she raised the dagger and was about to stab her in the neck. BRBR presumptuous. BRBR. Seeing this, Zhao Zongfeng's face darkened. He snorted coldly, and the pressure around him suddenly increased. BRBR Sun Yue felt that her whole body was stiff and she could not move at all. She could not even lift her arms at all. BRBR. Her eyes were full of unwillingness and despair, and tears fell uncontrollably. BRBR, bringing you back to Qian's house is the first thing Mr. Qian told me. Zhao Chongfeng's voice was cold. If you died, wouldn't you be slapping me in the face? BRBR. Before he finished speaking, Zhao Chongfeng waved his hand suddenly. BRBR. A powerful force of spatial distortion swept across instantly and landed on the dagger in Sun Yue's hand. BRBR. Bang. BRBR. The dagger instantly shattered into countless pieces and scattered on the ground. BRBR. Sun Yue looked at the fragments on the ground, and the light in her eyes completely dimmed. BRBR. Has even the right to commit suicide been deprived? BRBR. Since you are so ignorant of praise, BRBR. A trace of fierceness fell. Ashton Zhao Chongfeng's eyes, and he walked towards Sun Yue step by step. BRBR. Then I will destroy your cultivation first, and then take you back. BRBR. He raised his hand, condensed a dense spiritual power in his palm, and slapped Sun Yue's dantian fiercely. BRBR. Sun Yue closed her eyes in despair. With this palm strike, she would become a useless person. BRBR. However, the imagined pain did not come. BRBR. Sun Yue opened her eyes in confusion and saw a familiar figure from behind, who appeared in front of her at some point. BRBR. Chu Feng. BRBR. Sun Yue looked at the back, her lips trembling, tears falling down like broken pearls. BRBR. Chu Feng did not look back, he just stood there quietly, staring at Zhao Chongfeng coldly. BRBR. I will protect this person. BRBR. Zhao Zongfeng's palm stopped in midair. He looked at the sudden appearance of Chu Feng, his brows furrowed tightly, and a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. BRBR. He naturally recognized Chu Feng. A powerful person in the nascent soul realm, he could be said to cover the sky with one hand in Qingshan City. BRBR. However, he has already joined the Qian family. If he can't even handle this little thing, how will he be able to gain a foothold in the Qian family in the future? BRBR. Zhao Zongfeng gritted his teeth and said bravely. BRBR. Chu Feng, she is the person that young Master Qian wants. BRBR. Aren't you afraid of offending the Qian family by doing this? BRBR. Before he finished speaking, Chu Feng punched out. BRBR. Boom. BRBR. The spiritual power of nascent soul realm erupted like a volcano, and the wind of the fist roared. BRBR. Zhao Zongfeng's expression changed greatly. He quickly used all his spiritual power to condense a thick spiritual shield. BRBR. Crack. BRBR. The spiritual shield shattered instantly, and Chu Feng's fist hit Zhao Chongfeng's chest hard. BRBR. Poof. BRBR. Zhao Gongfeng spurted out a mouthful of blood and flew directly out of Wanbao Pavilion. BRBR. Several of his ribs were broken, and his breath suddenly became weak. BRBR. Looking at Chu Feng's cold eyes, he didn't dare to stay, he crawled up from the ground and ran away without looking back. BRBR. Before leaving, he didn't forget to say something cruel. BRBR. I will definitely report the lack of money. Just wait for me. BRBR. Looking at Zhao Zongfeng's fleeing figure, the servants of the Qian family who followed were all pale with fear and their legs were trembling. BRBR. They dared not stop, so they threw away the sticks in their hands and ran out of Wanbao Pavilion, fearing that if they were too late, they would end up in the same fate as Zhao Zongfeng. BRBR. Looking at the scene in front of her, Zhao Chui was scared to death. BRBR. Her legs were weak and she wanted to run away, but found that she could not move at all. BRBR. Chu Feng turned around slowly and his eyes fell on Zhao Chui coldly. BRBR. You deserve to die. BRBR. Zhao Chui was so frightened that he trembled all over and fell to his knees with a plop. His voice was crying, and he begged for mercy incoherently. BRBR. Mr. Chu, spare your life, miss, save me. BRBR. However, before she could finish her words, Chu Feng grabbed her throat. BRBR. Zhao Chui's body suddenly stiffened, her eyes widened, and her face turned red. BRBR. Chu Feng's eyes disappeared. There was a slight fluctuation in the wrist. BRBR. Crack. BRBR. With a crisp sound, Zhao Chui's neck was twisted directly. BRBR. Her body fell to the ground, and the light in her eyes completely dimmed, and there was no sound anymore. BRBR. After doing this, Chu Feng slowly turned around and looked at Sun Yue. BRBR. If you have any problems in the future, you can ask me. BRBR. After saying that, Chu Feng turned around and prepared to leave Wanbao Pavilion. BRBR. Sun Yue looked at Chu Feng's retreating back, with complex eyes, gratitude, grievance, and a trace of unexplainable throbbing. BRBR. She looked at that back, and a surge of courage suddenly surged from the bottom of her heart. BRBR. Chu Feng. BRBR Chu Feng's steps paused, but he did not look back. BRBR Sun Yue's heart was beating wildly, and her cheeks instantly became hot. BRBR her body was shaking slightly, and her breathing became rapid. BRBR however, she still ran quickly in front of Chu Feng and blocked his way. BRBR Sun Yue raised her head and stared closely at Chu Feng's eyes. BRBR Chu Feng looked at Sun Yue in front of him. Her eyes were red and there were slap marks on her cheeks, but she was still breathtakingly beautiful. BRBR he did not speak, but stood quietly, waiting. Reading her words. BRBR Sun Yue's lips trembled slightly. She was silent for a long time, then took a deep breath and said actively. BRBR Qianming wants to make me a slave, but I don't want to. BRBR Chu Feng still didn't speak, just looked at her quietly. BRBR Sun Yue's heart beat faster, and she asked word by word, BRBR, do you dare to marry me? BRBR after the words fell, there was silence in Wanbao Pavilion. BRBR everyone looked at Sun Yue, her pupils trembling. BRBR Sun Yue's cheeks were so hot that she didn't even dare to look into Chu Feng's eyes and lowered her head nervously. BRBR she never imagined that she would actually do it. Take the initiative to say such words. BRBR Chu Feng took a step forward, and the distance between the two instantly closed, so close that they could feel each other's breathing. BRBR Sun Yue's body trembled suddenly, and she raised her head and looked into Chu Feng's starry eyes. BRBR the next moment, Chu Feng suddenly lowered his head and kissed her lips. Well, BRBR Sun Yue shuddered, her eyes widened instantly, and a small cry escaped from the corner of her mouth. BRBR after a long time, the lips parted. BRBR Sun Yue was robbed of her first kiss in public, her head felt dizzy, as if she were stepping on clouds, as if she was dreaming. BRBR until Chu Feng came close to her ear, his warm breath sprayed on her auricle, bringing a tingling sensation. BRBR I dare to marry you. But have you thought about how to face your family? BRBR Sun Yue's body shook violently and she woke up instantly. BRBR yes, her father has already agreed to the Qian family's affairs, so the Sun family will naturally not agree to her marrying Chu Feng. BRBR Chu Feng is willing to face it together with her, but he wants to know how determined Sun Yue's attitude is. BRBR Sun Yue raised her head, a trace of determination flashed in her eyes. BRBR, from now on, I will no longer be a member of the Sun family. BRBR she has already thought clearly that instead of staying in the Sun family, it is better to follow Chu Feng. BRBR Chu Feng nodded with satisfaction, and then held her hand. BRBR then follow me back home. BRBR Sun Yue's breathing suddenly stagnated, going back home with Chu Feng? BRBR she never expected that things would progress so fast. BRBR just when she was stunned, a crisp voice suddenly sounded. BRBR miss. BRBR Xiao he quickly ran out from behind the counter. She ran in front of Sun Yue and fell to her knees with a plop. BRBR miss, please take Xiao He with you. BRBR Xiao He knew very well that she was able to gain a foothold in Wanbao Pavilion entirely because of Chu Feng's relationship. BRBR now that Sun Yue wants to completely break with the Sun family, if she stays in Wanbao Pavilion, she will definitely be retaliated against. BRBR after all, she has been responsible for receiving Chu Feng these days and is the closest to Chu Feng. BRBR Sun. Yue looked at Xiao He who was kneeling on the ground. She was about to speak when she saw Chu Feng nodding towards her. BRBR during this period, Xiao He did his best to serve her in Wanbao Pavilion. BRBR Chu Feng naturally did not want this loyal girl to stay in the fire pit of Wanbao Pavilion. BRBR take her with you, you also need a maid to serve you. BRBR hearing Chu Feng's words, Xiao He quickly kowtowed to Chu Feng and Sun Yue. BRBR thank you, miss. Thank you, Mr. Chu. BRBR the next day. BRBR red lanterns are hung on every corner of the Chu family's mansion, with the gilded Chinese characters printed on them. BRBR different from the cumbersome procedures of ordinary weddings, the wedding held by Chu Feng for Sun Yue did not include the wedding ceremony, 3 matchmakers, and 6 appointments. BRBR just because Sun Yue had moved into the west wing of the Chu family last night, she would become his wife today. BRBR Xiao He walked into the west wing holding a wedding dress that Chu Feng had made overnight. BRBR miss, it's time to dress up. BRBR Sun Yue sat on the edge of the bed, looking at the brilliant wedding dress, her fingertips trembling slightly. BRBR Xiao He quickly took off her plain skirt and put on the bright red wedding dress. BRBR Sun Yue's face was reflected in the bronze mirror. Her originally beautiful eyebrows became a bit more delicate under the red makeup. BRBR miss, you are so beautiful today. BRBR Xiao He looked at Sun Yue in the mirror and admired sincerely. BRBR her heart felt like a lively little rabbit, full of joy and luck. BRBR I think back then, she was just an inconspicuous little maid in Wanbao Pavilion. She welcomed guests to and from guests every day, served tea and water, saw the faces of all kinds of people, and had to carefully serve difficult guests, for fear of making any mistakes. BRBR at that time, she never thought that one day why she would be able to step into the Chu family. BRBR compared to the days in Wanbao Pavilion, life now is not only 100 times 1,000 times better. BRBR she is happy for the eldest lady, and she is also happy for herself. BRBR Sun Yue looked at herself in the mirror and felt that everything in front of her was like a dream. BRBR she had indeed imagined how great it would be if she could marry Chu Feng. BRBR the fantasies at that time were just the little thoughts of the young girl Huichuan, the secrets hidden deep in her heart that she dared not say. BRBR she knew her identity and knew that Chu Feng was already out of reach of her. BRBR I thought that I would be extremely lucky to be able to watch him from a distance and maintain a cooperative relationship with him in this life. BRBR unexpectedly, this day actually came, and it came so quickly. BRBR it was so fast that she was caught off guard, so fast that until this moment, she felt like she was stepping on the clouds, so light and unreal. BRBR Xiao he tied up Sun Yue's hair and put on the hairpin, but couldn't help but ask. BRBR miss, I heard that Qian Ming has the 9th level of alchemy talent. When you marry Mr. Chu, are you really not afraid of the Qian family's revenge in the future? BRBR although she is just a little maid, she has heard too many discussions about Qian Ming in Qingshan City these days. BRBR the talent of the 9 levels of alchemy is a talent only possessed by the legendary alchemy emperor. It is a genius that is rare to see in thousands of years. BRBR everyone said that Qian Ming would be trained intensively by Danyang sect in the future and would definitely become a big shot. BRBR when Sun Yue heard Xiaohe's words, the smile on her face paused slightly, and then she regained her composure. BRBR she turned her head, looked at Xiaohe's worried eyes, and said firmly. BRBR even if you die with him, it is better than being a slave to Qian Ming. BRBR while the two were talking, a servant's announcement came from outside the door. BRBR miss, the master of the house is already waiting in the main hall. The auspicious time is coming. BRBR in the main hall, the wedding hall has already been decorated. BRBR the MC cleared his throat and shouted loudly. BRBR couple bowing to each other, BRBR Chu Feng and Sun Yue stood opposite each other, and when they were about to bend down and bow to each other, a burst of noise suddenly came from outside the courtyard. BRBR rebellious girl. BRBR immediately afterwards, 2 figures barged in regardless of the servant's obstruction. It was Sun Yuan and Sherlanin. BRBR Lu Quan was so anxious that he was sweating profusely. He knew that the head of the family was getting married today and he didn't want anyone to make trouble. BRBR but these two are also the parents of today's bride. He is a housekeeper, how dare he really stop her? BRBR Sun Yuan was wearing a brocade robe, his face was ashen, and his beard was standing up with anger. BRBR at a glance, he saw Sun Yue in the middle of the wedding hall, wearing a phoenix crown and harem. He suddenly became angry, pointed at her nose, and shouted angrily. BRBR you rebellious girl, why don't you get over here? BRBR his chest was heaving violently, and his whole body was shaking with anger. BRBR Sun Yue is the woman that Mr. Qian likes. Who is Mr. Qian? BRBR that is the future alchemy emperor who is gifted at the 9th level of alchemy. As long as Sun Yue obediently works as a maid for Qian Shao, the Sun family will be able to climb up the big tree of the Qian family and become a top family. BRBR but this rebellious girl actually dared to make her own decision and marry Chu Feng. BRBR Chu Feng offended Mr. Qian. Marrying Chu Feng would be tantamount to completely offending the Qian family and completely ruining the future of the Sun family. BRBR nowadays, there are so many people who are overcrowded and want to join a wealthy family and become slaves and maids, but they have no chance. His stupid daughter actually gave up such an opportunity to reach the sky in one step and decided to jump into the fire pit. BRBR however, Sun Yue stood still, motionless. BRBR I am no longer a member of the Sun family. From now on, I have nothing to do with the Sun family. BRBR Sun Yuan pointed at Sun Yue and could not say a word for a long time. BRBR Sherlanin put her hands on her hips, pointed at Chu Feng's nose, and screamed angrily. BRBR Chu Feng, you are so brave, you dare to kidnap our daughter. BRBR however, as soon as she finished speaking, Chu Feng suddenly raised his hand. BRBR pop. BRBR a clear and loud slap resounded throughout the wedding hall. BRBR Chu Feng slapped Sherlanin in the face with such force that he flew away. BRBR, who do you think you are, worthy of shouting here? BRBR Sherlanin covered her burning cheeks and widened her eyes. BRBR I am Sun Yue's mother. How dare you hit me? BRBR Chu Feng sneered, his eyes becoming colder. BRBR you are just a concubine of Sun Yuan. Yue's biological father passed away many years ago. Is it your turn to show off your power here? BRBR Xuelian wanted to say something more, but when she met Chu Feng's eyes with murderous intent, she swallowed the words she spoke. BRBR, that look was so terrifying, as if it could eat someone alive. BRBR, she never dared to say another word, so she could only turn around and rush towards Sun Yuan, crying. BRBR master. You have to make the decision for me. BRBR Sun Yuan looked at Xuelian's red and swollen cheeks, and the anger in his heart was burning. BRBR, he also knew that he was no match for Chu Feng. BRBR Chu Feng is a powerful person in the nascent soul realm, and he can be crushed to death with just a few fingers. BRBRI. If you want to use strength, it is simply a dream. BRBR, however, the reason why he dared to come to make trouble today also relied on something. BRBR, he had made a good calculation. Chu Feng was getting married today for auspicious reasons. He definitely didn't want to see blood, and he definitely didn't want to make things worse. BRBR, even if Chu Feng was angry again, he would not dare to do anything to him. BRBR, however, he could see that it was impossible to prevent Sun Yue from marrying into the Chu family. BRBR, however, he managed to raise his daughter to such a big age, how could he let her marry into the Chu family for nothing? BRBR, we must give the Chu family a hard blow. BRBR, thinking of this, Sun Yuan took a deep breath and suppressed the fear in his heart. BRBR Chu Feng, Yue is my daughter. Even if you want to marry her, you must pay a betrothal gift first. How else can I explain? Sun Yuan scratched his hair irritably, that rebellious girl Sun Yue has severed ties with us, and Qianming can only blame her. BRBR, but Qianming may not believe it. Xuelian stamped her feet anxiously, what should we do if Qianming becomes angry with our Sun family? BRBR, at this moment, a young figure came out of the inner hall. BRBR, this man with a face like a crown jewel is Sun Qingyang, the son of Sun Yuan and Xuelian. BRBR Sun Qingyang's eyes fell on the small wooden box, with a hint of calculation flashing in his eyes. BRBR father, mother, in my opinion, our Sun family cannot keep this die in good fortune pill. BRBR Sun Yuan and Xuelian were both stunned and looked at him. BRBR, what do you mean by that? BRBR, this 5th grade elixir is priceless, enough to make countless forces jealous. Sun Qingyang slowly explained, rather than guarding it and risking death, it is better to donate it. BRBR to whom? BRBR Sun Yuan could not help but be stunned and asked subconsciously. BRBR Sun Qingyang's eyes flashed with a hint of pride, and his tone was filled with pride. BRBR, I once met Ms. Su Qing, a disciple of the Danyang sect, in a secret realm and left each other a message. BRBR Ms. Su Qing's grandfather is Elder Suan of the Danyang sect. BRBR, if I can give this Dine creation pill to Elder Su, I will not only be able to become a disciple of the Danyang sect, but also marry Su Qing and establish a relationship with the Danyang sect. BRBR, he paused and continued. BRBR, if we have this relationship, Qianming can't blame us. When the time comes, we can blame everything on Chu Feng. BRBR, when Xuelian heard this, her eyes lit up instantly. BRBR, she took Sun Qingyang's hand and said excitedly. BRBR son, when did you get in touch with the disciples of Danyang sect? BRBR Sun Qingyang raised his chin, with a hint of humility in his tone. BRBR, I have not established a relationship with Miss Su before, so my son has not reported anything to his father and mother. BRBR Sun Yuan looked at the small wooden box in his hand, his brows furrowed tightly, but there was some hesitation in his heart. BRBR, he was really reluctant to give away a 5th grade elixir like this. BRBR, but what Sun Qingyang said does make sense. BRBR, the Sun family could not keep this elixir, so they dedicated it to the Danyang sect. Not only would it save the Sun family, but it would also allow their son to join the Danyang sect and cling to the big tree of Elder Su. BRBR, this transaction does not seem to be a loss. BRBR, how far have you and Miss Su developed? BRBR, if giving away a 5th grade elixir can allow your son to marry an inner disciple of the Danyang sect and become a disciple of the Danyang sect, then it will naturally be worthwhile. BRBR, but if it was just the son's wishful thinking and Su Qing didn't like him at all, then the Sun family would be in big trouble. BRBR Sun Qingyang patted his chest and said confidently. BRBR dad, don't worry, when we were in the secret realm, I gave him a treasure from the secret realm. BRBR Miss Su had a good impression of me, otherwise she wouldn't have left a message token. BRBR, as long as I give this treasure, send me a piece of Dian good fortune pill, and she will definitely help me introduce Elder Su. BRBR, we will get along day and night in the future, and it will naturally be a matter of course. BRBR, as he said that, Sun Qingyang took out a green message jade talisman from his arms. BRBR, I will contact Miss Su right away. BRBR Sun Qingyang said, condensing a trace of spiritual power from his fingertips and injecting it into the jade talisman. BRBR, a faint light lit up from the jade talisman, and immediately, a message spread. BRBR Shenzi Su, are you there? BRBR son Chiyang's face was filled with an expectant smile. He seemed to have seen the scene where he became a disciple of the Danyang sect, married Su Qing, became the grandson-in-law of the Danyang sect elder, and the Sun family flourished. BRBR at this moment, high in the sky outside Qingshan City, a huge royal skyboat was suspended in the clouds. BRBR Su Qingjing stood on the bow of the royal skyboat, looking at Qingshan City in the distance. BRBR she was wearing a blue dress, with a hint of curiosity in her eyebrows. BRBR this time she came to Qingshan City with her ancestor and a group of elders, just to see with her own eyes the prodigy who had discovered the talent of the 9th level alchemy. BRBR after all, the 9th level of talent is rare to see in 1,000 years, and even the ancestors attach great importance to this person. BRBR at this moment, a green jade charm in her sleeve vibrated slightly. BRBR Su Qing frowned slightly and reached out to take out the jade talisman. BRBR a weak spiritual energy wave came, and a line of small words appeared on it. BRBR Shenzi Su, are you there? BRBR seeing this line of words, a hint of disdain flashed in Su Qing's eyes. BRBR when they met in the secret realm, Sun Qingyang did help her once and gave her a not too precious treasure. BRBR out of that affection, she left the jade charm for sound transmission. BRBR but since then, the two have never met again. BRBR she is an inner disciple of the Danyang sect, and Sun Qingyang is just a disciple of a small family. The gap between them is like the difference between clouds and mud. BRBR Su Qing glanced at the message on the jade talisman and had no interest in replying. BRBR when Elder Su, who was standing behind her, saw this, he couldn't help but ask. BRBR Qinger, what's the matter? BRBR Su Qing shook his head and said in a calm tone. BRBR it's nothing, he's just a descendant of a small family, don't pay any attention to him. BRBR Elder Su nodded and didn't ask any more questions. BRBR his eyes fell on Qingshan City in the distance, his eyes full of expectation. Soon, he would be able to see the genius with the 9th level alchemy talent. BRBR Sun family lobby. BRBR Sun Qingyang looked at the jade talisman in his hand eagerly, but never waited for any reply. BRBR his face was full of embarrassment, he couldn't help but touch his nose, looked at Sun Yuan and Lanin, and forced a smile. BRBR maybe Fairy Su was busy and didn't see the news. BRBR Sun Yuan and Lanin had a hint of disappointment on their faces, but they didn't say much. BRBR Sun Qingyang did not give up, injected spiritual power again, and sent several messages. BRBR, I am Sun Qingyang of Qingshan City, I haven't seen him for a long time since we parted ways in the secret realm. BRBR I wonder how Fairy Su is doing? BRBR the messages were sent out one after another, but there was still no reply. BRBR Sun Yuan on the side looked at his son holding the message jade talisman, the expectation on his face rose and fell like the tide, and finally he couldn't stand it anymore. BRBR forget it. BRBR he has lived for most of his life, what kind of storms has he not seen? BRBR he could see through Sun Qingyang's thoughts at a glance. BRBR that Su Qing is an inner disciple of Danyang sect and the granddaughter of the elder. BRBR the two of them just met by chance in the secret realm. They could not establish any friendship, let alone get married. BRBR although this Dian good fortune pill is precious, if it is really used to curry favor, I am afraid it will be like a meat bun beating a dog, there will be no return. BRBR when Sun Qingyang heard his father's words, his shoulders suddenly slumped down, and the color on his face instantly faded. BRBR could he just give up like this? This is his only chance to climb up to Danyang sect. BRBR he gritted his teeth. At this point, he could only take a gamble. BRBR Sun Qingyang took a deep breath and sent another message. BRBR, my Sun family got a Dian good fortune pill. BRBR buzz. BRBR the message carrying jade talisman, which had been silent for a long time, suddenly vibrated slightly, and a soft spiritual light lit up from the jade talisman. BRBR immediately afterwards, two words slowly appeared on the jade talisman. BRBR seriously? BRBR it's moving, the jade talisman has moved. Lanin screamed excitedly. BRBR Sun Qingyang's eyes lit up instantly, and the gloom on his face was swept away. BRBR he straightened his back suddenly, his breathing became rapid, and the stone in his heart suddenly fell to the ground. BRBR sure enough. BRBR Shenzi Su has not forgotten him yet. BRBR he almost hurriedly injected spiritual power into it and replied quickly. BRBR it is absolutely true, and it is a 100% effective Dian good fortune pill. BRBR this time, the message was replied very quickly, faster than Sun Qingyang imagined. BRBR the aura lit up again on the jade talisman, and a line of beautiful handwriting emerged. BRBR I am in Qingshan City, I will go to you later, wait for me. BRBR seeing this line of words, Sun Qingyang felt a rush of blood rushing to the top of his head, and the blood all over his body was boiling. BRBR he stared at the words on the jade talisman and read it several times, fearing that he was dreaming. BRBR with trembling fingers, he replied with 4 words. BRBR okay, I'll wait for you. BRBR the moment he put down the jade talisman, Sun Qingyang's legs became weak and he almost collapsed to the ground. Once you tell a lie, you must use countless lies to cover it up. BRBR he really didn't understand why his son had to lie so eloquently just now. BRBR that longevity pill, which is 100% effective, was obviously not refined by Qian Ming. BRBR Qian Ming was lying on the bed, feeling a chill from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. BRBR he is now riding a tiger, and if he admits that he cannot refine it, his previous lies will be self-defeating, and the Qian family will be in doom. BRBR this old thing. BRBR it's okay not to help him get revenge, but he's still here asking questions endlessly. BRBR Wu Ji Shu Yuan Dan is a 9th level elixir. Even if he really has the 9th level elixir talent, he cannot easily refine such a precious elixir. BRBR he is only in the foundation establishment realm now, so how can he refine 9th grade elixirs? BRBR but he knew he couldn't panic. Once his cowardice was revealed, the Qian family would be completely doomed. BRBR Qian Ming took a deep breath, suppressing the fear in his heart, and his throat rolled slightly. BRBR ancestor, I can't refine it now. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen seemed to have expected this answer, but asked reluctantly. BRBR, you can refine the 9 revolutions condensation pill, why can't you refine the extreme life essence pill? BRBR the two of them were not chatting on the same channel at all. BRBR Qian Ming's heart was beating wildly and his brain was running rapidly, trying to think of excuses. BRBR his eyes suddenly sank, and a trace of resentment flashed in his eyes. BRBR I was injured by Chu Feng, my Taoist heart was wounded, and I can no longer refine high-level elixirs for the time being. BRBR this reason is simply perfect. BRBR sure enough, when Taoist Xuanzhen heard this, his face instantly darkened, and strong murderous intent burst out in his eyes. BRBR Chu Feng. Taoist Xuanzhen spat out these 2 words through gritted teeth, if you dare to attack a disciple of my Danyang sect, I will cut him into pieces. BRBR Qian Ming secretly breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Taoist Xuanzhen getting angry. BRBR thank you, ancestor. I will devote myself to cultivation in the future, repair my Taoist heart as soon as possible, and refine the Wuji longevity pill for my ancestor. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen slowly calmed down his pressure, and a trace of satisfaction flashed in his eyes. BRBR, from today on, you are the holy son of my Danyang sect, and all the resources in the sect are at your disposal. BRBR hearing this, everyone was shocked. BRBR Qian Ming was originally just a little-known outer disciple, but now he rose to the top and became the holy son of Danyang sect. BRBR but no one dared to raise objections, because the ancestor said this. BRBR furthermore, Qian Ming possesses the 9th level of alchemy talent and his future is limitless. He fully deserves the position of holy son. BRBR Qian Banqing was so excited that he was shaking all over and almost burst into tears. BRBR the son. BRBR his son turned out to be the holy son of Danyang sect. BRBR however, to everyone's surprise, Qian Ming did not agree immediately. BRBR his eyes turned slightly, and his peripheral vision fell on Su Qing, with a trace of imperceptible greed flashing in his eyes. BRBR when he was in the sect, he had coveted Su Qing and fantasized about having her in his dreams countless times. BRBR it's a pity that at that time, he was just an inconspicuous outer disciple, and he was not worthy of looking up to a proud woman like Su Qing. BRBR but it's different now. He is the holy son of Danyang sect. BRBR he is qualified to have everything, including Su Qing. BRBR it's time to make your dreams come true. BRBR Qian Ming slowly raised his head and looked directly at Taoist Xuanzhen. BRBR ancestor, if you want me to be the holy son, I have one condition. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen fro. Ned slightly, and a trace of displeasure flashed in his eyes. BRBR but now he wanted Qian Ming, so he could only ask patiently. BRBR what conditions? BRBR Qian Ming raised his hand and pointed at Su Qing without hesitation. BRBR I have admired senior sister Su for a long time, and I want her to marry me. BRBR buzz. BRBR these words were like thunder, making Su Qing tremble all over. BRBR she felt cold all over her body, and a sick feeling surged from the bottom of her heart. BRBR she had heard that Qian Ming had been killed by the man named Chu Feng and could no longer have sex with men. BRBR marrying a eunuch is simply a humiliation for her. BRBR what's more, Qian Ming has been staring at her lustfully since she entered the door, making her feel uncomfortable. BRBR even if the other party possesses the 9th level alchemy talent, even if the other party is the holy son of Danyang sect, she does not want to wrong herself. BRBR Su Qing took a deep breath and bowed to Taoist Xuanzhen. BRBR ancestor, I won't marry. BRBR, what did you say? BRBR Qian Ming's eyes turned cold for an instant, and the greed in his eyes turned into evil. BRBR bitch. BRBR you ignorant bitch. BRBR if it weren't for him being deposed now, a woman like Su Qing would only be qualified to be his consort, so how could she be qualified to be his wife? BRBR now that he has become the holy son of Danyang sect, the other party dares to reject him? BRBR Qian Ming's psychology had become distorted long after he was deposed by Chu Feng. BRBR he hates Chu Feng, hates all the people who are better off than him, and even more hates these women who look down on him. BRBR in his eyes, women are just playthings, meant to be ravaged. BRBR the more Su Qing refused, the more he wanted to get her, and then tortured her severely to vent his anger. BRBR Qian Ming looked at Taoist Xuanzhen with a hint of threat in his tone. BRBR old ancestor. If my Taoist heart is not smooth, I will never be able to refine the Wuji Shouyuan pill in this life. BRBR the sentence directly poked Taoist Xuanzhen's weakness. BRBR in order to obtain Wuji Shouyuan Dan, let alone letting Su Qing marry Qian Ming, even if Su Qing died, he would do it immediately without hesitation. BRBR Su En's face turned livid instantly. He looked at the arrogant and domineering Qian Ming on the bed, and then at the expressionless Taoist Xuanzhen, and his heart suddenly tightened. BRBR how could he marry a eunuch when his granddaughter was the treasure he had grown up in his hands? BRBR Su En quickly stepped forward, with a hint of pleading in his tone. BRBR old ancestor, Qing'er has long been in love with me and has been spoiled by me. She is really not worthy of marrying His Highness the Holy Sun. BRBR however, Taoist Xuanzhen was not moved at all. BRBR the pressure around him was instantly released, pressing hard on Su En BRBR poof. BRBR Su En's body softened and he knelt down heavily on the ground, like an old tree that had been bent. BRBR he wanted to raise his head to plead, but found that he didn't even have the strength to raise his head. BRBR Su En, Taoist Xuanzhen's voice was cold, the Taoist heart of the Holy Sun is related to the future of our Danyang sect. You must put the overall situation first. BRBR Qian Ming looked at Su En's miserable appearance on the ground, and was secretly proud in his heart. BRBR now he is the god of Danyang sect, and the ancestor can do anything for him. BRBR in this way, he can get any woman from Danyang sect. BRBR even if he wanted to sleep with the sect master's wife, Yun Kanglin had to obediently send her to his bed. BRBR Su Qing looked at her grandfather kneeling on the ground and being humiliated, and she knew she had no choice. BRBR she quickly knelt in front of her ancestor and cried. BRBR ancestor, I am willing to marry, please spar. Grandpa. BRBR when Taoist Xuanzhen heard this, the coldness in his eyes finally faded away. BRBR come, carry the Holy Sun and follow me to the Chu family. Today, I will destroy the Chu family. You actually said that Chu Feng has the 9th level of alchemy talent. What a big joke. BRBR he paused, and his face suddenly turned cold. BRBR, Chu Feng failed to refine the elixir in the elixir tower. Not even a trace of the light of talent was triggered. Everyone in Qingshan City didn't know. BRBR Shengguan, in order to please him, you told such a lie. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at? BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen stared at Shengguan and asked in a deep voice. BRBR, Shengguan, why do you say that the person with the 9th level alchemy talent is not Qian Ming? BRBR after hearing Taoist Xuanzhen's words, Shengguan said in a deep voice. BRBR, just because Qian Ming refined a 4th grade elixir in the elixir pagoda, the Jade Phoenix pill. BRBR hiss, BRBR everyone took a breath of cold air and couldn't help but exclaimed. BRBR, how can a 4th grade elixir detect the 9th level alchemy talent? BRBR, when the alchemy king was young, he refined a 6th grade elixir in the Danta, but it was only a 7th level alchemy talent test. BRBR, I know the Jade Phoenix pill. It is the simplest among the 4th grade elixirs. The difficulty of refining is even only the 3rd grade pill. BRBR listening to the murmurs around him, Qian Ming's face became more and more gloomy. BRBR, the only ones entering the Dam Pagoda test are me and Chu Feng. So what if I am refining the 4th grade elixir Yu Feng Dan? BRBR at least I refined the elixir. Chu Feng couldn't even get out a single elixir. BRBR he just failed in alchemy and is not qualified to be compared with me. BRBR as long as Chu Feng can't get the elixir, he will be the final winner, and the title of 9th level elixir talent will always belong to him. BRBR Chu Feng's mouth slightly raised, and his eyes glanced at Qian Ming indifferently, as if he was looking at a clown. BRBR, who told you that I don't have an elixir? BRBR Qian Ming was stunned for a moment, and then he laughed crazily as if he had heard a big joke. BRBR if you really made the elixir, why didn't you dare to show it to everyone that day? BRBR ha, BRBR Chu Feng sneered and said word by word, BRBR you are worthy too? BRBR Qian Ming's smile froze for an instant, and his face turned blue and white, BRBR you, BRBR at this moment, Taoist Xuanzhen, who was standing at the front of the crowd, narrowed his eyes slightly, BRBR Qian Ming's words sounded full of loopholes to him, BRBR if that 8-in-1 medicine is 100% effective the Shou Yuan Dan was really refined by Qian Ming, so his attainments in alchemy are absolutely astonishing. BRBR but why did such a wizard of alchemy only refine a 4th-grade jade phoenix pill during the Dam Pagoda trial? BRBR unless Qian Ming did not have the ability to refine the Shou Yuan Dan, and that elixir was not refined by him at all. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen's eyes fell on Xinguan and asked in a deep voice. BRBR, Xinguan, who refined the perfect longevity pill with 100% efficacy that you put up for auction at Wantong Chamber of Commerce? BRBR everyone's eyes fell on Xinguan. BRBR that longevity pill is an 8th-grade perfect elixir, a treasure that countless monks dream of. BRBR unexpectedly, Xinguan put the elixir up for auction at Wantong Chamber of Commerce. BRBR Xinguan took a deep breath and spoke in front of everyone's eyes. BRBR, of course it was refined by my master, and I witnessed the refining process of that elixir with my own eyes. BRBR the entire courtyard of the Chu family instantly fell into a deathly silence. BRBR you can hear the needle drop. BRBR everyone seemed motionless as if they had been cast a restraining spell. BRBR when Qian Ming was at the Qian family, he said personally that he refined the longevity pill. BRBR but now, Xinguan said that the elixir was refined by Chu Feng. BRBR who lied? BRBR after hearing Xinguan's words. Qian Ming froze in place as if struck by lightning. BRBR the perfect longevity pill with 100% efficacy, was refined by Chu Feng? BRBR how is this possible? BRBR Chu Feng is just a nascent soul cultivator, how could he possibly refine an 8th-grade perfect elixir? BRBR Qian Ming's mind went blank. He never thought that the Shou Yuan Dan mentioned by Taoist Xuanzhen was actually refined by Chu Feng. BRBR fear instantly overwhelmed him like a tide, and his lie might be exposed. BRBR Qian Ming suddenly came to his senses, as if he was crazy, and yelled crazily at Taoist Xuanzhen. BRBR impossible, this is absolutely impossible. BRBR Yin Kanglin's expression also became extremely solemn. He looked at Qian Ming's hysterical appearance, and his doubts deepened. BRBR, Qian Ming, didn't you say that you refined the longevity pill? BRBR cold sweat broke out on Qian Ming's forehead, and his body was shaking uncontrollably, but he still held his neck and said with force. BRBR of course I refined it. Xinguan was obviously jealous of my talent and my becoming the sect's holy son, so he deliberately framed me. BRBR you fart. BRBR Xinguan shouted angrily, pointing at Qian Ming with a loud voice. BRBR Qian Ming, how many kilograms do you have? I don't know yet, BRBR not to mention the perfect Shou Yuan pill that is 100% effective. You have never even seen what the Shou Yuan pill looks like BRBR now you dare to say so brazenly that you refined the Shou Yuan pill. Why are you so shameless? BRBR Xinguan's words are heartbreaking. BRBR Qian Ming's lips trembled and he wanted to refute, but found that he had nothing to say. BRBR Xinguan ignored Qian Ming and bowed deeply to Taoist Xuanzhen. BRBR ancestor, you must not be deceived by him. BRBR Qian Ming's alchemy talent is at the level of a 5th-grade alchemist at most. It is impossible for him to refine an 8th-grade elixir. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen's eyes slow. WLY fell on Chu Feng, and he also realized that he had been too hasty before. BRBR he was too eager for the Wuji Shou Yuan Dan and for immortality, so when he heard the news that Qian Ming had the talent for the 9th level of alchemy, he lost his bearings and directly named him the Holy Son without carefully confirming Qian Ming's identity. BRBR now that I think about it, there is something wrong with all of this. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen took a deep breath and suppressed the waves in his heart. BRBR Chu Feng, how do you prove that you are the one with the 9th level alchemy talent? BRBR hearing this, a faint sneer appeared at the corner of Chu Feng's mouth. BRBR he originally wanted the Danyang sect to be the force behind him, but he did not expect that these people were all blind people. BRBR he was deceived by a clown like Qian Ming and even named him the Holy Son. BRBR why do I need to prove it to you? BRBR as soon as these words came out, the entire courtyard fell into deathly silence again. BRBR everyone looked at Chu Feng as if they were seeing a madman. BRBR how dare he say such things to Taoist Xuanzhen? BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen is the ancestor of Danyang sect and a powerful master of the 9th level of void refining. BRBR Chu Feng is just a monk at the 3rd level of nascent soul, but he dares to be so arrogant and disrespectful? BRBR Xinguan's throat rolled violently, cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and he secretly complained in his heart. BRBR Master, didn't I explain it clearly just now? BRBR the person standing opposite you is a powerful being at the 9th level of refining the void. He can kill you with one slap. BRBR he looked at Taoist Xuanzhen nervously, fearing that his ancestor would beat Chu Feng to death in anger. BRBR when Taoist Xuanzhen heard Chu Feng's words, his eyes narrowed slightly, and a trace of cold murderous intent flashed in his eyes. BRBR young man, don't be too arrogant. BRBR Chu Feng raised his eyes and looked at Taoist Xuanzhen calmly. BRBR if you are not arrogant, can you still call yourself a young man? BRBR a trace of anger flashed in Taoist Xuanzhen's eyes, and his tone was full of disdain. BRBR, do you know that even if you really have the 9th level alchemy talent, you are just an ant in my eyes before you grow up? BRBR the smile on Chu Feng's face slowly faded, and his eyes became indifferent. BRBR your life is approaching. Without the Wuji Shouyuan pill to extend your life, you are just a dead person in my eyes. BRBR boom. BRBR these words were like sparks igniting a dynamite barrel, instantly detonating Taoist Xuanzhen's anger. BRBR Shouyuan, this is the deepest thorn in the heart of Xuanzhen Taoist. BRBR his biggest wish now is to refine the Wuji Shouyuan Dan, extend his life for thousands of years, and achieve the fusion realm. BRBR but Chu Feng actually humiliated him like this in front of so many people. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen's eyes instantly burst out with strong murderous intent, and the aura around him suddenly surged. BRBR a terrifying pressure swept across instantly like a tsunami. BRBR the spiritual grass in the courtyard withered instantly and turned into ashes. BRBR Qianming was so frightened by this coercion that he trembled all over, but he couldn't help but reveal a smile of gloating. BRBR Chu Feng, you are dead. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen condensed a ball of golden spiritual power in his palm, and struck it towards Chu Feng with a sudden palm. BRBR, today, I will teach you to be in awe. Taoist Xuanzhen heard Qianming's crazy roar, and a cold murderous intent flashed in his eyes. BRBR a loser who deceives the world and steals his reputation, dares to point fingers at him? BRBR you don't know how to live or die. BRBR before he finished speaking, he slapped Qianming with his palm. BRBR Qianming was still roaring crazily and didn't react at all. BRBR he only felt a terrifying force coming towards him, and his body was instantly enveloped by an invisible force. BRBR poof, BRBR with a muffled sound, Qianming's body exploded instantly like a punctured balloon. BRBR it was not until the moment before his death that he finally understood that he was just a clown. BRBR he regretted that he should not provoke Chu Feng. BRBR but, it was too late. BRBR the moment Qian Banqing saw Qianming being slapped to death, he felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His legs went weak and he knelt on the ground. BRBR the son who he thought could lead the Qian family to great success died like this? BRBR a despair-like catastrophe instantly overwhelmed him. BRBR Qian Banqing suddenly turned his head to look at Chu Feng. He kept kowtowing to Chu Feng. BRBR Mr. Chu, please spare my life. BRBR Qian Banqing's voice was filled with tears and he begged incoherently. BRBR I am short-sighted. Please forgive me, sir. I am willing to dedicate everything of the Qian family to you. Please spare my life. BRBR looking at this scene, Sun Yue stood beside Chu Feng, and an extremely absurd feeling surged in her heart. BRBR a few days ago, his father was like a pug, surrounding the Qian family and his son, and even sacrificed her happiness to give her to Qianming as a maid. BRBR at that time, who would have thought that the person who truly possesses the 9th level alchemy talent would be Chu Feng? BRBR who would have thought that the arrogant Qian family would end up like this? BRBR in order to curry favor with the Qian family, the Sun family did not hesitate to quarrel with Chu Feng, and even completely severed their relationship with the Chu family for a dying good fortune pill. BRBR a bitter smile appeared on the corner of Sun Yue's mouth. What kind of reaction would her father, no, Sun Yuan, have if he knew about this? BRBR Chu Feng glanced at Qian Banqing coldly, without any wavering in his eyes. BRBR, keep all the Qian family's property, and you can get out of Qingshan City. BRBR Qian Banqing's throat rolled slightly. He just said that he would give everything to the Qian family, but it was just a polite word. How could Chu Feng take it seriously? BRBR the entire Qian family's property is his lifetime's hard work. BRBR if they all stay, how will he gain a foothold after leaving Qingshan City? BRBR however, the moment he hesitated, a cold murderous intention instantly enveloped his whole body. BRBR he has no doubt that as long as he dares to say no, Chu Feng will immediately turn him into a puddle of flesh like Qianming. BRBR as ordered, I will keep all the property of the Qian family. Thank you very much, Master Chu, for not killing me. BRBR Chu Feng ignored him and turned to look at Sun Yue beside him. BRBR, you will take over the Baodan Pavilion in the future, thank you for your hard work. BRBR Sun Yue looked at Chu Feng in front of her, and suddenly realized that she had never seen him through, even though the two of them knew the details last night. BRBR, don't worry, I will definitely make Baodan Pavilion become the largest chamber of commerce in Qingshan City. BRBR now, she is already a member of the Chu family. BRBR Baodan Pavilion is Chu Feng's property. Even if Baodan Pavilion and Wanbao Pavilion become competitive, she will never show mercy. BRBR Chu Feng nodded slightly and spoke calmly to Lu Quan behind him. BRBR Lu Quan, see the guests off. BRBR hearing this, Lu Quan glanced at Taoist Xuanzhen out of the corner of his eye, and was so frightened that he broke out in a cold sweat. BRBR but he did not dare to disobey Chu Feng's order, so he could only bite the bullet and quickly walked to Taoist Xuanzhen. BRBR everyone, please. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen's face tightened instantly. The purpose of his trip was not to kill Qian Ming, but to get the Wuji Shouyuan Dan. BRBR Chu Feng can refine the 9th grade 9 transformation condensation pill, and he can probably refine the Wuji Shouyuan pill. BRBR this is his only hope for immortality, and he must not miss this opportunity. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen stepped forward quickly, his tone even carrying a hint of humility. BRBR little friend Chu, I was deceived by Qian Ming before. I would like to apologize to you. I also hope that the adults will not care about the faults of the villains. BRBR as soon as these words came out, everyone stared at each other. BRBR their ancestor actually apologized to a junior in public? BRBR however, Chu Feng seemed not to hear it, and kept walking without even turning his head. BRBR obviously, the apology conditions offered by Taoist Xuanzhen were not enough to impress him. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen's face became even more ugly. He looked at Chu Feng's back as he walked away. If he missed this opportunity today, he would never get the Wuji Shouyuan pill again in his life. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen gritted his teeth and spoke again. BRBR little friend Chu, since you have obtained the inheritance in the Danta Pagoda, the Danyang sect is willing to regard you as its holy son and mobilize all the resources of the sect. BRBR however, Chu Feng still did not stop, not even a moment's pause. BRBR Shengguan followed Chu Feng, feeling filled with emotions. BRBR he finally saw that although his master was only at the nascent soul realm, his energy far exceeded that of the Danyang sect. BRBR if he were asked to choose between Danyang sect and Chu Feng, he would choose the latter without hesitation. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen looked at Chu Feng's unrepentant back, and his heart skipped a beat, as if he had made some kind of determination. BRBR Danyang sect, I would like to take little friend Chu as the supreme elder and give orders to everyone in Danyang sect. BRBR boom. BRBR these words made the elders of Danyang sect suddenly lose their composure. BRBR Taishang elder, this is below 1 person and above 10,000 people. Is the ancestor crazy? BRBR, doesn't that mean that Chu Feng's status is still higher than that of the sect leader? BRBR, in order to obtain the Wuji Shouyuan Dan, the ancestor is risking his life. BRBR this position of Taishang elder has been vacant in Danyang sect for hundreds of years. BRBR only those who have made great contributions to the sect or are extremely powerful are qualified to serve. BRBR Yin Kanglin's face was also a little unnatural, but he knew very well what Taoist Xuanzhen meant to Danyang sect. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen is the sea-suppressing needle of Danyang sect. As long as Taoist Xuanzhen is there, Danyang sect can stand firm. BRBR if it can extend the life of Taoist Xuanzhen for 1,000 years, even if it means deposing him as the sect leader, it will be worth it. BRBR there is only one person who can do this, and that is Chu Feng. BRBR Yin Kanglin took a deep breath and suppressed the waves in his heart. BRBR he knew it was time for him to make a choice. BRBR Yin Kanglin saluted respectfully towards Chu Feng's back. BRBR Yin Kanglin, the master of Danyang sect, comes to see the supreme elder. BRBR seeing this, the eyelids of all the elders of Danyang sect jumped. BRBR they looked at each other and then saluted one after another. BRBR meet the supreme elder. After hearing this, Yun Kanglin seemed to have had all his strength drained away, and his eyes were full of despair. BRBR it's over. BRBR it's completely over. BRBR after the apprenticeship ceremony, he also made an oath of heaven. BRBR this means that there is no longer any possibility of reversing the matter of Taoist Xuanzhen worshipping Chu Feng as his teacher. BRBR from now on, the Danyang sect will really change its surname to Chu. BRBR he, the sect leader, has completely become a decoration. BRBR Yin Kanglin closed his eyes with despair. He had worked hard to run the Danyang sect for so many years, but in the end he became someone else's. BRBR however, just when he was desperate, Taoist Xuanzhen slapped him on the head. BRBR what are you still doing? Why don't you come and meet your master? BRBR master? BRBR. The corner of Yun Kanglin's mouth twitched slightly, and he had mixed feelings in his heart. BRBR. His master is actually Chu Feng? BRBR. If this spreads out, the sect leaders of other sects will definitely laugh at him. BRBR. Yun Kanglin couldn't help but glance at Taoist Xuanzhen. Taoist Xuanzhen was looking at him with a threatening look that seemed to say something. BRBR. If you dare not to worship, you will be responsible for the consequences. BRBR. Yun Kanglin felt a chill in his heart and immediately bowed to salute. BRBR. Yun Kanglin, meet the master. BRBR. After saying this, Yun Kanglin felt that his cheeks were as hot as if they were burned by fire. BRBR. The other elders looked at each other one by one, and after a brief hesitation, they also saluted in unison. BRBR. Meet the master. BRBR. Zhao Yurong, who was standing next to Chu Feng, froze on the spot. BRBR. Her husband first became the supreme elder of Danyang sect. BRBR. In just a short time, he became the master of Danyang sect again. BRBR. Zhao Yurong felt like the world was spinning and his heart was beating wildly, as if T was about to jump out of his throat. BRBR. She never dreamed that her husband would have such extraordinary abilities. BRBR. Chu Feng looked indifferent, as if he had seen such a scene before. BRBR. Everyone, get up. BRBR. Thank you, master. Everyone responded in unison. BRBR. Chu Feng's eyes fell on Zhao Yurong. BRBR. From now on, Zhao Yurong will be the saint of Danyang sect. BRBR. This time, everyone was a little more shocked. BRBR. They have long known about the relationship between Zhao Yurong and Chu Feng, and Zhao Yurong was the saint of Yuntian Palace before, so naturally they all know each other. BRBR. Now that Chu Feng is the leader of the entire Danyang sect, he wants to make his woman a saint. Who dares to have any objections? BRBR. This time, the elders did not hesitate at all. BRBR. I've seen the saint. BRBR. Zhao Yurong froze on the spot, completely confused. BRBR. She never thought that one day she would be able to become a saint again. BRBR. What flattered her even more was Danyang the sect leader and a group of elders actually saluted her, a saint. BRBR. She took a deep breath, tried to calm down her mood, and quickly bowed to everyone in return. BRBR. Yurong has met all of you, seniors. BRBR. Chu Feng knew what everyone was thinking, and then explained, BRBR. You don't have to think that I am using power for personal gain. My wife has recondensed her Tianling roots and is enough to be the saint of your Danyang sect. BRBR. After Chu Feng finished speaking, everyone took a breath of cold air. BRBR. She actually condensed the Tianling roots again. BRBR. Once the spiritual root is destroyed, there is almost no possibility of recovery, let alone the heavenly spiritual root. BRBR. I heard that Zhao Yurong left Yuntian Palace because her spiritual root was destroyed. I didn't expect that she could be reborn in nirvana. BRBR. Tianlingen, her cultivation speed is rapid. With such a saint, why should we, the Danyang sect, not be happy? BRBR. However, Taoist Xuanzhen suddenly stepped forward and corrected him, Master, what you said is wrong. BRBR. Chu Feng frowned slightly, and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. BRBR. Where did I say something wrong? BRBR. Taoist Xuanzhen raised his head and looked at Chu Feng with burning eyes. BRBR. It's not your Danyang sect, but our Danyang sect. BRBR. Hearing this, Chu Feng was stunned for a moment, and then he realized what he was doing and laughed dumbly. BRBR. He is now the master of Taoist Xuanzhen, the highest-ranking person in the entire Danyang sect. BRBR. He is no longer the lord of Qingshan City who stayed away from the matter, but the real master of the Danyang sect. BRBR. But this identity changed so quickly that he hadn't fully taken it in for a while. BRBR. Chu Feng stretched out his hand and pointed at Taoist Xuanzhen, and couldn't help laughing. BRBR. As if he remembered something, Taoist Xuanzhen continued. BRBR. The Yuntian secret realm is about to open, and the saint can return to the sect together to participate in this Yuntian conference. BRBR. When Zhao Yurong heard this name, a strange color flashed in his eyes. BRBR. As a former saint of Yuntian Palace, she was naturally familiar with the Yuntian conference. BRBR. Yuntian Palace, Danyang sect, 10,000 Beast sect, and Tianjin sect were originally from the same lineage, named Yuntian Dao sect. BRBR. At that time the Yuntian Dao sect is the well-deserved first sect of the Dafeng dynasty, and it is powerful in all directions. BRBR. Unfortunately, the leader of the Yuntian Dao sect died, and civil strife broke out within the sect, which eventually fell apart and split into the 4 major sections. BRBR. The Yuntian secret realm contains countless treasures of heaven and earth, and is the foundation of the 4 major sections. BRBR. The secret realm cannot be divided, so the 4 major sects have agreed to hold a Yuntian conference every 5 years. The ranking of the conference will determine the number of disciples from each sect entering the secret realm. BRBR. The higher the ranking, the more places you can enter the secret realm and the more opportunities you will get. BRBR. It's just that Danyang sect is not good at killing. BRBR in the past 100 years, he has been ranked last in the Yuntian Conference, and he has received the least number of secret realm places. BRBR if this continues, in a few terms, the Danyang sect may completely lose the qualification to enter the Yuntian secret realm. BRBR she took a deep breath and spoke forcefully. BRBR I am willing to represent the Danyang sect and participate in this Yuntian conference. BRBR not only does she want to fight for the Danyang sect, but she also wants to tell the Yuntian palace that she is back. BRBR Chu Feng has naturally heard of the Yuntian secret realm, and there is something he wants in it. BRBR I am now considered a member of the Danyang sect. Can I also participate in this Yuntian conference? BRBR this is what Taoist Xuanzhen is waiting for. BRBR, of course, with Master leading the team, our Danyang sect will surely win first place in the Yuntian conference. BRBR in the following time, Taoist Xuanzhen introduced the rules of the Yuntian conference in detail. BRBR after the discussion, Chu Feng took Zhao Yorong's hand, stood up and left. BRBR in the living room, only people from the Danyang sect were left, and the atmosphere gradually became a little subtle. BRBR Yun Kanglin hesitated for a long time, but finally couldn't help but ask. BRBR ancestor, even if Chu Feng possesses the 9th level of alchemy talent, he is only a nascent soul cultivator after all. BRBR how can he be your master? BRBR Yun Kanglin's words seemed to express the aspirations of all the elders. BRBR everyone raised their heads and looked at Taoist Zuans. Their eyes filled with the same doubts. BRBR yes, ancestor, we are not questioning Chu Feng's ability, but, this generation gap is really too big. BRBR he is young, no matter how talented he is in alchemy, he cannot teach you. BRBR ancestor, do you have something to hide? BRBR Su Qing stood at the end of the crowd, also looking puzzled. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen only said one sentence and instantly overwhelmed everyone's comments. BRBR Master has just refined a Wujisho Yuan pill for me that is 100% effective. BRBR in the living room, there was an instant deathly silence. BRBR you can hear the needle drop. BRBR the expressions on everyone's faces froze instantly, as if a mobilizing spell had been cast on them. BRBR 10% of the efficacy of the Wujisho Yuan Dan. BRBR that is the legendary 9th grade elixir, and one pill can extend your life for 1,000 years. BRBR the elders finally reacted and exclaimed one by one. BRBR my god, the 9th grade elixir is still a perfect elixir with 100% efficacy. BRBR how is it possible, how old is the master, that he can refine a 9th grade perfect elixir? BRBR nascent soul cultivation has refined a 9th grade perfect elixir. If this spreads, the entire Defeng dynasty will go crazy. BRBR what is the generation gap? BRBR in the face of the 9th grade perfect elixir that is 100% effective, these are not worth mentioning. BRBR Suan stared at Taoist Xuanzhen, his lips trembling, but he couldn't say a word. BRBR he has seen countless alchemy masters, but he has never heard of anyone who can refine a 9th grade elixir that is 100% effective. BRBR especially, the person who refined this elixir is still a young man in his 20s. BRBR such attainments in alchemy are simply unprecedented and unprecedented. BRBR Su Qing's reaction was even more exaggerated. Her body was trembling slightly, and the figure of Chu Feng could not help but appear in her mind. BRBR is he a 9th grade alchemist? The person with the 9th level alchemy talent turned out to be Chu Feng. BRBR Sherlanin, who followed him out, collapsed to the ground, his body shaking like chaff. BRBR Chu Feng is the Grand Master of the Danyang sect, the master of Patriarch Xuanzhen. BRBR Sun Yuan slapped his head suddenly, his eyes were filled with bloodshot eyes, and he wanted to slap himself twice. BRBR he figured it out. BRBR he finally figured it out. BRBR Chu Feng could easily take out a 100% effective die in good fortune pill as a betrothal gift. Qian Ming, that loser, could not even refine 4th grade pills. How could he have the 9th level alchemy talent? BRBR the real genius is Chu Feng, who personally pushed the giant Buddha out of the Sun family. BRBR no wonder Chu Feng can give out a die in good fortune pill with 100% efficacy as a betrothal gift. The person who truly possesses the talent of Dan Dao is Chu Feng. BRBR for a die in good fortune pill, and in order to curry favor with that loser Qian Ming, he actually severed the relationship with Chu Feng and even kicked Sun Yue out of the house. BRBR I picked up the sesame seeds and lost the watermelon. BRBR no. BRBR what he threw away was not a watermelon, but a mountain of gold that was enough to make the Sun family prosperous. BRBR as long as the Sun family has a relationship with Chu Feng can easily take out even 10 or 100 of them, let alone one die in fortune pill. BRBR Chu Feng can give the Sun family everything they want. BRBR wanting to understand all this, Sun Yuan wished he could hit his head against the wall and die. BRBR at this moment, the housekeeper hurried in from outside. BRBR master, no, something big has happened. BRBR Sun Yuan suddenly raised his head, with an ominous premonition flashing in his eyes. BRBR what happened? BRBR the housekeeper gasped and said with a hint of panic in his tone. BRBR I heard that Qian Ming was slapped to death by the ancestor of Danyang sect, and the Qian family is packing up, and all the family property must be handed over to the Chu family. BRBR boom. BRBR the sentence was like the last straw, completely crushing Sun Yuan's psychological defense. BRBR Qian Ming is dead. BRBR the Qian family collapsed. BRBR all the family property was handed over to the Chu family. BRBR Sun Yuan looked ahead blankly with a hint of despair in his voice. BRBR it's over, our Sun family is over, BRBR the Chu family. BRBR Sun Yue's eyes fell on the three people of the Sun family. There was no wave in her eyes, as if she was looking at three strangers. BRBR what are you doing here? BRBR Sun Yuan had a flattering smile on his face and a hint of flattery in his tone. BRBR Yue, my good daughter. BRBR Xuelian also stepped forward quickly, wanting to reach out to hold Sun Yue's hand, but Sun Yue sidestepped her. BRBR Xuelian's hand froze in midair, a trace of embarrassment flashed across her face, but she still said with a smile. BRBR Yue, it was all our fault before. We should not have severed ties with you. Please forgive us. BRBR Sun Qingyang stood aside, folding his arms and speaking with a sense of matter-of-factness. BRBR sister, I came here today to ask for your help with something. BRBR Sun Yue looked at the hypocritical looks of the three of them, her voice was cold and without any emotion. BRBR I have severed all ties with the Sun family, why do you still come to me? BRBR hearing this, Sun Yuan said quickly. BRBR Qingyang wholeheartedly wants to join the Danyang sect, and he also falls in love with Fairy Su Qing. BRBR do you think you can ask Chu Feng to do a favor, let Qingyang join the Danyang sect, and then let Fairy Su Qing marry Qingyang? BRBR Xuelian also quickly agreed. BRBR Qingyang is your brother, see. And you bear to see his marriage not settled? BRBR Sun Qingyang raised his head, with a hint of arrogance in his tone. BRBR sister, as long as you say a word to your brother-in-law, Su Qing will marry me obediently. BRBR I am the brother-in-law of the Grand Master of Shandan sect, and I am more than suitable for Su Qing. BRBR Sun Yue couldn't help laughing when she heard this. BRBR she looked at Sun Qingyang with cold eyes. BRBR Sun Qingyang, are you worthy? BRBR Sun Qingyang's expression changed instantly, with a hint of anger in his tone. BRBR sister, what do you mean by this? BRBR Sun Yue glanced at the three of them, with a hint of hatred in her tone. BRBR who forced me to work as a slave to Qian Ming in the first place, BRBR who sacrificed my happiness in order to curry favor with the Qian family, BRBR who cut off relations with me for a Dian fortune pill and said I was a white-eyed wolf. BRBR Sun Yuan opened his mouth, wanting to defend, but found that he had nothing to say. BRBR seeing this, Xuelian hurriedly smoothed things over and persuaded. BRBR Yue, it was all a misunderstanding before, BRBR that was all forced by the Qian family. We are doing it for your own good. We want you to marry a good family. BRBR for my own good? Sun Yue sneered, whether it is for me or for yourselves, you know it in your heart. BRBR the faces of the three of them turned blue and white, and they were extremely embarrassed. BRBR they lowered their heads and did not dare to look directly into Sun Yue's eyes. BRBR Sun Yue took a deep breath and spoke decisively. BRBR the Sun family, since you chose to sever ties with me, don't try to cling to the Chu family again. BRBR she looked Sun Qingyang up and down and couldn't help but shake her head. BRBR how can you show your virtue by not pooping in the urine? Su Qing is an inner disciple of Danyang sect and the granddaughter of Elder Su BRB. Or don't say that Chu Feng won't help you. Even if Chu Feng helps you, Su Qing will not marry you. BRBR she was almost forced by her family to work as a slave for Qian Ming. How could she let Chu Feng threaten another woman? BRBR Sun Qingyang's face instantly turned livid, he pointed at Sun Yue and said angrily. BRBR I'm your brother, how can you, a bitch, turn your elbows outward? BRBR pa. BRBR Sun Yue slapped Sun Qingyang directly in the face. BRBR I don't have a brother like you. From the moment you severed ties with me, I have no family. BRBR Xuelian stepped forward quickly and wanted to plead again, but was coldly interrupted by Sun Yue. BRBR no need to say more, now, please leave. BRBR Sun Yuan's face instantly became extremely ugly, and his tone was a hint of threat. BRBR Sun Yue, I am your biological father. If you don't help us, you will be ungrateful. BRBR Sun Yue didn't even look at Sun Yuan, but said directly to Lu Quan behind him. BRBR Lu Quan, see you off. From now on, no one from the Sun family is allowed to step into the Chu family again. BRBR hearing this, Lu Quan immediately stepped forward and said coldly to the three people of the Sun family, you three, please. BRBR seeing Sun Yue's resolute attitude, Sun Yuan and the others' expressions instantly became ferocious. BRBR their flattering smiles disappeared in an instant. BRBR Sun Yue. You white-eyed wolf, you forget who you are when you get married, aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning? BRBR you unfilial daughter, we have raised you in vain. BRBR has your conscience been eaten by a dog? Are you just looking at it? Do you want to watch your brother's future ruined? BRBR, just wait, if you don't help me today, you will regret it sooner or later. BRBR the curses of the three people echoed in the courtyard, but Sun Yue left without even looking back. BRBR just when the three of them were yelling vigorously, a huge black shadow suddenly rushed out from the direction of the inner courtyard. BRBR the evil ghost tiger rushed to the door, stared at the three people of the Sun family with eager eyes, and let out a low roar in its throat. BRBR roar, BRBR the tiger roared like thunder, causing eardrums of the three people in the Sun family to hurt and making them dizzy. BRBR a terrifying pressure swept across like a tide, making the three of them breathless. BRBR Sun Yuan's body trembled suddenly, his legs went weak and he fell to his knees. BRBR heavenly evil ghost tiger. BRBR help. Help. Sherlanin was so frightened that she started crying. BRBR Sun Qingyang looked at the cold eyes of the Tiansha ghost tiger and felt a cold air rushing from the soles of his feet to the Tianling cap. BRBR the demonic ghost tiger roared again and took a sudden step forward. BRBR the three people from the Sun family were so frightened that they ran towards the door of Chu mansion rolling and crawling. BRBR Sun Yue, how dare you kill your father? Your control of the elixir fire is not accurate enough. The Xianhuang Dan needs mild elixir fire to slowly extract the medicinal properties of the medicinal materials. You are too eager for success and the elixir fire is too strong, causing some of the medicinal properties to be lost. BRBR hearing this, Su Qing suddenly understood and nodded quickly. BRBR, thank you, Taishizu, for your advice. BRBR at this moment, a rush of footsteps came, accompanied by noisy discussions, breaking the tranquility of Danyun Pavilion. BRBR Chu Feng raised his head, frowned slightly, and looked towards the entrance of the courtyard. BRBR I saw Qin Yun striding into the courtyard, followed by Meng Shishir and a dozen Danyang sect disciples. BRBR Qin Yun walked up to Chu Feng and looked at him condescendingly, with a hint of provocation in his tone. BRBR, are you Chu Feng? BRBR Chu Feng raised his head and glanced at Qin Yun calmly. BRBR who are you? BRBR seeing this, Su Qing quickly stepped forward and explained to Chu Feng. BRBR this person's name is Qin Yun. He is a direct disciple of the great elder Lin Yingji. He was also one of the candidates selected by the sect for the Yuntian conference. You and the saint took his and Meng Shishir's place. BRBR after saying that, Su Qing turned to look at Qin Yun again, frowning. BRBR Qin Yun, this is the great ancestor of our sect. How dare you be so rude and break into Danyun Pavilion? BRBR Qin Yun snorted coldly and ignored Su Qing's scolding. BRBR he looked at Chu Feng, his eyes full of dissatisfaction. BRBR Chu Feng, I don't care whether you are the Supreme Elder or the Grand Master, I only know that you took away my place in the competition. BRBR I want to challenge you. If you lose, give me your place in the Yuntian conference. BRBR as soon as he finished speaking, the disciples behind him began to boo. BRBR this boy looks young, but he can be the Supreme Elder of our Danyang say. CT? BRBR I heard that he is from Qingshan City, and he is the boy who tested out the 9th level of alchemy talent. BRBR, but the competition in the Yuntian conference is about strength, not alchemy, so what if he is good at alchemy? BRBR this boy looks like he is only 20 years old, and how high his cultivation level can be, senior brother Qin can crush him to death with one finger. BRBR, what on earth do the sect master and the ancestors think, to allow such a boy to become the Supreme Elder, and to take away senior brother Qin's place? It's really too much. BRBR these disciples usually admire Qin Yun very much, but now that they saw Qin Yun being taken away, they naturally sided with Qin Yun. BRBR listening to these discussions, Chu Feng's face remained unmoved, as if he had not heard anything. BRBR his eyes slowly fell on Meng Shishir who was behind Qin Yun. BRBR I saw a faint blue halo lingering around Meng Shishir. Obviously, she was also a woman with great luck. BRBR Su Qing saw Chu Feng's eyes falling on Meng Shishir and continued to introduce. BRBR this is Meng Shishir, and she is also the fiancée of senior brother Qin Yun. BRBR hearing this, a hint of understanding flashed in Chu Feng's eyes. BRBR, he looked at Qin Yun with a hint of amusement in his tone. BRBR, you want to challenge me and bet on the quota in the Yuntian conference? BRBR, Qin Yun puffed up his chest and said proudly. BRBR, yes, do you dare to accept the challenge? BRBR, Chu Feng looked at him with a hint of ridicule in his tone. BRBR, what qualifications do you have to bet with me? BRBR, he paused and continued. BRBR, if I lose, I have to give up my place, but if I win, what will I get? BRBR, you come here empty-handed and want to bet on my place. How can there be such a good thing in the world? BRBR, Qin Yun's face sank slightly. He did not expect that Chu Feng would make such a request. BRBR, however, if you think about it, carefully, what the other party said makes sense. BRBR, he gritted his teeth and took off the long sword from his waist. BRBR, the long sword was completely black, and the moment the sword was unsheathed, it exuded a fierce sword aura. BRBR, this is the sword my master gave me. It's called the Moying sword. It's an earthly weapon. BRBR, Qin Yun held the Moying sword and handed it forward. BRBR, is this sword enough for a bet? BRBR, a trace of envy flashed in everyone's eyes. Only the elders of the inner sect are qualified to possess the earthly weapon. BRBR, Qin Yun can have an earth weapon sword, which is enough to show that the great elder attaches great importance to him. BRBR, Chu Feng looked at the ink shadow sword with a faint sneer at the corner of his mouth. BRBR, a flash of light flashed across his fingertips, and the Xingxi sword appeared in his hand. BRBR, as soon as the long sword appeared, a terrifying pressure spread instantly. That pressure was far more powerful than the Emo shadow sword. BRBR, do you think I would care less about your broken sword? BRBR, this is, BRBR, Qin Yun's pupils shrank suddenly, his body trembled slightly, and a name echoed crazily in his mind. BRBR, above the earthly vessels are the heavenly vessels. BRBR, the sword in Chu Feng's hand turned out to be a heavenly weapon. BRBR, the disciples present immediately exploded. BRBR, isn't Chu Feng from Qingshan City? How could there be a heavenly weapon in a place like that? BRBR, in my opinion, it should have been given to him by the ancestor. BRBR, senior brother Qin's earthly weapon is really not good enough in front of the heavenly weapon. BRBR, Qin Yun's hand holding the Emo shadow sword was shaking violently. BRBR, under the light of the Xingxi sword, Emoing sword looked so dim and so ridiculous. BRBR, whatever bet you want, as long as I can come up with it, I can give it to you. BRBR, he is already riding a tiger. If he doesn't bet today, he will not only lose his place, but also become the laughingstock of the sect. BRBR, Chu Feng looked at Qin Yun, and the smile on his lips became stronger. BRBR, he pointed at Mengshishir, with a trace of playfulness in his eyes, and said word by word, BRBR, I want her. BRBR, Qin Yun's eyes turned cold. BRBR, you, what did you say? BRBR, Chu Feng looked at him and repeated it again. BRBR, I want her to make an oath of heaven. If you lose, she will recognize me as her master. BRBR, these words were like thunder, instantly shaking the whole place. BRBR, Qin Yun's face instantly turned livid, his fists were clenched, and his eyes were full of furious flames. BRBR, Chu Feng, you are going too far. BRBR, Mengshishir trembled even more, her face full of astonishment. BRBR, since she entered the door, Chu Feng's eyes have always been on her, but she never thought that the other party dared to make such a request. BRBR, those behind her, the disciples, were also shocked, and they all looked at each other. BRBR, no one expected that the bet Chu Feng wanted would be Mengshishir. BRBR, the atmosphere in Danyun Pavilion instantly became tense. BRBR, Chu Feng actually dared to let junior sister Meng recognize him as the master? BRBR, crazy, he is definitely crazy. Junior sister Meng is senior brother Qin's fiancée. BRBR, he was just granted the title of Supreme Elder by his ancestor because of his 9th level alchemy talent. Do you really think he is invincible? BRBR, however, Chu Feng seemed not to feel Qin Yun's anger at all. BRBR, if you don't dare to gamble, get out. BRBR, Qin Yun's face turned as green as iron in an instant, and the spiritual power of the 3rd level of golden elixir around him surged out like a boil. BRBR, he stared at Chu Feng, the veins on his forehead popped out, and his voice seemed to be squeezed out from between his teeth. BRBR, Chu Feng. You are looking for death. BRBR, me. Mengshishir is his fiancée and his Taoist companion. BRBR, this is not only humiliating Mengshishir, but also stepping on his face. BRBR, it is intolerable. But what is intolerable? Qin Yun's knees weakened and he fell to his knees heavily. BRBR, 2 deep pits were made on the bluestone floor by his knees, and the cracks spread outward like spider webs. BRBR, the Emoing sword flew out of his hand and landed on the ground with a clang. The cracks on the sword were clearly visible. BRBR, the entire Danyun Pavilion was deathly silent. BRBR, the expressions on the faces of those people who were originally clamoring for cheers all froze. BRBR, the smile on Lu Ruyan's face had long since disappeared. She staggered back 2 steps, her lips trembling as she tried to say something, but no sound came out. BRBR lost, Qin actually lost. BRBR Mengshishir was shaking violently, her nails dug deeply into her palms, and blood dripped down her fingers, but she was completely unaware of it. BRBR she looked at Qin who was kneeling on the ground unable to move, and all her luck turned into powder at this moment. BRBR the golden mark of the heavenly oath was faintly burning between her eyebrows, reminding her of the contract that could not be broken. BRBR if Qin loses, she will recognize Chu Feng as her master and serve him for life. BRBR Chu Feng walked towards Qin who was kneeling on the ground. Every step he took seemed to be stepping on the heartbeats of everyone. BRBR finally, he stopped in front of Qin. BRBR Qin raised his head with difficulty, his eyes were bloodshot, and his originally handsome face had become distorted. BRBR, what is your cultivation level? BRBR Chu Feng did not answer, but raised his right foot and lightly stepped on Qin's head. BRBR this action was very light, not even forceful, but the humiliation contained in it made everyone take a breath. BRBR admit defeat, or die. Chu Feng's voice was so cold that it chilled people's bones. I will give you 3 breaths of time to choose. BRBR you dare to kill me? Qin squeezed out these words through his teeth. My master is the great elder. BRBR 2. BRBR Chu Feng interrupted him directly, and the strength under his feet increased slightly. BRBR Qin felt an overwhelming clicking sound coming from his skull, and the shadow of death instantly enveloped his heart. BRBR at this moment, all his unwillingness seemed so ridiculous in the face of the absolute gap in strength. BRBR he thought of his more than 10 years of hard training, the 10 years of hard work preparing for the Yuntian conference, and the heroic words he made to his master in Jinjiangshuan. BRBR but all of these are incomparable to the fear of death at this moment. BRBR I give up. BRBR 3 words, using up all his strength. BRBR after the words fell, Qin seemed to have been drained of all his energy. He collapsed to the ground and looked at the sky with empty eyes. BRBR Chu Feng retracted his foot, and the terrifying pressure that shrouded the entire hospital receded like a tide. BRBR get out. BRBR those disciples seemed to be waking up from a dream, and rushed forward in a hurry, trying to hold up the limp Qin. BRBR someone picked up the cracked demoing sword on the ground and hurriedly put it into its scabbard. BRBR no one dared to speak during the whole process, and even their breathing was deliberately gentle, for fear of attracting Chu Feng's attention. BRBR everyone left, but Mengshishir stood there, trembling slightly. BRBR Chu Feng sat down again, and then his eyes fell on her. BRBR Mengshishir. BRBR Mengshishir slowly raised her head, her eyes filled with deathly gray. BRBR she walked up to Chu Feng, knelt on her knees, and spoke in a hollow voice. BRBR Master. BRBR the oath of heaven has taken effect, and the golden mark faintly appeared between her eyebrows, firmly locking the master-servant relationship between her and Chu Feng. BRBR Su Qing was also very sensible and immediately bowed to salute. BRBR disciple, please leave. BRBR when she turned around, she gave Mengshishir a complicated look, then exited the other courtyard and closed the door. BRBR the courtyard of Danyan Pavilion suddenly became so quiet that only the rustling of bamboo leaves in the wind was left. BRBR Mengshishir stood 3 steps away from Chu Feng, with her head bowed and her hands unconsciously clenching the corners of her clothes. BRBR she could hear her own heartbeat, one after another, which was particularly clear in the silent night. BRBR Chu Feng looked at her quietly and approached slowly. BRBR Mengshishir subconsciously wanted to retreat, but her feet seemed to be rooted, unable to move. BRBR finally, Chu Feng stopped in front of her. BRBR the two were so close that they could feel each other's breath, and Mengshishir smelled the faint refreshing breath on his body. BRBR Chu Feng stretched out his hand and gently lifted her chin. BRBR Mengshishir's whole body stiffened instantly, and an electric numbness spread from her lower jaw to the top of her head. BRBR she has never had such close contact with a man. Even Qin only held her hand when he was closest to him. BRBR don't move. Chu Feng's voice was a little lower, from now on, you are my woman. BRBR these words were like thunder, exploding in Mengshishir's mind. BRBR her eyes widened, and panic, humiliation, and unwillingness suddenly filled her eyes. BRBR she wanted to shake her head, retreat, and push him away, but, BRBR when the thought of resistance just arose, the golden mark between her eyebrows suddenly burned, and an invisible force spread from the depths of her soul. BRBR no. BRBR she struggled to pronounce a syllable, but it was too late. BRBR Chu Feng's face enlarged in front of his eyes, and then, his lips fell. BRBR Mengshishir's body trembled violently, and she put her hands on his chest, trying to push him away. BRBR but the strength was soft, more like a feeble struggle than rejection. BRBR, the constraints of the heavenly Tao oath are getting stronger and stronger. Every time I have a thought of resistance, my soul is stinging like a needle. BRBR, what's even more frightening is that her body begins to betray her will. BRBR, Mengshirshir felt her waist loosen, and her dress lost its restraint. BRBR, no. BRBR, she struggled again, with a cry in her voice, I'm not ready yet. BRBR, no need to prepare. Chu Feng's tone was unequivocal, you just need to accept it. BRBR, after the words fell, his arms picked her up by the waist. BRBR, Mengshirshir closed her eyes, her long eyelashes trembled slightly, and a tear fell. BRBR, the news spread like wildfire in Danyang sect. BRBR, have you heard that senior brother Qin went to challenge the new supreme elder, but was suppressed without even using a single move? BRBR, not only that, senior brother Qin used a sword to break the sky, but Chu Feng didn't even move, and crushed senior brother Qin's sword with just pressure. BRBR, 20-year-old nascent soul is simply a monster. BRBR, my god, what about senior sister Mengshirshir? I heard that she has made an oath of heaven. BRBR, oh, I have recognized my master, and now I am waiting in Danyang Pavilion. BRBR, deep in the Danyang sect, on a mountain shrouded in mist. BRBR, Taoist Xuanzhen stood on the edge of the cliff with his hands folded, listening to Yun Kanglin's report, with a meaningful smile on his face. BRBR, it seems that the position of Supreme Elder is worth it. BRBR, Yun Kanglin's expression was a little strange. BRBR, ancestor, Chu Feng humiliated Qin Yun so much, the great elder. BRBR, Taoist Xuanzhen waved his hand. BRBR, it is a good thing for young people to be a little arrogant, but if you don't know how high the sky is, you will always have to suffer some hardships. BRBR, Chu Feng's move is not only to establish his authority, but also to knock some arrogant juniors for us. BRBR, in the Jingyun Pavilion, Lin Yingji looked at Qin Yun who was kneeling in front of him, and was speechless for a long time. BRBR, she never expected that Chu Feng was actually at the nascent soul realm. BRBR, master, disciple. I've embarrassed you. Qin Yun's voice was hoarse, and his eyes no longer had the sparkle of the past. BRBR, Lin Yingji sighed and reached out to help Qin Yun up. BRBR, it's not your fault. The 20-year-old nascent soul 3rd level, let alone you, even when I was a teacher, you are far behind. BRBR, she paused and her tone was complicated. BRBR, it's just that child Shirshir, who has made an oath to heaven, and there is nothing he can do as a teacher. BRBR, Qin Yun's body trembled and his eyes were scarlet. BRBR, the disciple will definitely take her back. Lu Bin was held by Shirya's arm, his body stiffened, and there was a hint of embarrassment on his face. BRBR, he looked at Zhao Yurong, a trace of guilt flashed in his eyes, but he did not dare to break away from Shirya's hand. BRBR, Zhao Yurong looked at Shirya's triumphant look, then looked at Lu Bin's embarrassed look, with a hint of sarcasm at the corner of his mouth. BRBR, are you done? You can leave. BRBR, hearing this, the false smile on Shirya's face suddenly faded away and she stopped pretending. BRBR, are you the only one who still wants to participate in the Yuntian conference? BRBR, she pinched Zhao Yurong's chin with her palms slightly, forcing her to look up at her. BRBR, Zhao Yurong, do you think you can turn over after you have recovered the 1st level of the Golden Core? BRBR, tell you, in my eyes, you are still the waste who was expelled from Yuntian Palace. BRBR, if you really dare to participate in the Yuntian conference, I will let you die in the conference. BRBR, Zhao Yurong stared at Shirya coldly and said word by word. BRBR, my business has nothing to do with you. BRBR, it has nothing to do with me? Shirya seemed to have heard a big joke. Back then you took away my position as a saint, and now you appear on the Danyang sect's participant list. You say it has nothing to do with me? BRBR, at this moment, Lu Bin, who had been standing behind Shirya with a pale face, finally couldn't help but speak. BRBR, he pulled Rashia's sleeves with a hint of pleading in his tone. BRBR, don't be like this. If you have something to say, please say it. BRBR, his eyes fell on Zhao Yurong's face involuntarily. Even though Zhao Yurong's current cultivation level was only at the level of the golden elixir, in his heart, Zhao Yurong was still the aloof saint who haunted him. BRBR, when Shirya heard Lu Bin's words, her face turned livid instantly. BRBR, she turned her head sharply and slapped Lu Bin hard on the face. BRBR, pop. BRBR, crisp sound was particularly harsh in the silent yard. BRBR, Lu Bin's body trembled suddenly, his cheeks instantly became red and swollen, and a trace of blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. BRBR, he looked at Shirya in disbelief, his eyes full of astonishment. BRBR, you, BRBR, Shirya stared at Lu Bin, her eyes full of anger. BRBR, do you still have lingering feelings for her? Do you feel soft-hearted when you see her? BRBR Lu Bin, don't forget, you are my Taoist companion now, BRBR, and she is just a waste who was expelled from the sect. BRBR Lu Bin was scolded by Shirya until his head was bloody, and his face turned blue and white. He opened his mouth and wanted to defend, but found that he had nothing to say. BRBR, he indeed had lingering feelings for Zhao Yurong. The moment he saw Zhao Yurong, a turmoil arose in his heart. BRBR, however, before Lu Bin could speak, Zhao Yurong spoke coldly. BRBR, I already have a husband, please pay attention to your words. BRBR what? BRBR Shirya and Lu Bin were both stunned. They looked at each other with a hint of disbelief in their eyes. BRBR Shirya looked Zhao Yurong up and down with a hint of ridicule in her tone. BRBR, you were expelled from Yuntian Palace. No one wanted you, so you just found a man to marry, right? BRBR, I want to see what kind of man he is, marrying a loser like you. BRBR Lu Bin's heart seemed to be grasped hard by an invisible hand, and it hurt so much that he couldn't breathe. BRBR, he clenched his fists tightly, his nails almost digging into his flesh. BRBR, she is actually married? BRBR, the saint who once fascinated him is actually married? BRBR, at this moment, a clear voice came from outside the courtyard gate. BRBR Yurong. BRBR, everyone followed the sound and saw Chu Feng walking in slowly. BRBR, the sunlight shines on him through the gaps in the leaves, outlining his tall and straight figure, like an immortal descending to earth. BRBR, the moment Zhao Yurong saw Chu Feng, the coldness in his eyes melted instantly. BRBR, she walked forward quickly, took Chu Feng's arm affectionately, and gently leaned her head on his shoulder. BRBR, this is my husband, Chu Feng. BRBR Chu Feng was startled by Zhao Yurong's sudden intimacy. He lowered his head and looked at Zhao Yurong, who was leaning on his shoulder, and then looked up at Shirya and Lu Bin in the courtyard, with a trace of doubt in his eyes. BRBR, he nodded slightly to the two of them and asked in a calm tone. BRBR, who are these two? BRBR Zhao Yurong held Chu Feng's arm and spoke slowly with a hint of coldness in his eyes. BRBR, this is the new Saint Shirya of Yuntian Palace, and this is her Taoist companion Lu Bin. BRBR Lu Bin looked out, his eyes full of hostility. BRBR, the moment Shirya saw Chu Feng, her eyes suddenly lit up. BRBR, her eyes fell on Chu Feng's handsome face, and a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. BRBR Chu Feng's appearance was much better than Lu Bin's, and he exuded an indescribable aura that made her heart beat. BRBR, a thought suddenly came to her mind. BRBR, she wants to snatch everything from Zhao Yurong. BRBR, back then, she stole the position of saint, and now, she wants to steal Zhao Yurong's husband. BRBR Shirya walked up to Chu Feng, with a charming smile on her face, and her voice was so soft it could make her water drop. BRBR, Mr. Chu, I am Shirya, the saint of Yuntian Palace. BRBR Lu Bin was so angry that he was shaking with anger when he saw Shirya being so eager for Chu Feng, and his eyes were full of jealousy. BRBR Zhao Yurong felt Shirya's gaze and frowned tightly. She held Chu Feng's arm harder, with a hint of vigilance in her eyes. BRBR Shirya, did you come to me just to chat with my husband? BRBR Shirya turned to look at Zhao Yurong, with a proud smile on her lips. BRB. Our senior sister Zhao is jealous. I just wanted to say hello to Mr. Chu. BRBR Chu Feng looked at the three people who were at war with each other in front of him and understood something in his heart. BRBR, although he didn't know the past between the three of them, he could still see Shirya's provocation. BRBR, I wonder what the saint has come to do today? BRBR, seeing that Chu Feng's tone was calm and that he was not tempted by his beauty, Shirya felt a flash of displeasure in her heart, but she quickly covered it up. BRBR, it's okay, I just came to see senior sister. BRBR, after all, we will meet at the Yuntian conference soon. BRBR, after saying that, Shirya winked at Chu Feng, then turned and left. BRBR Lu Bin staggered and couldn't help but look back at Zhao Yurong. BRBR, but Zhao Yurong just looked at him coldly, without any wavering in his eyes. BRBR, after the two left, tranquility finally returned to the yard. BRBR Zhao Yurong suddenly pulled Chu Feng's arm and walked quickly towards the house. BRBR Chu Feng was pulled by her and teased. BRBR, madam, it's broad daylight. BRBR Zhao Yurong stopped abruptly, with a hint of urgency in his tone. BRBR, I want to improve my cultivation, and I want to defeat Shirya in the Yuntian conference. BRBR Chu Feng looked at the tears in Zhao Yurong's eyes, and the teasing in his heart disappeared without a trace in an instant. BRBR, okay, I'll help you. BRBR, during this period, he has used elixirs to upgrade Zhao Yurong's cultivation to the first level of the golden elixir. BRBR, but it is still a bit reluctant to help her break through to the 8th level of the golden core before the Yuntian conference. BRBR, however, he already had an idea in his mind. BRBR, soon, Zhao Yurong's suppressed breathing could be heard in the room. BRBR 1 month later. BRBR. The spiritual power fluctuation in the room reached its peak, and the rich spiritual power most condensed into substance. BRBR. Zhao Yurong arched his waist suddenly, his whole body trembling violently. BRBR. Breakthrough. I have a breakthrough. BRBR. As soon as she finished speaking, a majestic spiritual power burst out from her body and swept through the entire room. BRBR. Her aura surged instantly, breaking through to the 6th level of the golden core. BRBR. Zhao Yurong slowly opened her eyes. The spiritual power in her body became extremely strong, and her meridians expanded several times. BRBR. In just 1 month, her cultivation level actually improved by 5 minor realms, reaching the 6th level of the golden core. BRBR. If this spreads out, it will definitely shock the entire Dafeng dynasty. BRBR. Zhao Yurong hugged Chu Feng gently, with a hint of sobs in his tone. BRBR. Thank you, husband. BRBR. Chu Feng patted her back gently and said in a calm tone. BRBR. We are husband and wife, no need to say thank you. BRBR. Zhao Yurong raised his head, the excitement in his eyes gradually faded away, replaced by a trace of regret. BRBR. Tomorrow is the Yuntian conference. I am now at the 6th level of the golden core, but Shurye is at the 8th level. I am still 2 small realms away from her. BRBR. Chu Feng looked at her lost look and took out a small tripod from the ring. BRBR. Bring this to the meeting tomorrow. If you meet Shurye, activate this cauldron. BRBR. Zhao Yurong took the small cauldron, and a majestic pressure came, shaking her heart. BRBR. This is a sacred artifact, the purple gold furnace of the universe. BRBR. She had seen records about the purple gold furnace of the universe in the ancient books of Yuntian Palace. This is the treasure of the Dam Pagoda, the real sacred instrument. BRBR. Chu Feng nodded and said calmly. BRBR. Yes, with this, you will definitely be able to win against her. BRBR. Zhao Yurong held the Chankuan purple gold furnace tightly in his hand, but a trace of hesitation flashed in his heart. BRBR. Isn't this a bit overwhelming? BRBR. Chu Feng gently stroked her hair. BRBR. The path of cultivation is about the law of wealth, and sacred weapons are also part of the strength. BRBR. Moreover, the Yuntian conference has no regulations, so the use of sacred weapons is not allowed. BRBR. Zhao Yurong put away the purple gold furnace of the universe, and then threw himself on Chu Feng. BRBR. Husband, do it again. Danyang sect. BRBR. A figure walked quickly, it was Taoist Xuanzhen. BRBR. When he reached the entrance of Danyun Pavilion, Taoist Xuanzhen stopped, straightened his clothes, and then respectfully shouted into the courtyard. BRBR. Master, according to your instructions, I have gathered together the medicinal materials for refining the 9 turns condensation pill. BRBR. After the words fell, Chu Feng's calm voice came from the courtyard. BRBR. Come in. BRBR. Taoist Xuanzhen quickly pushed open the door and entered with a flattering smile on his face. He quickly walked up to Chu Feng and presented the storage bag with both hands. BRBR. These are all the disciples rummaged through from the sect's treasury. Each of them is top-notch medicinal materials and absolutely meets the requirements for refining the 9 transformations condensing pill. BRBR. Chu Feng took the storage bag and flicked it with his fingertips. The mouth of the bag opened automatically, and a strong medicinal fragrance instantly spurted out. BRBR. His eyes glanced at the medicinal materials in the storage bag and nodded slightly. BRBR. Not bad. BRBR. When Taoist Xuanzhen heard this, the smile on his face became even stronger. BRBR. He rubbed his hands with a hint of expectation in his tone. BRBR. Master, this time you are refining the elixir, can the disciples learn from it? BRBR. The 9 transformation condensation pill is a 9th grade elixir, and it is definitely a great opportunity for him to observe Chu Feng refining the 9th grade elixir. BRBR. Chu Feng glanced at him and nodded lightly. BRBR. Of course. BRBR. Thank you, Master. BRBR. Taoist Xuanzhen almost jumped up with excitement and quickly bowed and saluted. BRBR. He carefully stepped aside and found a corner out of the way to stand. His eyes were wide open, for fear of missing any detail. BRBR. Boom. BRBR. With a soft sound, a Tao fire instantly ignited in the Chankuan purple gold furnace. BRBR. The universe borrows the magic, the elixir fire condenses the soul, the 9 turns return to 1, the mind gathers the energy. BRBR. As the magic formula is penetrated, the flames in the furnace become more and more intense. BRBR. Taoist Xuanzhen stood aside, staring at Chu Feng's movements without blinking, and his breathing became cautious. BRBR. It turns out that the alchemy fire can be controlled like this, it turns out that the magic formula can be combined like this, my previous alchemy skills were simply child's play. BRBR. 1 stick of incense passed. BRBR. Chu Feng suddenly stopped his hand and gave a low drink. BRBR. Condensation. BRBR. After the words fell, the flames in the purple-gold furnace instantly converged, and the golden mist at the mouth of the furnace also condensed. BRBR golden light flashed, and a pill slowly flew out from the furnace mouth, suspended in midair. BRBR Chu Feng raised his hand and grabbed the 9 turns concentration pill in his hand. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen standing aside was stunned at this moment. BRBR the 9 turns concentrating pill was reflected in his pupils, and the expression on his face had solidified. BRBR after a long time, Taoist Xuanzhen slowly came back to his senses. BRBR 10% effective. BRBR he has seen countless alchemists and countless elixirs, but he has never seen anyone so easily refine a 9th grade elixir that is 100% effective. BRBR the admiration for Chu Feng in Taoist Xuanzhen's heart has reached an unprecedented level. BRBR Chu Feng ignored Taoist Xuanzhen. He turned to look at the void beside him and spoke lightly. BRBR Ampe, come out. BRBR after the words fell, a ray of light flew out from the Xingxi sword on Chu Feng's waist. BRBR Pei Yuhan looked at the 9 turns concentrating pill in Chu Feng's hand, a glint of excitement flashed in his eyes. BRBR, is this, given to me? BRBR this is the 9 revolution condensation pill. Aunt Pei can restore the strength of her soul body after taking it. BRBR Chu Feng handed the elixir to Pei Yuhan. The reason why he first refined the 9 revolution condensation pill for Ziyan was because he wanted to get the purple gold furnace of the universe. BRBR otherwise, with his current level of cultivation, he would not be able to refine a 9th grade elixir that is 100% effective with an ordinary alchemy furnace. BRBR Pei Yuhan's eyes instantly became moist, and she took the elixir and put it directly into her mouth. BRBR the elixir melted in her mouth and turned into a hot stream of warmth, flowing down her throat and into her soul. BRBR pure power instantly exploded in her soul. BRBR Pei Yuhan felt an indescribable sense of comfort sweeping through her body. BRBR wherever the warm current passed, her damaged soul was being repaired at a speed visible to the naked eye. BRBR her originally transparent figure gradually became solid, and the aura around her became stronger and stronger. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen stood aside, his eyes full of envy. BRBR 9 revolutions condensation pill, a pill that is enough to drive countless void refining realm monks crazy. Chu Feng actually gave it to a weapon spirit casually. BRBR this handwriting is too big. BRBR after a while, Pei Yuhan slowly opened his eyes. BRBR her figure has become no different from ordinary people, and her whole body exudes the terrifying pressure of the 9th level of refining the void. BRBR she stood on her tiptoes, leaned against Chu Feng's cheek, and kissed him. BRBR the soft touch came, and Chu Feng's body froze slightly. BRBR Pei Yuhan's cheeks turned red instantly, and her tone was a little shy. BRBR, thank you for your great kindness, and I will repay you with a spring of water in the future. BRBR after saying that, Pei Yuhan's figure turned into a ray of light and shadow and flew into the Xingxi sword. BRBR Chu Feng froze on the spot, stretched out his hand to touch the cheek that had been kissed, and there was a hint of astonishment on his face. BRBR Yuntian Conference. BRBR Yuntian Palace, as the first place winner in the last Yuntian Conference, has the qualifications to hold the conference. BRBR at this moment, Yanwu Square is already overcrowded. BRBR in the center of the square, a huge arena was built. BRBR the arena is made of 10,000-year-old spiritual wood, and a defensive formation is laid out on it, which is enough to withstand a full blow from a cultivator in the realm of gods. BRBR at this moment, there was a commotion at the entrance to the square. BRBR I saw everyone from the Danyang sect walking in, led by a woman. BRBR her waist is as slender as a willow, and her shoulders are round. Even if she is wearing a loose Taoist robe, her thrilling curves cannot be concealed. She is none other than Lin Yingji, the great elder of Danyang sect. BRBR following Lin Yingji were the 5 people from the Danyang sect attending the Yuntian conference. BRBR Chu Feng, Zhao Yurong, Su Qing, Su Bai, Yao Meng. BRBR when Zhao Yurong's figure appeared in everyone's sight, the square instantly exploded. BRBR then, isn't that Zhao Yurong? BRBR my god, is it really her? Wasn't her spiritual roots destroyed and expelled from Yuntian Palace? BRBR she is wearing the Taoist robe of Danyang sect. Could it be that, she has joined Danyang sect? BRBR the disciples of Yuntian Palace all widened their eyes. Zhao Yurong was once a saint of Yuntian Palace, and everyone here knew her. BRBR later, her spiritual roots were completely destroyed and she was expelled from the sect. Everyone thought that she had become a complete useless person. BRBR unexpectedly, she would appear at the Yuntian conference as a disciple of Danyang sect. BRBR the elders of Yuntian Palace also frowned. Yi Tang looked at Zhao Yurong's figure with a hint of coldness in his eyes. BRBR among these discussions, there are some other voices. BRBR, the great elder of Danyang sect is so beautiful. BRBR, these comments reached Lin Yingji's ears, and there was no trace of emotion on her face. BRBR, she led Chu Feng and others, walked slowly to the seats of Danyang sect, and sat down. BRBR, Chu Feng glanced at the 4 people beside him and secretly complained in his heart. BRBR, this Danyang sect really has a strong yin and a weak yang. Among the 5 people participating in the Yuntian conference, there were actually 4 women and he was the only man. BRBR, he knew the 2 sisters Su Qing and Su Bai. BRBR, Yao Meng is the granddaughter of Taoist Xuanzhen. Her cultivation has reached the 3rd level of the golden elixir. She is cute, with a pair of big eyes rolling around, looking around curiously. BRBR, at this moment, an elder from Yuntian Palace walked onto the ring, holding a black lottery tube in his hand. BRBR, he cleared his throat and said in a loud voice. BRBR, everyone, we are now going to draw lots for the Yuntian conference. BRBR, the 4 major sects will fight against each other in pairs. The winner will be promoted and the loser will be eliminated. BRBR, the 2 sects that finally advanced will have a decisive battle to compete for the 1st place in the Yuntian conference. BRBR, after the words fell, the square fell silent instantly. BRBR, representatives of the 4 major sects, please come forward and draw lots. BRBR, as soon as the words were spoken, the representatives of the 4 major sects stood up and walked towards the ring. BRBR, the representative of Danyang sect is Lin Yingji, the representative of Yuntian Palace is Yi Tang, and the representatives of Tianjin sect and 10,000 Beasts sect are also the great elders of their respective sections. BRBR, the 4 of them walked to the center of the ring and stood around the lottery tube. BRBR. The referee shook the lottery tube and said to the 4 people. BRBR, there are 4 lots in the lot, 2 red and 2 blue. BRBR, sects drawn with the same color are each other's opponents. BRBR, Lin Yingji took a deep breath, stepped forward first, reached out and pulled out a lot from the lot, and saw that the head of the lot was red. BRBR, Yi Tang also stepped forward and drew a lot. BRBR, red. BRBR, the referee looked at the lottery in the hands of the 2 people and said loudly. BRBR, the result of the draw, Danyang sect versus Yuntian Palace. BRBR, as soon as these words came out, there was an uproar in the square. BRBR, the Danyang sect versus Yuntian Palace is going to be a good show. BRBR, Yuntian Palace was the 1st place last time, and Danyang sect is probably going to lose miserably this time. BRBR, Danyang sect has never been good at killing, and this time when we encounter Yuntian Palace, we may not even have a chance to advance. BRBR, Yi Tang looked at Lin Yingji with a touch of sarcasm at the corner of his mouth. BRBR, I didn't expect that we were so destined to meet each other in the first scene. BRBR, Lin Yingji looked at her with a calm tone. BRBR, I really didn't expect it. BRBR, seeing this, Yi Tang continued. BRBR, speaking of which, your Danyang sect has been ranked last in the Yuntian conference, right? BRBR, you have to work harder this year, otherwise, I am afraid that you will not even be qualified to enter the Yuntian secret realm. BRBR, the faces of the disciples of the Danyang sect turned red, and their eyes were filled with anger, but they had no way to refute BRBR because what Yi Tang said was the truth, and this was the pain in the hearts of everyone in the Danyang sect. BRBR, Lin Yingji's face turned cold instantly. BRBR, Elder Yi, don't worry, this year, our Danyang sect will definitely win. BRBR win? BRBR, Yi Tang seemed to have heard a big joke, she glanced at the 5PE. Opal of the Danyang sect with disdain. BRBR, look at your people, what can these losers do? BRBR, then, she turned to look at the 5 people attending the meeting from Yuntian Palace. BRBR, the weakest members of our sect are all at the 6th level of the Golden Core, and the strongest Shurya has broken through to the 8th level of the Golden Core. BRBR, what do you think your Danyang sect can win? BRBR, Lin Yingji's face turned pale at Yi Tang's words, and a trace of determination flashed in her eyes. BRBR, since you look down on my Danyang sect so much, do you dare to make a bet with me? BRBR, Yi Tang frowned slightly, and then sneered. BRBR, what other bets can your Danyang sect make that you can make now? BRBR, bet on the outcome of the first match. BRBR, Lin Yingji's clear voice spread throughout the martial arts square, instantly silencing the noisy discussion, and everyone focused on the 2 of them. BRBR, she took a deep breath and spoke word by word. BRBR, if my Danyang sect loses, I, Lin Yingji, will kneel down to you in public and admit that the Danyang sect is not as good as Yuntian Palace. BRBR, if you, Yuntian Palace, lose, you, Yi Tang, will also kneel down in front of everyone and admit that Yuntian Palace's skills are not as good as others. As soon as these words came out, everyone in the audience was shocked. BRBR, the great elders of the 2 major sects actually made a bet by kneeling in public. BRBR, once you lose, not only will you lose your personal face, but the face of the entire sect will be trampled under your feet. BRBR, Yi Tang's pupils shrank suddenly, and his heart couldn't help but thump. BRBR, but then I thought about it, Danyang sect had no chance of winning in this competition. BRBR, okay, I'll bet you, just wait and kneel down for me. BRBR at this moment, Yi Tang's eyes passed Lin Yingji and landed on Zhao Yurong in the Danyang sect's team. BRBR when he saw Zhao Yurong's familiar face clearly, Yi Tang's expression suddenly darkened, and a cold murderous intent flashed in his eyes. BRBR she had long heard from Shirya that Zhao Yurong had recovered his cultivation, joined the Danyang sect, and wanted to represent the Danyang sect in the Yuntian conference. BRBR seeing Zhao Yurong standing in the Danyang sect's team at this moment, a surge of anger suddenly surged in his heart. BRBR Zhao Yurong was someone she watched grow up and was a disciple she trained with her own hands. Back then, she had high hopes for Zhao Yurong and even thought about letting Zhao Yurong succeed her. BRBR but after Zhao Yurong's spiritual roots were completely destroyed and he was expelled from Yuntian Palace, he did not come back to beg her. Instead, he turned to Danyang sect. BRBR this is a betrayal of her. BRBR betrayal of the entire Yuntian Palace. BRBR Shirya, since she doesn't want to return to Yuntian Palace, then destroy her. BRBR Zhao Yurong's body trembled suddenly, she raised her head and looked at Yi Tang's cold face. BRBR back then, when her spiritual roots were completely destroyed, she once knelt in front of Yi Tang's door, begging her to believe in her and to give her a chance. BRBR but what about Yi Tang? BRBR he didn't even let her in. He had someone beat her out and even told her that she had no qualifications to enter Yuntian Palace again in this life. BRBR now that she has recovered her cultivation, Yi Tang actually wants to destroy her? BRBR her eyes became more and more determined and colder. BRBR when everyone in Danyang sect heard Yi Tang's words, they immediately exploded. BRBR senior sister Zhao just joined our Danyang sect. She is going to destroy senior sister Zhao. Do you really think that our Danyang sect is easy to bully? BRBR Yuntian Palace expelled senior sister Zhao from the sect, and now it wants to kill them all, shameless. BRBR, today we must let Yuntian Palace know how powerful we are. BRBR among the crowd, Yao Meng had the most intense reaction. BRBR she is the granddaughter of Taoist Xuanzhen. She has been spoiled since she was a child. She hates being bullied by others and is a member of the Danyang sect. BRBR she jumped out suddenly, pointed in the direction of Yuntian Palace, and shouted loudly. BRBR I want to be the first to enter the ring. BRBR however, at this moment, a delicate voice with strong murderous intent came from the Yuntian Palace team. BRBR senior sister, do you dare to fight? BRBR everyone followed the sound and saw Shirya walking up to the ring step by step with a long sword in hand. BRBR Zhao Yurong looked at Shirya on the ring with a hint of coldness in his eyes. BRBR she walked towards the ring. Go, her momentum becomes stronger with every step she takes. BRBR the moment she steps onto the ring, a majestic spiritual power bursts out of her body. BRBR the 6th level of golden elixir? BRBR the smile on Shirya's face froze instantly. She clearly remembered that when she saw Zhao Yurong in Danyang sect a month ago, her cultivation level was only the 1st level of the golden core. BRBR in just 1 month, Zhao Yurong actually jumped in succession. 5 small realms, reaching the 6th level of the golden core. BRBR how is this possible? BRBR immediately, she reacted quickly. BRBR you deliberately hid your clumsiness in front of me a month ago. BRBR in Shirya's opinion, Zhao Yurong must have recovered his cultivation a long time ago, and even reached the 6th level of the golden core. He was just showing weakness in Danyang sect before. BRBR however, even so, Zhao Yurong still cannot be her opponent. BRBR Zhao Yurong did not explain, but just pulled out the long sword from his waist. BRBR draw the sword. BRBR after the words fell, Zhao Yurong slashed out with his sword. BRBR the floating clouds shocked the moon. BRBR this is the Yuntian Palace's palace suppressing sword technique. It is divided into 9 levels. After practicing to the Deshang state, one sword can attract the flowing clouds and cut down the stars and the moon. Infinite power. BRBR as a saint of Yuntian Palace, Zhao Yurong had practiced this sword technique to the 7th level. BRBR at this moment, as her sword moves unfolded, everyone was shocked to find that her sword moves were smooth and smooth. Xingyan Liushui, it is the Deshang realm. BRBR Shirya's face suddenly turned ugly. She had been practicing this sword technique for many years, but she was always stuck at the 8th level, unable to break through to the Deshang realm. BRBR but Zhao Yurong was not able to break through to the Deshang realm. A useless person who was expelled from the sect actually succeeded. BRBR a strong murderous intention surged in Shirya's heart, and she roared BRBR, so what if you succeed? The gap in realm cannot be made up by the sword technique. BRBR after the words fell, the long sword in Shirya's hand burst out with a dazzling blue light. BRBR she knew that the best defense was to attack. She must completely crush Zhao Yurong in front of everyone in order to save her face. BRBR the sky-splitting sword. BRBR the long sword in Shirya. hand slashed out, and a cyan sword blade tens of feet long tore through the air and struck hard at Zhao Yurong. Brr boom. Brr, a loud noise was deafening. Brr, the powerful air wave centered on the collision point and spread in all directions. Brr, everyone looked intently and saw Zhao Yurong standing there, while Shirya staggered back dozens of steps, her face pale, and a trace of blood spilled from the corner of her mouth, obviously injured. Brr, how is this possible? Brr, Shirya stared at her palm, feeling a sharp pain in her palm. Brr, she never imagined that her cultivation at the 8th level of the golden elixir would be shocked by Zhao Yurong, who was at the 6th level of the golden elixir. Brr, this is simply a shame. Brr, Shirya's face turned blue and white in turns. She looked at Zhao Yurong with a crazy light flashing in her eyes. Brr, then, she took out a treasure from the ring. Brr, it was a small golden bell, exuding majestic pressure. Brr, Taishu bell. Brr, the holy weapons of Yuntian Palace are enough to crush the monks in the Golden Core realm. Brr, when everyone in the Danyang sect saw Shirya taking out the Taishu bell, the pot exploded instantly, with angry expressions on their faces. Brr, shameless, so shameless. Brr, you can't beat our saint, but you are using a sacred weapon. This is not a fair competition at all. Brr, the Yuntian conference is a contest between the younger generation, and she actually used a sacred weapon. Yuntian Palace is really shameless. Brr, Lin Yingji's face turned livid in an instant. She stood up suddenly and looked at Yi Tang. Brr, this competition is a contest between the younger generation. You actually let Shirya use the sacred weapon. Isn't this a competition for the sect's heritage? Brr, she never expected that Yi Tang would be so unscrupulous. Brr, originally, this competition was thought to be a fair contest between the younger generation, so the sect did not prepare a sacred weapon for Zhao Yurong at all. Brr, but now, Shirya took out the Taishu bell, what could Zhao Yurong do to resist? Brr, Yi Tang looked at Lin Yingji's angry look with a slight sarcasm in his tone. Brr, Elder Lin, there is no rule in the Yuntian conference not to use sacred weapons. Brr, Lin Yingji was shaking with anger and pointed at Yi Tang, but could not say a word. Brr, on the ring, Shirya had a ferocious smile on her face. Brr, Zhao Yurong, you forced me to do this. Today, I will destroy you. Brr, after saying this, Shirya fiercely injected spiritual power into the Taishu bell. Brr, buzz, Brr, a dull bell sounded, and the Taishu bell suddenly surged, turning into a giant bell dozens of feet high, suspended in midair. Brr, the runes on Zhong's body lit up, exuding a terrifying pressure and crushing towards Zhao Yurong. Brr, this coercion made Zhao Yurong's body tremble slightly, her face instantly turned pale, and the spiritual energy in her body began to become disordered. Wen Yuyan suddenly came back to her senses, and she quickly shook her head. Brr, I just think he is too young and incredible. Brr, she did not dare to tell her that she knew Chu Feng, so she could only suppress the shock in her heart. Brr, Yi Tang looked at Lin Yingji, then at Chu Feng who was walking slowly, and the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. Brr, she never expected that this young man turned out to be the supreme elder of Danyang sect. Brr, but she quickly calmed down. This is the territory of Yuntian Palace. Brr, no one can save her today, I said so. Brr, after the words fell, Yi Tang waved his hand fiercely. Brr, come here. Brr, 3 figures instantly appeared behind Yi Tang. These 3 people are all elders of Yuntian Palace, and their cultivation has reached the late stage of becoming a god. Brr, obviously, Yi Tang has been prepared for a long time. Brr, 3 elders of the transformation realm surrounded Zhao Yurong, and the atmosphere in the martial arts square instantly became tense. Brr, the disciples of Danyang sect all looked angry, but they were helpless. Brr, however, just as the 3 of them took action, a bright purple light suddenly burst out from the Chankuan purple gold furnace. Brr, the purple light spread like a tide, covering the entire arena. Brr, everyone's eyes were instantly attracted to the purple light. Brr, I saw a faint purple light and shadow emerging from the mouth of the purple gold furnace. Brr, that light and shadow has a graceful figure, a beautiful face, and exudes a majesty that looks down on the world. Brr, purple smoke. Brr, everyone's eyes were fixed on the purple light and shadow, and even their breathing stopped subconsciously. Brr, the disciples of Yuntian Palace were the first to explode. Brr, refining. 9th level of void refining, this weapon spirit turned out to be the cultivation level of 9th level of void refining. Brr, not only did the weapon spirit of the Chankuan purple gold furnace not dissipate, but it was also intact. Brr, the spirit of the sacred weapon has been eroded by the years, and most of them will have their souls broken, but this weapon spirit is simply unbelievable. Brr, Ji Fu suddenly stood up from the chair, her beautiful eyes widened. BRBR, the weapon spirit of the 9th level of void refining. How many trump cards does the Danyang sect hide? BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen must have known about finding the purple gold furnace of the universe for a long time. BRBR when Yu Yan's eyes fell on Chu Feng. For some reason, she always felt that Chu Feng was the real owner of the purple gold furnace of the universe. BRBR how many secrets does this man have? BRBR on the stage, the three elders of Yuntian Palace, shrouded in the pressure of purple smoke, their faces were already as pale as paper. BRBR the pressure was like a mountain, pressing hard on their souls, making it difficult for them to even move a finger. BRBR Ziyan looked at them with no emotion on her pretty face, as if she was just looking at three insignificant ants. BRBR she slowly raised her jade hand and waved it gently. BRBR but this seemingly gentle wave contains the terrifying power of the 9th level of refining the void. BRBR boom. BRBR a majestic air wave suddenly erupted, and the bodies of the three Yuntian Palace elders were instantly blown away like kites with broken strings. BRBR they spurted blood from their mouths, their bodies drew three embarrassing arcs in the air, and hit the martial arts square heavily. BRBR the three of them struggled to stand up, but found that the meridians all over their bodies were broken, the spiritual power in their dantian was in chaos, and they could not even raise the slightest bit of strength. BRBR the scene completely shocked the entire audience. BRBR the entire Yanwu square was silent, and you could hear a pin drop. BRBR. Everyone stared at the slim purple figure on the ring with wide eyes. BRBR the elder in the realm of gods was so vulnerable in her hands. BRBR Yi Tang's body trembled suddenly and he staggered back 2 steps. BRBR her own cultivation is only at the 7th level of void refining, which is 2 whole realms behind Ziyan. BRBR what does this mean? BRBR it means that Ziyan wants to kill her, as easy as squeezing an ant to death. BRBR Yi Tang felt a cold air rushing from the soles of his feet to the sky, and all the blood in his body seemed to solidify at this moment. BRBR she stared at Ziyan, her lips trembling, but she couldn't say a word. BRBR it was only then that she truly realized what a terrifying existence she had provoked. BRBR Chu Feng slowly walked onto the ring, his eyes falling calmly on Yi Tang. BRBR, since you lost the bet, then kneel down. BRBR Yi Tang suddenly came back to his senses. She and Lin Yingji were betting on the outcome of this competition. They were betting on kneeling down in public and admitting that their sect was inferior to the other party. BRBR the reason why she dared to make this bet was because she was sure that the Danyang sect would lose, but she never expected that the Danyang sect would have such a terrible trump card. BRBR let her kneel down to Lin Yingxia? BRBR dream. BRBR Yi Tang took a deep breath and suppressed the fear in his heart, with a look of fierceness on his face. BRBR, do you think that with a weapon spirit of the void refining realm, you can be unscrupulous? BRBR don't forget, this is Yuntian Palace. BRBR after her words fell, the spiritual power of the 7th level of void refining around her surged crazily, trying to preserve the last trace of her dignity under the pressure of the purple smoke. BRBR ha, BRBR a clear sneer sounded. BRBR, since you don't want to show dignity, then I can only help you show respect. BRBR after finishing his words, ch. Yu Feng was given a look by Ziyan. BRBR Ziyan understood instantly. She appeared above Yi Tang in an instant, with a light tap of her feet. BRBR boom. BRBR that was the coercion of the 9th level of Su refining, with an aura that looked down on the world, crushing Yi Tang hard. BRBR Yi Tang's body stiffened suddenly, and the pressure was like countless steel needles, piercing into her limbs and bones, and into the depths of her soul. BRBR her bones began to make an overwhelming sound, as if they would break at any time. BRBR but Yi Tang's eyes were gritting his teeth, and his knee seemed to be filled with lead, refusing to bend. BRBR she is the great elder of Yuntian Palace, and her dignity does not allow her to kneel in front of so many people. BRBR ah, BRBR Yi Tang let out a shrill roar, reached out and grabbed it, and poured all her spiritual power into the Taishu bell. BRBR under the infusion of her spiritual power, the Taishu bell instantly burst out with a golden light, offsetting part of Ziyan's pressure. BRBR, so what if you have a sacred weapon? I, Yuntian Palace, also have a sacred weapon. BRBR Ziyan looked at the crumbling Taishu bell with a hint of disdain on her pretty face. BRBR she raised her jade hand and waved to the Qianquan purple gold furnace on the stage. BRBR phew. BRBR the Qianquan purple gold furnace turned into a stream of purple gold and instantly flew to Ziyan's feet. BRBR purple smoke jade feet gently tapped on the top of the purple gold furnace, looking at the Taishu clock calmly. BRBR, you want to stop me with this broken bell that is about to be scrapped? BRBR after the words fell, the Qianquan purple gold furnace at Ziyan's feet burst into purple gold light. BRBR dang, BRBR the Qianquan purple gold furnace and the Taishu bell collided hard together again, and a deafening bell rang through the sky and spread throughout the Yuntian palace. BRBR, the light of the two holy we. Pawns collided crazily in midair, golden light and purple light intertwined, erupting into a terrifying energy fluctuation. BRBR Ziyan looked at the crumbling Taishu bell with a hint of temptation in her tone, as if she was talking to an old friend. BRBR Xiaozhong, if you continue like this, you will only lose your soul. BRBR, if you don't want to end up like that, it's better not to stand in my way. BRBR, she paused and glanced at Chu Feng from the corner of her eye. BRBR, of course, if you can please him, you may be able to recover all your soul power like me. BRBR, every holy weapon has its own spirit, and the Taishu bell is no exception. BRBR, however, the Taishu bell's weapon spirit has been eroded by the years and suffered heavy damage in the previous collision. It has long been in a state of remnant soul, and it is almost impossible to condense the soul body. BRBR Ziyan's words exploded deep in the remnant soul of Taishu bell spirit. BRBR, restore soul power? BRBR, this is what she has dreamed of. BRBR, the Taishu bell shook violently again, and the golden light on the bell flickered. BRBR, immediately afterwards, a shocking scene happened. BRBR, the Taishu bell suddenly broke away from Yitang's control, turned into a golden light, and flew towards the Holy Land deep in Yuntian Palace. BRBR, it was extremely fast and disappeared from everyone's sight in an instant. BRBR, what? BRBR, the pride on Yitang's face disappeared instantly. She stretched out her hand to grab the Taishu bell, but she only caught a void. BRBR, come back. Come back. BRBR, the Taishu bell is the sect-restraining sacred weapon of Yuntian Palace, her biggest trump card. BRBR, but now, this trump card has been abandoned to her. BRBR, the scene caused an uproar in the entire audience. BRBR, the disciples of Yuntian Palace all looked ashen. BRBR, the Taishu bell ran away? BRBR, it's over, even the holy weapon has abandoned us. BRBR, the we. Pawn spirit of the Taishu bell doesn't really want to join the Danyang sect, right? BRBR, without the protection of the Taishu bell, Xian's pressure was like a tide, crushing Yitang hard again. BRBR, click. BRBR, Yitang's bones made a crisp sound, her waist bent even lower, and her head almost touched her chest. BRBR, her knees were shaking violently, and her veins were bulging, obviously she had reached her limit. BRBR, everyone could see that Yitang could not hold on much longer. BRBR, at this moment, a sudden change occurred. BRBR, a loud noise suddenly sounded in the sky. BRBR, immediately afterwards, a huge golden palm slowly appeared in the sky above Yanwu Square, as if it blocked the sky and the sun. BRBR, the palm of the hand gently held the Chankuan purple gold furnace at Ziyan's feet. BRBR, a deep voice, like a bell, resounded throughout the entire Yanwu Square. BRBR, if you have to be merciful, please be merciful. How about I owe the Danyang sect a favor for what happened today? BRBR, everyone followed the sound and saw a middle-aged man slowly appearing on top of the huge palm. BRBR, he has a handsome face, with a hint of majesty between his brows. BRBR, it is Jian Zhou, the master of Yuntian Palace. BRBR, Ziyan's pretty eyebrows frowned slightly, and she looked at Chu Feng with a hint of questioning in her eyes. BRBR, how to end today's matter naturally depends on Chu Feng's wishes. BRBR, Chu Feng raised his eyes to look at Jian Zhou in midair and said coldly. BRBR, how much is your favor worth? Now, he finally beat this old guy in terms of longevity, and he can finally feel proud. BRBR, Taoist Xuanzhen had laughed enough. He looked at Song Yi with a proud look in his eyes. BRBR, you want to know, but I won't tell you. BRBR, Song Yi's lips trembled, but he couldn't say a word. BRBR, Jian Zhou and Yitang finally noticed something was wrong with Taoist Xuanzhen. BRBR, Taoist Xuanzhen's spiritual power is strong and his voice is as loud as a bell, but he doesn't look like his lifespan has been exhausted. BRBR, how come Taoist Xuanzhen's lifespan is so abundant? BRBR, didn't his lifespan run out 10 years ago? Why does he seem to be more energetic than our sect leader now? BRBR, did he take the legend? The Wuji Shouyuan Dan? BRBR, the Wuji Shouyuan Dan has been lost for a long time. How could anyone refine it? BRBR, Song Yi finally couldn't stand it anymore. He was hunched over, and the weak vitality around him seemed to be extinguished at any time. BRBR, Shouyuan, Shouyuan, Shouyuan. BRBR, these two words were like a curse, tightly entangled in his soul. BRBR, over the years, he has searched for treasures from heaven and earth in order to extend his life by even one day. BRBR, no matter how hard he tried, his longevity was still passing quickly, and death enveloped him all the time. BRBR, just now he saw the majestic vitality of Taoist Xuanzhen, and his heart almost jumped out of his throat. BRBR, Xuanzhen Taoist must have a secret method for extending life, he must have it. BRBR, Xuanzhen, What do you want? BRBR. As long as you are willing to tell me the method of extending life, Yuntian Palace can agree to any conditions you have. BRBR. Even if you give up 30% of the profit from Yuntian's secret realm, I will accept it. BRBR. His posture was extremely low as the dust. BRBR. In front of Xuelian, the so-called face is not worth mentioning. BRBR. As long as he can survive, he is willing to do anything. BRBR. However, Taoist Xuanzhen just glanced at him lightly and said nothing. BRBR. He stood with his hands behind his back, looking at everyone in Yuntian Palace calmly, with a faint smile on his lips. BRBR. He was waiting for his master to speak. BRBR. The next moment, Chu Feng stepped forward slowly. BRBR. He stretched out 3 fingers and scanned everyone present. BRBR. I came today only for 3 things. BRBR. Fair. Fair. So damn fair. BRBR. Chu Feng raised his hand and pointed at Jianzhou in midair and said coldly. BRBR. Kneel down. Apologize. BRBR. Insolent. BRBR. Jianzhou roared suddenly, anger rising in his eyes. BRBR. This is Yuntian Palace, it's not your turn for a young person like you to speak. BRBR. Song Yi narrowed his turbid eyes, and a strong uneasiness surged in his heart. BRBR. There is something wrong with this young man. BRBR. The aura on his body is obviously only the 3rd level of nascent soul, but his aura is more domineering than a strong man in the void refining realm. BRBR. Yuntian Palace cannot be insulted. BRBR. Very good. Chu Feng clapped his hands. Today, I want to see who can stop me. BRBR. As soon as he finished speaking, a clear sword cry resounded through the sky. BRBR. The Xingxi sword on Chu Feng's waist was instantly unsheathed and shot straight into the sky. BRBR. Cut. BRBR. The Xingxi sword drew an arc in the air and slashed towards the locking heaven-trapped dragon formation. BRBR. Boom. BRBR. Xian and the Xingxi sword worked together, and the palace-protecting formation instantly shattered with one blow. BRBR. The power of the Xingxi sword did not diminish, turning into a stream of light. Appeared above Jianzhou's head in an instant. BRBR. On the sword, the pressure of the 9th level of Lianqiu swept across the entire Yuntian Palace. BRBR. That pressure was even more domineering than the pressure of Ziyan. BRBR. The pressure on the sword was of the Th level of Lianqiu. BRBR. There is a weapon spirit in that sword, and it is a weapon spirit of the 9th level of refining the void. BRBR. How is this possible? How can a heavenly weapon have such a powerful weapon spirit? BRBR. Song Yi's body trembled violently, and he exclaimed, BRBR. How is this possible? BRBR. The pressure of the Xingxi sword pressed hard on his body. His body stiffened instantly, and all the blood in his body seemed to solidify at this moment. BRBR. Poof. BRBR. Jianzhou's knees bent uncontrollably, and he fell heavily. He knelt on the ground. BRBR. He was the sect master of Yuntian Palace, but now he was forced to kneel down in public by a young man. BRBR. This was simply a shame and humiliation. BRBR. The next moment, Chu Feng appeared in front of Jianzhou. In front of him. BRBR. He looked down at Jianzhou who was kneeling on the ground, and slapped Jianzhou hard on the face. BRBR. A clear sound echoed throughout the Yanwu square. Zhou's cheek instantly became red and swollen, and 5 clear fingerprints appeared on it. BRBR. His head was knocked to one side, and a mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth. BRBR. I'm being reckless today, so what? BRBR. Everyone was stunned, their minds went blank. Chu Feng actually dared to slap the face of the palace master of Yuntian Palace in front of everyone. BRBR. Crazy. Chu Feng is crazy. He actually dared to hit the sect master. BRBR. Ji Fu's pretty face turned pale, and her beautiful eyes widened. BRBR. He dared to hit Jianzhou? BRBR. Wen Yuyan's palms were slightly sweaty, and there was a strong throbbing in her heart. BRBR. If she hadn't been worried about the large number of people present, she would have even wanted to immediately throw herself into Chu Feng's arms and be poured on by him. BRBR. Ji Fu on the side noticed something was wrong with her and frowned slightly. BRBR. Yuyan, why is your face so red? BRBR. Wen Yuyan said. Only came back to her senses and quickly lowered her head to hide the obsession in her eyes. BRBR. It's nothing, I just think that this Chu Feng is too scary. BRBR. Ji Fu looked at Wen Yuyan's panic, and her heart was full of doubts, but she didn't ask any more questions. BRBR. BRBR. Jianzhou suddenly raised his head, his cheeks were burning and his mouth was full of the smell of blood. BRBR. He stared at Chu Feng, wishing he could tear Chu Feng into pieces. BRBR. However, the Xingxi sword hung above his head, and the pressure of the 9th level of Su Lianqing locked him firmly. BRBR. He couldn't move, not even the slightest strength to resist. BRBR. Looking at his unconvinced look, Chu Feng slapped Jianzhou hard on the other side of his face with his backhand. BRBR. You dare to glare at me? BRBR. Jianzhou's teeth chattered. BRBR. Chu Feng, I will kill you. BRBR Chu Feng's eyes turned cold, and he turned around directly, his eyes falling on Yutang. BRBR at the same time, the pressure of the Xingxi sword hanging above Jianzhou's head surged instantly. BRBR, how dare you? BRBR Song Yi roared violently, and the spiritual energy around him surged crazily. BRBR, the situation is stronger than the person. He can tolerate Chu Feng beating Jianzhou, and he can tolerate Chu Feng humiliating Yuntian Palace, but he can never tolerate Chu Feng killing people in front of him. BRBR Song rushed towards Chu Feng in an instant, using his last bit of strength to protect Jianzhou. BRBR, however, the moment he took action, a block stood in front of him. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen stood with his hands behind his back, showing no intention of giving in. BRBR Song Yi, do you want to cross the line? BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen did not expect that Chu Feng would actually dare to kill him. BRBR, but Chu Feng is his master, and he will support unconditionally any decision Chu Feng makes. BRBR, even if Chu Feng wanted to poke a hole in the sky, he would follow him around without even frowning. BRBR ancestor. Save me. Jianzhou finally felt fear. BRBR Song Yi looked at Taoist Xuanzhen standing in front of him, and felt a strong sense of powerlessness in his heart. BRBR, his eyes were red with anxiety, and he roared at Taoist Xuanzhen. BRBR Xuanzhen, are you trying to force me, Yuntian Palace, to fight your Danyang sect until death? BRBR, hearing this, Taoist Xuanzhen also had a hint of determination in his tone. BRBR, today, even if the Danyang sect is dead, we will never give in. BRBR, we will never give in. Several people from the Danyang sect shouted in unison. BRBR Jianzhou watched Song Yi being blocked by Taoist Xuanzhen, and the last glimmer of hope in his eyes was completely shattered. No one could save him. BRBR, the only sacred weapon in Yuntian Palace was the Taishu Bell, but the Taishu Bell had flown back to the Holy Land. BRBR, he regretted it, he really regretted it. BRBR, if he could turn back time, he just wanted to slap Yutang and kick her to the ground. BRBR, but there is no such thing as, no, don't kill me. BRBR, the Xingxi sword suddenly fell down, and Jianzhou's body was instantly split in half by the sword light, and even his soul was crushed. BRBR, the entire martial arts square fell into a deathly silence. BRBR, you can hear the needle drop. BRBR, everyone looked at the body that was split in half and even forgot to breathe. BRBR, Chu Feng's eyes fell on Yutang and said coldly, BRBR, it's your turn. There is no suspense in the next competition. BRBR Huixiu defeated 3 disciples of the 10,000 Beast sect in a row. No matter whether it was a single battle or a team of monsters, they could not break through the formation he set up. BRBR Huixiu stood on the ring, holding a bronze compass and looking high-spirited. BRBR, is this all the 10,000 Beast sect is capable of? BRBR, the faces of the disciples of the 10,000 Beast sect were livid, their eyes filled with unwillingness, but they were helpless. BRBR Huixiu's formation is too strong, they are no match at all. BRBR, just when everyone thought that the Tianjin sect would win without a doubt, Ling Yi walked out. BRBR, she was wearing a bright red dress, which vividly outlined her perfect figure. BRBR, the skin that can be broken by blows has a faint luster in the sun. BRBR, a pair of jade feet are as white as jade, floating quietly in the air, not stained by a trace of dust. BRBR, her face is absolutely beautiful, with a hint of coldness and arrogance between her brows, like a fairy above the 9 heavens, and cannot be blasphemed. BRBR, Ling Yi slowly floated down on the ring, looking at Huixiu calmly. BRBR, do you really think that everyone in my 10,000 Beast sect is perfect? BRBR Huixiu looked at Ling Yi's beautiful face, with a hint of surprise in his eyes. BRBR, he sneered and turned the bronze compass in his hand again. BRBR, the four-sided trapped dragon formation, rise. BRBR Huixiu shouted, and the light on the bronze compass surged. BRBR, this is his most powerful 4th-level formation, and it has trapped many in the nascent soul realm. BRBR, give up, you can't break my formation. BRBR, BRBR, a clear phoenix cry suddenly resounded through the sky. BRBR, immediately afterwards, a fiery red light swooped down from the void. BRBR, the light and shadow moved very fast and appeared above the ring instantly. BRBR, the Li. GHT and shadow dispersed, revealing a huge divine bird. BRBR, its feathers were like flames, red as blood, and its wings were spread out and were dozens of feet long. BRBR Qingwan Fire Phoenix. BRBR, everyone couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. BRBR, that's a 5th-level monster. This is equivalent to the power of the God transformation realm. How can we fight it? BRBR Huixiu's smile instantly froze on his face, and he even forgot to defend himself. BRBR Qingwan Fire Phoenix flapped its wings violently, and a raging fire burst out instantly, sweeping towards the trapped dragon formation in all directions. BRBR boom. BRBR a deafening bang. BRBR the invincible 4th level formation was instantly shattered like paper in front of the flames of Qingyuan Fire Phoenix. BRBR the cyan runes disintegrated like a tide, turning into spots of light all over the sky and dissipating in the air. BRBR before Huixiu had time to react, he was violently thrown away by the aftermath of the flames. BRBR his body drew an awkward arc in the air and fell heavily to the ground. BRBR poof, BRBR he spurted out a mouthful of blood, and the bronze compass in his hand shattered. BRBR one move. BRBR just one move. BRBR Ling Yi relied on the power of Qingyuan Fire Phoenix to defeat Huixiu in seconds. BRBR the whole place fell into dead silence for an instant. BRBR the great elder of Tianjin sect stood up abruptly, with a hint of anger in his tone. BRBR, this is absolutely impossible, how can you tame a 5th level monster? BRBR Ling Yi slowly turned his head and looked at the great elder of Tianjin sect calmly. BRBR there are always two types of people in the world who are self-righteous. One thinks that I can do it, and the other thinks that I can't do it and no one can do it. BRBR the face of the Tianjin sect's great elder instantly turned livid. BRBR Ling Yi ignored him and turned directly to look at the Yuntiangong elder who was in charge of presiding over the meeting. BRBR, the results can be announced. BRBR the elder was numb all over. The direction of this Yuntiang conference was completely beyond his expectation. BRBR first, Chu Feng appeared out of nowhere and killed the palace master of Yuntian Palace, forcing the elder to kneel down and admit defeat. BRBR now it was Ling Yi again, who summoned a 5th level monster and instantly killed the holy son of the Tianjin sect. BRBR he took a deep breath and suppressed the shock in his heart. BRBR the competition between the Tianjin sect and the 10,000 Beasts sect, the 10,000 Beasts sect advances. BRBR according to the rules of the Yuntian conference, the final showdown between the two sects should wait until the next day. BRBR after all, monks need time to restore their spiritual power and adjust their condition. BRBR however, in today's two competitions, Danyang sect and 10,000 Beasts sect won both too quickly, so fast that people were caught off guard. BRBR Ling Yi stood on the ring with no intention of leaving. BRBR her eyes fell on Zhao Xuelian, with a hint of provocation in her tone. BRBR I think there is no need to wait for tomorrow, let's decide who is number one now. BRBR as soon as the words fell, the whole place fell silent. BRBR everyone's eyes were focused on Zhao Xuelian. BRBR Zhao Xuelian stood up slowly, a hint of fighting spirit flashing in his eyes. BRBR just as she was about to step towards the ring, Chu Feng suddenly held down her jade hand. BRBR Chu Feng shook his head slightly towards her, with a hint of endearment flashing in his eyes. BRBR he stood up slowly, and the momentum around him exploded instantly. BRBR okay. BRBR the next moment, he had appeared in the center of the martial arts square. BRBR as soon as he stood still, he felt a rich purple halo emanating from Ling Yi's body. BRBR it is like PLE energy coming from the east, carrying with it a majestic power of luck. BRBR this Ling Yi's luck was the only one he had ever seen in his life. BRBR no wonder she is able to tame a 5th level monster at such a young age. It turns out she is a person of great luck. BRBR however, there was no trace of fear on Chu Feng's face. BRBR he has the purple gold furnace of the universe in his left hand and the Xingxi sword in his right hand, invincible. BRBR, are you going to admit defeat directly, or do you want to be beaten by me? BRBR Ling Yi looked at the Qianquan purple gold furnace and the Xingxi sword in Chu Feng's hands, and chuckled. BRBR you can't defeat me with your two weapon spirits. BRBR as soon as he finished speaking, Ling Yi waved his jade hand lightly. BRBR a black light suddenly flew out of her ring. BRBR the light dissipated, revealing a dark flag. BRBR the 10,000 soul flags. BRBR the gloomy wind gusted, and some disciples with lower cultivation levels even couldn't help but shudder. They only felt that their scalps were numb and their souls were trembling slightly. BRBR holy weapon, this is also a sacred weapon. BRBR the sacred weapon of the 10,000 Beast sect is the cauldron of 10,000 beasts. This 10,000 soul banner is not their sacred weapon of suppressing the sect. BRBR now there is a good show to watch. Now, Chu Feng has the Qianquan purple gold furnace and the Xingxi sword, and Ling Yi has the Qingyuan fire phoenix and the 10,000 soul banners. This is simply a fight between gods. BRBR sacred weapons are rare, and the 10,000 Beasts sect can actually produce two of them, which is shocking. BRBR Song Yi looked at the 10,000 souls flag, and a trace of solemnity flashed in his turbid eyes. This 10,000 souls flag contained a terrifying power that could swallow the soul. BRBR even the weapon spirits in the void refining realm will be in danger of being swallowed once they are targeted by it. BRBR Ling Yi raised his eyebrows and said coldly. BRBR, 2 weapon spirits of the 9th level of void refining. You can guess what will happen if your 2 weapon spirits show up? BRBR, everyone understands what Ling Yi means. The 10,000 soul banner can swallow the soul. BRBR Zi Yan and Pei Yuhan are both weapon spirits, which are essentially existences formed by the condensed souls. BRBR, once they appear, the devouring power of the 10,000 soul banner will instantly lock onto them. At that time, they will either be devoured or their vitality will be severely damaged. BRBR Chu Feng has fallen into a dilemma. No matter what he chooses, he will lose. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen shouted directly to Chu Feng. BRBR Master, give up quickly. We don't need to take risks. BRBR, he can accept the Danyang sect losing, he can accept the first place in the Yuntian conference being taken away by the 10,000 Beast sect, but he cannot accept any damage to Chu Feng. BRBR Chu Feng is the hope of Danyang sect. Chu Feng's safety is more important than anything else. BRBR Lin Yingji also frowned. If Chu Feng did not release those 2 weapon spirits, he would not be able to deal with a 5th level Qingyuan Fire Phoenix. BRBR, but once the weapon spirit is released, it is likely to be swallowed by the 10,000 soul banner. BRBR Ling Yi looked at Chu Feng's silent appearance, and the smile on the corner of her mouth became stronger. She thought Chu Feng had been shocked. BRBR, the ghostly face on the 10,000 souls banner became even more distorted, and a rich devouring power slowly spread, locking the purple gold furnace of Qiankuan and Xingxi sword. BRBR, why, you don't dare to let your weapon spirit show up? BRBR, since you don't dare, then just admit defeat and I can spare your life. BRBR, however, just when everyone thought Chu Feng would admit defeat, Chu Feng suddenly laughed. BR. The next moment, Chu Feng Qiankuan purple gold furnace and Xingxi sword were put into Neji. BRBR, without the blessings of the purple gold furnace of the universe and the Xingxi sword, Chu Feng was just an ordinary nascent soul cultivator. BRBR, everyone was stunned. BRBR, what is Chu Feng doing? BRBR, why did he put away the sacred weapon? BRBR, how could he fight Ling Yi when he was no longer angry? BRBR Ling Yi was also stunned. A trace of doubt flashed in her eyes, which then turned into disdain. BRBR, give up resistance? BRBR Chu Feng looked at Ling Yi calmly and said calmly. BRBR, who said I have to rely on the spirit of weapons? BRBR, he paused, his eyes scanning the Qingyuan Fire Phoenix in the sky, his tone was a little playful. BRBR, I might as well tell you that I also know a little bit about the art of controlling beasts. BRBR Ling Yi seemed to have heard a big joke and couldn't help laughing. BRBR, the art of controlling beasts is the secret skill of our 10,000 Beasts sect. You, an alchemist, dare to say that you know the art of controlling beasts? BRBR, a trace of disdain flashed in Qingyuan Huofeng's eyes, and his wings flapped violently, and a raging fire burst out instantly, sweeping towards Chu Feng like a tide. BRBR Ling Yi snorted coldly and formed a seal with his hands. BRBR Qingyuan, burn him. BRBR, this is the secret method of controlling beasts of the 10,000 Beast sect, which can increase the power of monsters by 3 points. BRBR, the flame spewed out by the Qingyuan Fire Phoenix became even more intense, and they flew towards Chu Feng fiercely. BRBR, however, Chu Feng stood motionless. BRBR even, he closed his eyes directly. BRBR in his sea of consciousness, a pure spiritual power spread like a tide. BRBR Chu Feng's mental power was like an invisible thread, extending out instantly and wrapping around Qingyuan Huofeng's soul. BRBR, huh? BRBR Ling Yi's face changed slightly, and she felt a strange spiritual force trying to invade Qingyuan Huofeng's soul. BRBR boom. BRBR the pillar of fire slammed into Chu Feng's side and passed him by. BRBR little tricks. BRBR Ling Yi snorted coldly. She also used the secret method of controlling beasts, injecting her own mental power into the soul of Qingyuan Fire Phoenix, trying to expel Chu Feng's mental power. BRBR in the martial arts square, Chu Feng and Ling Yi stood motionless, with a trace of solemnity on their faces. BRBR Qingyuan Fire Phoenix, its body trembled violently, and a trace of pain and confusion flashed in its eyes. BRBR it looked at Chu Feng, then looked at Ling Yi, and let out a shrill cry. BRBR Ling Yi's face became increasingly ugly, and beads of sweat oozed from her forehead. BRBR Chu Feng's beast control skills were even more exquisite than hers. The 4 disciples looked at each other and quickly lowered their heads, not daring to look at Chu Feng. BRBR, we admit defeat. BRBR, the elder of Yuntian Palace who was responsible for presiding over the Yuntian conference, finally recovered at this moment. BRBR, he wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and announced to the audience. BRBR, the final battle of the Yuntian conference, Danyang sect versus 10,000 Beast sect, Danyang sect wins, leader Chu Feng. BRBR the moment the words fell, Danyang sect burst into deafening cheers. BRBR Taoist Xuanzhen looked at the cheering disciples and felt quite excited. BRBR he finally saw that Danyang sect was proud, winning first place in the Yuntian conference. BRBR according to the rules of the Yuntian conference, the first place sect can send 100 disciples into the Yuntian secret realm in 3 days. BRBR 100 disciples. BRBR this is a great opportunity for Danyang sect. BRBR the night is like ink, shrouding the guest courtyard of Yuntian Palace heavily. BRBR the candlelight in the wing flickered, making the shadows on the wall flicker and fade. BRBR when Yuyan stood with her hands hanging down, her fingertips trembling slightly, her lowered eyes full of uneasiness. BRBR in the depths of the wing, there is a carved screen with lifelike pictures of animals painted on it. BRBR behind the screen, a figure sat upright, just like Ling Yi, the saint of the 10,000 Beast sect during the day. BRBR but if you listen carefully, you can notice that her voice is a bit more majestic than Ling Yi in the daytime. BRBR this person is none other than Jiang Ji, the leader of the 10,000 Beast sect. BRBR Ling Yi in the martial arts square during the day was just a disguise she used to disguise herself using a secret method. BRBR in order to participate in the Yuntian conference and enter the Yuntian secret realm to find the treasure. She had to temporarily hide her identity and borrow Ling Yi's name. BRBR before the secret realm is opened, her appearance cannot be restored at all. BRBR outside the screen, Jifu stood with her hands behind her hands, staring at Wen Yuyan. BRBR the 10,000 Beast sect was founded on beast control, and what they were most proud of was their unique beast control technique. BRBR but the beast controlling methods used by Chu Feng were actually more sophisticated than those of the 10,000 Beast sect, forcibly cutting off the connection between their sect master and Qingyuan Fire Phoenix. BRBR except for the long-lost spiritual art of controlling beasts, Jiv could not think of any other method of controlling beasts that could be so powerful. BRBR at first, the spiritual art of controlling beasts was stolen by Wen Yuyan's disciple Zhao Dezhu. BRBR Zhao Dezhu is from Qingshan City, and Chu Feng is also from Qingshan City. BRBR the connection between this has to be doubted. BRBR Wen Yuyan. BRBR Jiang Ji's cold voice came from behind the screen. BRBR you also saw Chu Feng's method of controlling Qingyuan Fire Phoenix during the day. The skill of controlling the beast was exquisite. BRBR when Yuyan's body trembled suddenly, her head lowered even lower, her fingers clenched the corners of her clothes tightly, and she did not dare to say a word. BRBR of course she knew that Chu Feng knew the spiritual art of controlling beasts, and she even knew that Chu Feng's spiritual art of controlling beasts was obtained from Zhao Dezhu BRBR but she can't say that once she tells it, the 10,000 Beasts sect will never let Chu Feng go. BRBR Ji Fu took a step forward, the pressure around her became stronger, and her tone was questioning. BRBR isn't it strange that Chu Feng's ability to control beasts is still better than that of the sect master? BRBR when Yuyan's lips trembled, her throat rolled a few times, and he managed to squeeze out a few words. BRBR it's really strange. BRBR but such an attitude, in the eyes of Jiang Ji and Ji Fu, is a guilty conscience. BRBR coldness flashed in Jiang Ji's eyes behind the screen. BRBR she slowly raised her hand and tapped her fingertips lightly on the table. BRBR Zhao Dezhu is your disciple. Chu Feng and Zhao Dezhu came out of Qingshan City together. Do you dare to say that you don't know? BRBR when Yuyan raised her head suddenly, her eyes full of panic, and waved her hands quickly. BRBR sect master Ming Jian, I really don't know. BRBR Ji Fu snorted coldly, obviously not believing her words. BRBR she took a step forward and approached Wen Yuyan, her eyes full of sternness. BRBR, do you think we are 3-year-old children? If you don't tell the truth today, no one can protect you. BRBR when Yuyan felt as if her throat was being strangled by an invisible hand, and even breathing became difficult. BRBR her body shook violently, her knees softened, and she almost fell to the ground. BRBR but she still gritted her teeth and refused to let go. BRBR she must not betray Chu Feng. BRBR behind the screen, Jiang Ji looked at Wen Yuyan's unyielding look, and a flash of understanding flashed in her eyes. BRBR she already understood that Wen Yuyan was not unaware, but was deliberately hiding it. BRBR Chu Feng must have learned the spirit of controlling beasts. BRBR, since you don't want to tell me, I will tell you. BRBR a trace of anger flashed in Ji Fu's eyes. She raised her hand suddenly, and a majestic spiritual power pressed towards Wen Yuyan. BRBR Wen Yuyan's body flew out like a kite with a broken string, hitting the wall heavily, and a mouthful of blood spurted out from her mouth. BRBR cough. BRBR Wen Yuyan covered her chest and coughed violently, but she still gritted her teeth. Reluctant to say Chu Feng's name. BRBR at this moment. BRBR bang. BRBR the door of the wing was kicked open. BRBR a tall figure walked in slowly, and it was Chu Feng. BRBR his eyes glanced at the scene in the wing, and when he saw Wen Yuyan who was knocked against the wall, blood flowing from the corner of his mouth, there was a hint of coldness in his eyes. BRBR Chu Feng. BRBR. The moment when Yu Yan saw Chu Feng, her expression changed drastically. BRBR. She struggled to stand up and shouted loudly to Chu Feng. BRBR, go away. BRBR. Then she begged Jiang Ji behind the screen. BRBR, sect master, this matter has nothing to do with him, please let him go. BRBR. Chu Feng did not leave. He walked to Wen Yuyan's side, stretched out his hand to support her crumbling body, and condensed a ray of pure spiritual power on his fingertips and injected it into her body. BRBR, now that I am here, I will not leave. BRBR. Wen Yuyan looked at Chu Feng's handsome face, feeling the warmth from his fingertips, and the tears in her eyes fell uncontrollably. BRBR. When Jifu saw Chu Feng, her face turned livid instantly. BRBR. She did not expect that Chu Feng would dare to throw himself into the trap. BRBR. You are so brave, you dare to break into my 10,000 Beasts sect's residence without permission. BRBR. Jifu shouted angrily, the spiritual energy around her body surged wildly, and she was about to take action against Chu Feng. BRBR. Stop. BRBR. Jiang Ji's voice came from behind the screen. BRBR. Jifu was stunned for a moment, then reluctantly withdrew her hand and glared at Chu Feng hatefully. BRBR. Chu Feng supported Wen Yuyan, slowly raised his head, and his eyes fell on the carved screen. BRBR. The figure behind the screen exudes a faint purple halo. The halo is exactly the same as the one on Ling Yi during the day. BRBR. Chu Feng was stunned for a moment, and then seemed to understand something. BRBR. Although it is possible that Ling Yi and Jiang Ji both have purple luck, it is too low. BR. Moreover, if Jiang Ji had no problem, why would she use a screen to cover it up? BRBR. Ling Yi during the day was not a saint from the 10,000 Beasts sect at all, but Jiang Ji, the leader of the 10,000 Beasts sect. BRBR. No wonder her luck is so strong, no wonder she contained the 5th level Qingyuan Fire Phoenix. BRBR. Chu Feng slowly let go of Wen Yuyan and walked slowly to the screen. BRBR. The master of the 10,000 Beasts sect can actually participate in the Yuntian conference? BRBR. Jiang Ji, who was behind the screen, trembled violently. BRBR. She didn't expect that Chu Feng would see through her identity. BRBR. Wen Yuyan was even more shocked. She looked at the screen with confusion in her eyes. BRBR. When did the sect leader attend the Yuntian conference? BRBR. Chu Feng looked at the stiff figure behind the screen and slapped the screen with his palm. BRBR. Boom. BRBR. With a loud noise, the carved screen was instantly shattered by Chu Feng's palm, sending sawdust flying. BRBR. The figure behind the screen was completely exposed to the sight of several people. As expected, it was Ling Yi. BRBR. It's just that she is more mature than Ling Yi in the daytime, and there is a majesty in her eyebrows that has been in power for a long time. BRBR. Jiang Ji looked at Chu Feng, with a trace of killing intent flashing in her eyes. BRBR. However, the corner of Chu Feng's mouth evoked a smile. BRBR. You don't want the other 3 major sects to know that the saint of the 10,000 Beast sect participating in the Yuntian conference is actually you, the sect leader, pretending to be her? BRBR. When Yuyan's pupils suddenly shrank, it turned out that Ling Yi during the day was really the sect leader pretending to be her. BRBR. If this matter spreads out, the 10,000 Beast sect will definitely become the laughingstock of the other 3 major sects, and I am afraid that they will no longer be able to enter the Yuntian secret realm in the future. BRBR. Jiang Ji's face was so gloomy that she could shed water. When she thought of the humiliation of being spanked by Chu Feng in public during the day at the martial arts plaza, a surge of rage surged in her heart. BRBR. It seems that you are really not afraid of death. BRBR. Chu Feng looked at Jiang Ji's expression of wanting to cut him into pieces and said calmly. BRBR. My disciple Xuanzhen is outside the courtyard. Guess, if we take action, who will die first, you or me? BRBR. Taoist Xuanzhen. BRBR. Jiang Ji's body trembled suddenly, and the killing intent in her eyes instantly faded, replaced by a trace of fear. BRBR. She knew that Taoist Xuanzhen obeyed Chu Feng's words. BRBR. If she dared to take action against Chu Feng, Taoist Xuanzhen would definitely take action without hesitation. BRBR. Chu Feng's words were not just to scare her, Taoist Xuanzhen was really outside the courtyard. BRBR. Jiang Ji took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in her heart. BRBR. What do you want? BRBR. Before, Chu Feng did not dare to let the 10,000 Beast sect know that he had practiced the spiritual art of controlling beasts because there was no force behind him to rely on. BRBR. Today, he is no longer afraid of any of the 4 major sections. BRBR. So, you can go directly to the showdown. BRBR. I don't care what you want to do when you enter the Yuntian secret realm. BRBR. I don't have to tell the other 3 sects about your pretending to be a saint. BRBR. But you are not allowed to pursue the matter of spiritual art of controlling beasts. BRBR. Jiang Ji's brows frowned tightly, and a trace of hesitation flashed in her eyes. BRBR. The spiritual art of controlling beasts is the treasure of the 10,000 Beast sect, so she is unwilling to give up on the investigation. BRBR, but she also knew that Chu Feng had the support of Taoist Xuanzhen, and there was nothing she could do about Chu Feng. BRBR, if there is a stalemate, the 10,000 Beast sect will only suffer. BRBR, what's more, Chu Feng can practice the spiritual art of controlling beasts, which is an incredible thing in itself. BRBR, after pondering for a moment, she gritted her teeth. BRBR, I promise you. BRBR, Chu Feng turned to look at Wen Yuyan, a trace of tenderness flashed in his eyes. BRBR, besides, I want to take Yuyan away. BRBR, Jiangji looked at Wen Yuyan, with a hint of coldness in her eyes. BRBR, she is the elder of my 10,000 Beasts sect. No matter where she goes, this cannot be changed. BRBR, Chu Feng gave Jiangji a deep look, said no more, and pulled the people around him to go out. BRBR, Wen Yuyan's body trembled slightly, and then she followed Chu Feng and left. BRBR, in the wing room, only Jiangji and Jifu were left. BRBR, Jifu's eyes were full of unwillingness. BRBR, sect master, did you really let them go like this? BRBR, Jiangji stood up slowly and looked deeply at the night outside the window. BRBR, even I couldn't practice the spiritual art of controlling beasts, but Chu Feng succeeded in it. BRBR, this boy is extremely talented and lucky, so he won't die that easily. BRBR, after a pause, she changed the subject. BRBR, after entering the Yuntian secret realm, I will have many ways to know everything I want to know from Zizi's mouth. The warm tent is hung low, and the curls of sandalwood incense make the air in the wing warm and lingering. BRBR, Chu Feng held Wen Yuyan's waist and gently brushed the broken hair on her temples with his fingertips. BRBR, a breakup is better than a wedding. BRBR, for 3 days in a row, neither of them got out of bed. BRBR, Wen Yuyan's cheeks had a faint blush, and a satisfied smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. BRBR, her voice was soft, with a hint of lazy hoarseness. BRBR, aren't you afraid that the sect leader will take revenge on you? BRBR, Chu Feng lowered his head and rubbed her smooth forehead with the tip of his nose. BRBR, even if I become the enemy of the entire 10,000 Beast sect, I will not let you suffer any injustice. BRBR, what's more, you are doing this all for me. BRBR, his fingertips traced her back, causing her to tremble slightly. BRBR, Wen Yuyan raised her head, the water in her beautiful eyes flowing with a hint of anger. BRBR, the secret realm is about to be opened, and you haven't thought about the secret realm at all? BRBR, Chu Feng leaned over and kissed the corner of her lips, his tone filled with a hint of doting. BRBR, with my cultivation, who can be my opponent in the secret realm, not even your sect master. BRBR, his words paused, his eyes fell on the red corners of her eyes, and the smile in his eyes became stronger. BRBR, it's you, are you exhausted? BRBR, Wen Yuyan's cheeks turned redder, and she stretched out her hand to hit his chest, but she had no strength. BRBR, it's not because of you, BRBR, the entrance to Yuntian's secret realm is already crowded with people. BRBR, a huge stone gate stands on the top of the mist-shrouded mountain. This is the entrance to the Yuntian secret realm. BRBR, the Danyang sect's team is standing in the open space on the left side of the stone gate. BRBR, except for the 5 people who participated in the Yuntian conference, the remaining 95 people are all elite disciples within the sect. BRBR, Chu Feng glanced at the crowd and soon saw 2 familiar faces, Qin Yan and Lu Rian. BRBR, as for Meng Shishir, she stood beside him obediently, like an obedient maid. BRBR, at this moment, Qin Yan's eyes quietly fell on a figure in the crowd. BRBR, it was a woman wearing a white dress, with a beautiful face and a hint of sadness between her eyebrows. BRBR, she is Jianzhou's daughter, Jianlinger. BRBR, ever since Jianzhou was killed by Chu Feng's sword, Jianlinger hated Chu Feng deeply and wanted to avenge her father. BRBR, Qin Yan took advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention and quietly turned around and walked in the direction of Jianlinger. BRBR, he walked behind Jianlinger and lowered his voice. BRBR, junior sister Jian. BRBR, Jianlinger's body trembled slightly, and a trace of vigilance flashed in her eyes. BRBR, is something wrong? BRBR, Qin Yan smiled slightly and looked around to make sure no one was paying attention to them. Then he approached Jianlinger and lowered his voice. BRBR, I know you want to kill Chu Feng and avenge your father. BRBR, a trace of killing intent flashed in Jianlinger's eyes. She stared at Qin Yan with a cold tone. BRBR, what do you want to do? BRBR, Qin Yan forced out a smile and continued. BRBR, if you want to kill Chu Feng, I can help you. BRBR, Jianlinger frowned tightly. BRBR, Chu Feng is the supreme elder of Danyang sect. Why do you want to help me kill him? BRBR, Qin Yan's face instantly became gloomy, and a trace of resentment flashed in his eyes. BRBR, he robbed my fiancé. If I don't avenge this revenge, I swear I won't be a human being. BRBR Jianlinger followed Qin Yan's gaze and looked at Meng Shishir in the crowd. BRBR when she looked at Qin Yan again, a trace of pity flashed in her eyes. BRBR, Chu Feng is a monk at the 3rd level of nascent soul, and his strength is unfathomable. BRBR a glint of pride flashed in Qin Yan's eyes. He slowly took out a yellowed map from the ring. On the map, the terrain of the secret realm was drawn. BRBR in the center, there was a bloody skull marked with 4 words, temple. BRBR this is the map of the secret realm that I got by chance. In the temple in the center of the map, there is a frozen corpse of a powerful puppet in the integration stage. BRBR as long as we can get this puppet, even if Chu Feng is at the 3rd level of nascent soul, he will never be our opponent. BRBR a crazy light flashed in his eyes and he continued, BRBR when the time comes, I will not only kill Chu Feng, but also let him watch Zhao Yurong surrender in front of me. BRBR Jianlinger looked at the demonic temple on the map, a trace of hesitation flashed in her eyes. BRBR the corpse of the powerful in the integration stage was indeed an irresistible temptation for her. BRBR however, she had already heard about Qin Yan's behavior. BRBR this person is cunning and vengeful, and is definitely not a trustworthy person. BRBR the most important thing is that she has already sold off all her training resources and exchanged them for something that could kill Chu Feng. BRBR no need. BRBR Qin Yan's smile froze on his face for an instant, and a trace of astonishment flashed in his eyes. BRBR, what do you mean? BRBR a trace of determination flashed in Jianlinger's eyes. BRBR, I can kill Chu Feng myself. BRBR Qin Yan's face turned blue and white. Jianlinger actually refused him. BRBR but it didn't matter. Qin Yan's eyes flashed with a sinister light. BRBR even without Jianlinger's help, he could still get the integration stage puppet in the demon sect temple. BRBR when the time comes, he will make Jianlinger kneel in front of him. BRBR at this moment, a cold voice suddenly resounded throughout the top of the mountain. BRBR Evrio. Any be quiet. BRBR Yitang walked slowly to the stone gate and announced the rules. BRBR the time to enter the secret realm is 1 month. After 1 month, the entrance to the secret realm will be opened again. BRBR if you cannot get out by then, you will be trapped in the secret realm. BRBR the power of the sacred artifact is too powerful and will cause chaos in the space cracks at the entrance to the secret realm. BRBR sacred artifacts and void refining realm artifacts are not allowed to enter the secret realm. BRBR Chu Feng's brows raised slightly, but he didn't care. BRBR even without the holy weapon, he is strong enough to deal with the dangers in the secret realm. BRBR immediately afterwards, Yi Tang raised his hand and waved, and a stream of spiritual power was injected into the runes on the stone door. BRBR buzz, BRBR the runes on the stone gate lit up instantly, emitting a bright light. BRBR a majestic suction force came from within the stone gate. BRBR the secret realm is opened, go for it. BRBR I don't know who shouted, and everyone instantly became excited. BRBR they rushed towards the stone gate, fearing that if they were a step too late, they would miss the opportunity to enter the secret realm. BRBR just when Chu Feng was about to step into the stone gate, a figure suddenly passed by him. It was Jianlinger. BRBR a dizzy feeling came over him. Chu Feng felt his eyes blurred as his body was pulled by a powerful force and flew towards an unknown direction. BRBR I don't know how long it took, but Chu Feng finally felt a solid touch under his feet. BRBR he slowly opened his eyes and found himself in a dense forest. BRBR the towering ancient trees cover the sky and the sun. BRBR the air is filled with rich spiritual energy and a faint smell of blood. BRBR here is the secret realm of Yuntian. BRBR Chu Feng glanced around and found that there was only one person beside him, Meng Sh. Ishi. BRBR Meng Shishir was huddled under a big tree, her face pale, and she had obviously not recovered from the dizziness caused by the teleportation. BRBR Shishir. BRBR Chu Feng's voice sounded, and Meng Shishir raised her head suddenly. BRBR her body trembled slightly and she quickly stood up. BRBR Master. BRBR Chu Feng nodded and said nothing more. BRBR the teleportation in the secret realm is random, and it is expected that only Meng Shishir is around. BRBR at this moment, an old voice suddenly resounded through the entire secret realm, like a bell, reaching everyone's ears. BRBR immediately afterwards, he noticed that golden light spots suddenly lit up on the top of Meng Shishir's head. BRBR these light spots are like fireflies, emitting a faint light. BRBR a glimmer of understanding flashed in Chu Feng's eyes. These light spots should be related to the opportunities in the secret realm. BRBR everyone here has become his prey. BRBR at this moment, a biting chill suddenly rose from the soles of Chu Feng's feet, and like a tide, it instantly swept through his body. BRBR ugh. BRBR Chu Feng's body trembled suddenly, and a heartbreaking pain came from his limbs. BRBR his body froze instantly, his teeth chattered uncontrollably, and even breathing became difficult. BRBR, he could clearly feel that his soul seemed to be completely frozen by this coldness. BRBR, Chu Feng looked down and his pupils suddenly shrank. BRBR, I saw a thin red bloodline appearing on his wrist at some point. BRBR, this bloodline is slowly spreading upward as if it is alive. BRBR, and with the wrist as the center, it spread to the surroundings, forming a dense blood network, covering his entire arm. BRBR, the blood net tightened tighter and tighter, and Chu Feng's arm felt a sharp pain, as if it was being cut by countless sharp knives. BRBR, he could clearly see that his arm was becoming like a broken porcelain doll at a speed busy. Bleed to the naked eye, covered with fine cracks. BRBR, blood seeped out from the cracks and dyed his sleeves red, which was shocking. BRBR, what is this? BRBR, Chu Feng quickly used the spiritual power in his body to disperse the bloodline. BRBR, but as soon as his spiritual power was activated, the bloodline seemed to be stimulated and spread faster. BRBR, moreover, his spiritual power is being continuously absorbed by the bloodline. BRBR, the more spiritual power he mobilizes, the faster the bloodline spreads. BRBR, Chu Feng's face instantly turned pale, and he immediately stopped the operation of his spiritual power. BRBR, at this moment, there was a sudden sharp pain in his chest. BRBR, Chu Feng looked down and saw a blood-colored eye on his chest. BRBR, this eye was lifelike, with dark red pupils. It was staring at him, exuding a strong aura of resentment. BRBR, the bloodline has spread to his chest and is still spreading towards his heart. BRBR, Chu Feng felt a strong sense of crisis in his heart, as if he had been cursed. BRBR, this kind of curse can not only swallow up spiritual power, but also freeze the soul. Once it completely spreads to the heart, he will be gone. BRBR, Chu Feng glanced around. If he wanted to break this curse, he must refine a special antidote. BRBR, to refine the antidote, you need an extremely rare elixir, blood lotus. BRBR, the blood lotus flower can cure strange poisons in the world, and it has a miraculous effect on this kind of curse. BRBR, sure. BRBR, Meng Sure was so frightened by Chu Feng's appearance that her face turned pale. She looked at the blood net on Chu Feng's arm and the bloody eyes on his chest, and her body trembled violently. BRBR, master, what's wrong with you? BRBR, Chu Feng took a deep breath, forced down the severe pain in his body, and said urgently. BRBR, I have been cursed and need a spiritual elixir to refine the antidote. BRBR, this elixir is called Blood Lotus. Go and help me find the Blood Lotus immediately. BRBR, okay, master, you must wait for me to come back. BRBR, after saying that, Meng Sure no longer hesitated, turned and ran towards the depths of the secret realm. BRBR, Chu Feng's body almost completely collapsed on the rough bark, and his head tilted to one side. BRBR, his chest rose and fell slightly, and his breath was as weak as a candle in the wind. Every breath was accompanied by a thin gasp, as if it would be completely cut off in the next second. BRBR, the red blood thread wrapped around him was still slowly squirming, eating away at his vitality bit by bit. The originally fine blood network had now spread to his neck, only an inch away from his throat. BRBR, the power of the curse was far more domineering than he imagined. It not only devoured spiritual power, but also crazily eroded his soul. BRBR, the moment Meng Sure turned around and left, he could no longer resist the biting cold, his vision went dark, and he almost fainted. BRBR, I don't know how long it took, but there was a sound of slight footsteps, stepping on the thick fallen leaves, quietly approaching. BRBR, the owner of the footsteps is Jan Linger. Tell me, you have at least 3 things to say. BRBR, Jan Linger took a deep breath, endured the severe pain, and said to Chu Feng. BRBR, let's make a deal. BRBR, now, she just wants to save her life. BRBR, Puk. BRBR, Chu Feng raised the dagger expressionlessly and pierced Jan Linger's thigh again. BRBR, the edge of the dagger sank into the flesh, and there was a clear stinging pain. BRBR, Jan Linger's body trembled suddenly, and the tip of her heart twitched violently. BRBR, Chu Feng turned the dagger and his voice became a little colder. BRBR, that's not the sentence. BRBR, Jan Linger took a breath and then cursed loudly. BRBR, Chu Feng, you must die a good death. BRBR, that's not what you said. BRBR, as soon as Chu Feng finished speaking, the dagger was pulled out again and pierced her other thigh. BRBR, the severe pain made Jan Linger's body curl up. She gritted her teeth and tears fell uncontrollably. BRBR, she finally understood that Chu Feng was not negotiating terms with her at all. BRBR, Chu Feng is competing with her to see who has a harder life. BRBR, actually, Chu Feng didn't know who cast the curse on him. BRBR, but I expected she would come, so I smeared poison on the ring in advance. BRBR, this poison was refined by himself, and the only antidote was eaten by him long ago. BRBR, well, Jan Linger pursed her lips tightly, you can't even imagine knowing how to break the curse from me. BRBR Jianlinger's voice was filled with tears. She would rather die than avenge her father. BRBR Chu Feng slowly pulled out the dagger. Dark green blood was dripping from the edge of the dagger, which was the color of the fusion of toxins and blood. BRBR, it seems that you still don't understand your situation. BRBR after a cup of tea. BRBR Chu Feng stood beside a pool of dark red blood, the dagger in his hand dripping with dark green blood drops. BRBR Jianlinger's appearance could no longer be described as embarrassed. BRBR all the nails on her 10 fingers were pulled out, and the fingertips were bloody, exposing the pale finger bones. Every time she moved, the wound was involved, causing her whole body to twitch in pain. BRBR the teeth in his mouth were all broken and pulled out, his lips were swollen, and there was saliva mixed with blood foam dripping from the corners of his mouth. BRBR Jianlinger lowered her head, her messy hair soaked in cold sweat and sticky on her cheeks and neck, covering most of her face. BRBR her body was shaking violently, like a fallen leaf torn by the strong wind, and she didn't even have the strength to raise her head. BRBR BRBR she opened her mouth and gasped for air, each breath carrying a broken moan. BRBR at this moment, she was taking in more air than outgoing. The rise and fall of her chest was getting weaker and weaker, and even her consciousness became blurred. BRBR the scene in front of her was distorted into a bloody chaos, and the only sound left in her ears was her own heavy breathing. BRBR the soul-eating blood curse is a forbidden technique of Yuntian Palace. It is extremely domineering. She originally thought that even if Chu Feng did not die, he would become a useless person and be slaughtered by her. BRBR but she never expected that Chu Feng not only withstood the erosion of the curse, but also poisoned her and tortured her in the most cruel way. BRBR Jianlinger's eyes became more and more distracted, and her eyelids were as heavy as lead. BRBR she kept mumbling to herself, her voice so weak that she could only hear it clearly if she was very close. BRBR kill me, BRBR she doesn't want to bear this pain anymore. Death has become a luxury for her. BRBR Chu Feng knelt down, and the dagger in his hand gently lifted her chin, forcing her to raise her head. BRBR, how to break this curse, tell me. BRBR the erosion of the soul-eat. Ing blood curse is getting more and more serious. He can feel that the bloodline has spread to near the heart, and the bloody eyes on his chest are blinking more and more frequently. BRBR he must find a solution as soon as possible, otherwise even if he kills Jianlinger, he will not escape death. BRBR Jianlinger's lips moved and her voice was intermittent. BRBR you need to refine Feng Qiji to break the curse, BRBR Feng Qiji. BRBR Chu Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. He had heard of this elixir, which could cure the world's strange poisons and nourish the soul. BRBR, where did you put Feng Qiji? BRBR Jianlinger let out a painful moan in her throat, and her head hung down weakly. BRBR I didn't, BRBR no? BRBR Chu Feng's brows frowned suddenly, and his eyes instantly became sharp. BRBR he stared at Jianlinger, as if he wanted to see through her. BRBR since Jianlinger knew that Feng Qiji could break the curse, how could she not be prepared? BRBR she must be lying. BRBR, are you kidding me? BRBR the blade of the dagger was pointed at Jianlinger's ear. With just one stroke, the ear would be cut off at the root. BRBR a glimmer of clarity finally flashed through Jianlinger's distracted eyes. She shook her head desperately, because the movement was too violent and involved the wound on her body, causing her to let out a shrill scream in pain. BRBR, I really don't have Feng Qiji. BRBR her eyes were full of pleading, and tears mixed with blood fell from the corners of her eyes. BRBR seeing this, Chu Feng truly believed that she did not have Feng Qiji. BRBR, if that's the case, then go see your father. BRBR without Feng Qiji's whereabouts, keeping Jianlinger would be just a burden. BRBR however, just when Chu Feng was about to take Jianlinger's life, a sudden change occurred. BRBR the majestic power of curse suddenly burst out from his body. BRBR the red blood thread wrapped around his body instantly became extremely bright, as if it came alive. BRBR the bloody eyes on his chest suddenly opened, exuding a strong air of resentment, which stung Chu Feng's soul with severe pain. BRBR Chu Feng felt that the blood all over his body was boiling, and there was a heartbreaking pain in his limbs, as if countless knives were cutting his bones. BRBR his body was shaking violently, and he could no longer hold the dagger in his hand. BRBR Chu Feng staggered back a few steps and leaned against a big tree before he managed to steady himself. BRBR before, he pretended to be as energetic as a gossamer, but now all the strength in his body was really drained, and it was difficult to even move his fingers. BRBR the soul-eating blood curse completely broke out. BRBR looking at Chu Feng's embarrassed appearance, Jianlinger was stunned for a moment, and then burst into hysterical laughter. BRBR, ha ha ha, Chu Feng, you are dead. BRBR, she laughed so hard that her whole body twitched, and the wound was pulled in great pain, but she didn't care at all. BRBR, looking at Chu Feng's motionless appearance, her eyes were filled with the pleasure of revenge. BRBR, Chu Feng, you will definitely die worse than me. BRBR, Chu Feng raised his head and stared at Jianlinger. BRBR, even if I die, I will drag you to be buried with me. BRBR, he gritted his teeth and wanted to rush towards Jianlinger, but his body felt like lead and he couldn't move at all. BRBR, Jianlinger looked at his struggling appearance and smiled even more proudly. BRBR, her gaze inadvertently swept behind Chu Feng, and when she saw the figure walking slowly, her eyes suddenly lit up. BRBR, help. BRBR, she is saved. BRBR, a sinister smile appeared on the corner of Jianlinger's mouth. She endured the severe pain and took out a talisman from the ring tremblingly. BRBR, this talisman is her last life-saving thing. BRBR, Tongxing talisman. BRBR is long. As she hits someone else with it, half of the poison in her body can be transferred to the other person's body. BRBR, although it cannot completely detoxify, it can at least relieve her pain and give her a glimmer of hope. BRBR, Jianlinger raised the talisman in her hand and shouted loudly to the figure behind Chu Feng. BRBR, senior brother Qin. Quick! Kill Chu Feng. BRBR, Chu Feng's heart suddenly sank, and he suddenly turned his head. BRBR, I saw Qin Yan walking towards the side with a proud smile on his face. BRBR, obviously, he has been here for a long time and has a clear view of everything just now. BRBR, Qin Yan saw a trace of ecstasy flashing in his eyes when he saw Chu Feng's seriously injured and dying look, unable to move. BRBR, he followed Jianlinger's aura and came here, but he didn't expect that both Chu Feng and Jianlinger would be harmed. BRBR, God is really helping me. BRBR, Qin Yan suddenly pulled out the long sword from his waist. The blade of the sword shone with cold light, carrying a fierce killing intent. BRBR, Chu Feng, your death has come. BRBR, he rushed towards Chu Feng, his speed getting faster and faster, and the murderous intent in his eyes became stronger and stronger. BRBR, you robbed my fiancé and ruined my future. Today I will kill you. BRBR, Qin Yan's voice was filled with crazy joy, as if he had already seen the scene where Chu Feng was pierced through the heart by his sword. BRBR, when I kill you, I will ravage all your women in front of your body. At this moment, he was so weak that he almost didn't have the strength to raise his hands. BRBR, this is an extremely dense forest, with towering ancient trees blocking the sky and the sun. The sunlight can only filter through the gaps in the leaves and filter out tiny spots of light. BRBR, Chu Feng, you really deserve to die. BRBR, he glanced behind him and breathed a sigh of relief after confirming that Chu Feng was not there. BRBR, he never expected that Chu Feng would have a backup plan and transfer half of the curse to him. BRBR, Qin Yan covered his chest, feeling the power of resentment that was constantly eroding his soul, and a trace of resentment flashed in his eyes. BRBR, I, Qin Yan, will not be a human being unless I take revenge for this. BRBR, at this moment, a cold voice suddenly came from the depths of the dense forest ahead. BRBR, Qin Yan? BRBR, Qin Yan's body trembled suddenly, he raised his head warily and looked in the direction of the sound. BRBR, I saw a young man wearing a blue robe standing under an old tree not far away. BRBR, he is holding a bronze compass in his hand. He is tall with a handsome face. He is the formation genius of the Tianjin sect, Huixiu. BRBR, Huixiu. BRBR, Qin Yan exclaimed, and then tried to cover up his embarrassment. BRBR, Huixiu stepped forward, looked Qin Yan up and down, and frowned slightly. BRBR, why did you look like this? BRBR, Huixiu's tone was filled with doubts, and his eyes wandered around Qin Yan's body, seeming to be searching for something. BRBR, Qin Yan's heart skipped a beat. He didn't want Huixiu to know that he was beaten by Chu Feng and fled, and he was also cursed by a strange curse. BRBR, I almost killed that thief Chu Feng with one sword just now, but I didn't expect that he was so treacherous and would use sinister means to plot against me. BRBR, Huixiu's eyes were always lingering on Qin Yan's body, with a trace of amusement in his eye. BRBR, he didn't speak, he just walked around Qin Yan with a strange smile on his lips. BRBR, after a while, Huixiu stopped, with a hint of joking in his tone. BRBR, are you brave? BRBR, Qin Yan felt a little uncomfortable when Huixiu looked at him, he scratched his neck and said. BRBR, I am super brave. If that dog thief hadn't cheated, I would have cut him into pieces. BRBR, Huixiu looked at his brave appearance, and the smile in his eyes became even stronger. BRBR, he walked forward slowly, stretched out his finger, and gently poked Qin Yan's arm muscles. BRBR, you have a good figure, quite strong. BRBR, Huixiu's voice had a strange softness that made Qin Yan's whole body tingle. BRBR, Qin Yan finally noticed something was wrong, and that smile made his hair stand on end. BRBR, what are you doing? BRBR. Huixiao moved his finger slightly, and bursts of thick black mist suddenly appeared on his fingertips. BRBR. The black mist was like a living thing, entwining around his fingertips. BRBR. Qinyan's face changed slightly, and there was an evil force in the black mist. BRBR. Before Qinyan could react, Huixiao's palm rested on his shoulder. BRBR. I have a magic weapon to deal with Chu Feng, do you want to see it? BRBR. Magic weapon? BRBR. Qinyan's eyes suddenly lit up, and all his vigilance was instantly thrown away. BRBR. A magic weapon to deal with Chu Feng. BRBR. This is what he needs most now. As long as he has the magic weapon, he can take revenge and kill that thief Chu Feng. BRBR. Qinyan had an eager look on his face. He moved forward and let Huixiao put his hand on his shoulder, with a hint of urgency in his tone. BRBR. What magic weapon is it? Take it out and show it to me. BRBR. His eyes were fixed on Huixiao's hand, wishing to see the magic weapon right away. BRBR. However, the moment Qinyan came closer, Huixiao put his big hand on his shoulder and exerted force. BRBR. A huge force came. And Qinyan had no time to react. He only felt that his legs were weak, and Huixiao forced him to kneel down. BRBR. Qinyan suddenly raised his head, looking at Huixiao's face with a weird smile, and felt a strong uneasiness in his heart. BRBR. He struggled to stand up, but found that Huixiao's hands were like iron pliers, clamping tightly on his shoulders, preventing him from moving. BRBR. What do you want to do? BRBR. Qinyan's voice was filled with panic. He twisted his body desperately, trying to break free from Huixiao's restraints. BRBR. Huixiao slowly squatted down, his eyes falling on Qinyan's flushed face, and the smile on his lips became stronger. BRBR. He reached out his hand and gently stroked Qinyan's cheek. BRBR. Ouch, you're blushing. BRBR. His eyes slowly moved down, with a glint of excitement flashing in his eyes. BRBR. Come and let me see. BRBR. Qinyan's body trembled suddenly. He looked at Huixiao's lustful eyes and finally understood. BRBR. The next moment, he felt nauseated, his stomach was so full that he almost vomited out his breakfast. BRBR. He never expected that Huixiao, who usually looked serious, would have such a hobby. BRBR. You really know people, faces but not hearts. BRBR. Qinyan's peripheral vision quickly glanced around, thinking about how to escape. BRBR. Once Huixiao succeeds, the consequences will be disastrous. BRBR. Don't come over. BRBR. Huixiao looked at his panicked look, and the excitement in his eyes became even stronger. BRBR. Come, let me see if your development is normal. BRBR. No. BRBR. Qinyan's voice had a hint of crying. He looked at Huixiao's figure getting closer and closer, and he felt cold all over, as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. BRBR. Disgusting. BRBR. So disgusting. BRBR. He finally escaped Chu Feng's pursuit, but fell into Huixiao's hands again. BRBR. I would have known better. It would be better to die in Chu Feng's hands. BRBR. Seeing Qin Yun trembling, the corners of Huixiao's mouth raised slightly. BRBR. He slowly raised his head, and the whites of his eyes suddenly changed. BRBR. Those dark eyes were replaced by them. Like an abyss, there was no trace of light, exuding a heart-stopping evil energy. BRBR. At the same time, a thick black mist suddenly filled up behind Huixiao, and gradually turned into a blurry figure. BRBR. The figure was as fat as a pig, with a round belly, almost hanging to the ground. But he is as short as a dwarf, with short and thick limbs, and looks nondescript. BRBR. The most creepy thing is that the head of the figure is actually a huge pig head. BRBR. The two eyes of the pig head are red, like two blood beads, staring at Qinyan. BRBR. There is really nothing I can do against you. BRBR. Huixiao's voice suddenly became hoarse, completely losing its previous clarity. It sounded like a broken gong, which was chilling. BRBR. Qinyan looked at the black shadow with a pig's head behind Huixiao, and then at Huixiao's dark eyes. His pupils suddenly shrank, and he let out a horrified scream. BRBR. You are not Huixiao. BRBR. It was only at this moment that he finally understood. BRBR. The person in front of him was not Huixiao from the Tianjin sect at all. BRBR. In other words, Huixiao's body has been occupied by this monster. BRBR. Does God want to kill me? BRBR. A strong sadness surged in Qinyan's heart. He looked at the black shadow with the pig head and felt nauseated. BRBR. If it was Huixiao, he would still be able to accept it, but facing this disgusting pig demon BRBR. Qinyan couldn't bear it any longer. He held on to the tree trunk next to him and vomited violently. BRBR. GGG. BRBR. The pig-headed black figure looked at him vomiting and laughed strangely. BRBR. Qinyan was so dizzy from vomiting that he felt dizzy. BRBR. He stared at Huixiao and stepped back. BRBR. The next moment, he stumbled and fell directly to the ground. BRBR. The fall made him dizzy, and all the bones in his body seemed to be falling apart. BRBR, the power of the curse in his chest burst out again, causing him to grimace in pain. BRBR, jia jia jia. BRBR, the red light in Huixiu's eyes became even brighter as he approached Qin Yun step by step. Every step he took would leave a black footprint on the ground. BRBR, be obedient, let me see. BRBR, don't. BRBR, Qin Yun let out a shrill scream. BRBR, Huixiu suddenly raised his hand, and a thick black mist condensed in his palm, and the black mist surged towards Qin Yun. BRBR, Qin Yun felt an evil energy pouring into his body like a tide. BRBR, everywhere he passed, the meridians were broken, and the spiritual power collapsed instantly. BRBR, aha. BRBR, Qin Yun let out a shrill scream, his body twitched violently, and his limbs moved uncontrollably. BRBR, the scene in front of me began to distort. BRBR, Huixiu's face with a weird smile and the black shadow with a pig's head continued to enlarge in front of his eyes. BRBR, it's over. Run. BRBR, a thought crept into Huixiu's mind. He no longer cared about Feng Qizhi or Chu Feng's beauty. He turned around and ran towards the entrance of the cave. BRBR, his body turned into a black stream of light, moving at an incredible speed. The black mist behind him surged, trying to cover up his traces. BRBR, want to run away? It's too late. BRBR, Chu Feng waved his hand casually, and a ray of light flew out from the ring. It was the demon-locking net. BRBR, the demon-locking net swelled when the wind blew, and instantly turned into a huge black net. BRBR, the big net was like a dragnet, covering Huixiu's figure, several times faster than Huixiu. BRBR, no. BRBR, Huixiu desperately activated the demonic energy in his body, trying to break free from the shackles of the demon-locking net. BRBR, the demon-lockable net is a heavenly weapon, specially designed to restrain demons. BRBR, the demon-locking net covered Huixiu's body, and the ropes tightened instantly, tightly binding his body. BRBR, Huixiu's body was shaking violently, and his limbs could not move. He could only watch Chu Feng walking slowly. BRBR, don't kill me, spare my life. BRBR, Huixiu's voice was filled with tears, and his body kept twisting, trying to break free. BRBR, I was really wrong, I shouldn't have coveted Feng Qizhi, please let me live. BRBR, his head was pounding like garlic, and he kept kowtowing. Unfortunately, he was restrained by the demon-locking net and couldn't even kowtow. BRBR, I could only look at Chu Feng helplessly, his eyes full of pleading. BRBR, I am willing to dedicate all my treasures to you. There are countless heavenly materials and earthly treasures in my Neji, as well as the secret techniques of Tianjin sect. BRBR, Chu Feng walked up to Huixiu and looked at him condescendingly. BRBR, a disgusting guy like you shouldn't be alive in this world. BRBR, Songling. BRBR, cold light flashed by. BRBR, the sword pierced Huixiu's heart, and blood spurted out. BRBR, Huixiu's body trembled suddenly, the light in his eyes quickly dimmed, and finally he lost his life completely. BRBR, Chu Feng raised his hand and waved, the demon-locking net was loosened, and Huixiu's body fell heavily to the ground, making a dull sound. BRBR, he walked to Huixiu's body, bent down and took off a na ring. BRBR, erasing the mark of divine consciousness on the ring, Chu Feng's divine will penetrated it. BRBR, there are indeed good things in Neji, and what attracts Chu Feng the most is an ancient book. BRBR, the cover of the ancient book has turned yellow, and there are 5 ancient seal characters written on it, the stars shift. BRBR, Chu Feng picked up the ancient book, opened it, and suddenly felt a storm in his heart. BRBR, what was recorded in this ancient book turned out to be a holy order formation. BRBR, the entire ancient book only talks about this one formation. BRBR, the star-shifting formation can activate the power of the stars, reverse the situation, and rebound the attack. BRBR, Chu Feng was overjoyed and immediately started to run the heaven-refining diagram. BRBR, the words in the ancient book seemed to come alive, turning into golden streams of light and pouring into Chu Feng's mind. BRBR, countless formation knowledge was instantly comprehended by Chu Feng like an enlightenment. BRBR, in just a moment, Chu Feng closed the ancient book. BRBR, he has completely learned how to change the situation. BRBR, however, at the moment when the demon-locking net was put away, a sudden change occurred. BRBR, Huixiu's body suddenly exploded, and a thick black mist rushed out of the body. BRBR, this black mist was extremely fast, like an arrow from a string, shooting towards the entrance of the cave. BRBR, huh? BRBR, Chu Feng's expression suddenly changed. He did not expect that the demon soul in Huixiu's body was not dead. BRBR, unfortunately. Nately, the speed of the black mist was too fast. When Chu Feng chased him to the entrance of the cave, he could only see the afterimage of the black mist disappearing. BRBR, Chu Feng shook his head and stopped pursuing him. His top priority now was to deal with Qin Yun. BRBR at this moment, Qin slowly opened his eyes. BRBR when he saw Chu Feng's cold face, his pupils suddenly shrank. BRBR Chu Feng. BRBR Chu Feng did not speak, but raised his hand, and a ray of spiritual power condensed on his fingertips. BRBR no. Don't kill me. Qin immediately guessed what Chu Feng wanted to do. BRBR after the words fell, spiritual power flashed past. BRBR Qin scream stopped suddenly, and his body hung down softly, completely losing his life. BRBR Chu Feng raised his hand and knocked Qin body off the tree. BRBR he turned around and prepared to leave without even looking at Qin body. BRBR boom. BRBR a dull loud noise suddenly came from below the cliff. BRBR then the ground shook slightly. BRBR Chu Feng raised his brows slightly, and a trace of curiosity flashed in his eyes. The source of this vibration was just below the cliff. BRBR having just learned how to move around the stars, he couldn't help but want to test its power. BRBR with his current strength, even if he encounters a monk in the god transformation stage, he will still be able to fight. BRBR Chu Feng jumped up without hesitation, flew down from the air, and flew towards the bottom of the cliff. BRBR the further down you fly, the stronger the smell of blood becomes in the air. BRBR the clouds and mist are shrouded, and the scene below can be vaguely seen. BRBR below is a wide river. The water is dark red and exudes a pungent smell of blood. It is obviously dyed red by blood. BRBR a large number of monk skeletons are scattered along the river bank, and most of these skeletons are in a state of decay. BRBR there are count less destroyed magic weapons scattered among the bones. BRBR in the center of the river bank, there were still many corpses dressed in the costumes of the 10,000 Beast sect. BRBR the death conditions of these corpses were extremely miserable. Some were torn apart by sharp claws, and some were corroded by demonic energy. They obviously died unexpectedly. BRBR Chu Feng's eyes were quickly attracted by a fierce battle on the river bank. BRBR the two sides fighting fiercely, one side is a huge magic dragon, and the other side is a woman in a red dress. BRBR that woman has a curvaceous figure and is perfect. BRBR a red dress tightly wrapped her body, outlining a thrilling arc. BRBR her skin is as white as gelatin, and her feet are naked, stepping on the dark red river water. BRBR Chu Feng's eyes fell on the woman. BRBR the woman's whole body exudes a majestic pressure, void refining realm. BRBR Chu Feng's heart suddenly stirred up a storm. Although he had never seen this woman, based on her cultivation, he guessed the identity of this person. BRBR the leader of the 10,000 Beast sect, Jiangji. BRBR, oh, we said that monks in the void refining realm are not allowed to enter the secret realm, so how can the sect master double standards like this? BRBR Chu Feng secretly complained, and in his heart he was even more disdainful of the rules of the Yuntian conference. BRBR at this time, Jiang Zhijing was fighting with the magic dragon inextricably. BRBR the demonic dragon was huge, dozens of feet long, and was covered with pitch-black scales. BRBR its head is ferocious, its blood-red eyes are as big as lanterns, and black dragon breath is constantly sprayed from its mouth. BRBR wherever the dragon's breath passes, the river boils. BRBR in Jiangji's hand, she held a bloody spear. BRBR she was surrounded by countless phantoms of monsters. BRBR thousands of beasts roar to the sky. BRBR Jiangji shout. Ed loudly, and the blood-colored spear in his hand suddenly stabbed out. BRBR the phantom of the demonic beast around her instantly condensed, turning into a huge beast-shaped light and shadow, and slammed into the demonic dragon. BRBR roar. BRBR the beast-shaped light and shadow let out a deafening roar, carrying the pressure of all beasts and majestic momentum. BRBR boom. BRBR the beast-shaped light and shadow hit the demon dragon hard. BRBR however, that seemingly powerful blow was like scratching an itch for the dragon. BRBR the demonic dragon let out an angry roar and swung its tail violently, like a giant black whip, lashing towards Jiangji. BRBR Jiangji's expression changed suddenly, and she quickly turned sideways to avoid it. BRBR but the speed of the magic dragon was too fast, and its tail still brushed her shoulder. BRBR pft. BRBR Jiangji's shoulder was hit by the dragon's tail, and blood spurted out. BRBR her body flew upside down like a kite with its string broken, and fell heavily on the riverbank. BRBR Jiangji struggled to stand up, a trace of blood spilled from the corner of her mouth. BRBR Chu Feng was suspended in midair, looking at the fierce battle below, a trace of solemnity flashed in his eyes. BRBR the demonic dragon is infinitely close to the sixth order monster. When converted into the realm of a monk, it is the great perfection of divine transformation. BRBR Jiangji is a monk in the void refining realm. She should not be pressed down and beaten by this demonic dragon. BRBR his eyes fell on Jiangji again, and he soon discovered the clues. BRBR Jiangji's face was too rosy, and it was a bit weird. BRBR her breathing was rapid and disordered, and the hand holding the spear trembled slightly. BRBR something seems wrong. BRBR withdraw. BRBR at the same time, Jiangji suddenly noticed a gaze falling on her. Her peripheral vision suddenly swept towards the cliff. Her sight penetrated the lingering clouds and mist, and she seemed to see Chu Feng's figure. BRBR Chu Feng did not hesitate at all. Spiritual power surged under his feet, and he turned around and leapt in the air. BRBR stop. BRBR cold shout suddenly came from below. BRBR Chu Feng, you've seen enough of the show and you just want to leave? BRBR Chu Feng paused and looked at Jiangji condescendingly. BRBR sect master Jiang is so majestic. He can't deal with the magic dragon, but he still wants to drag me into the water. BRBR pulling you into the water? Jiangji sneered, do you think you can leave? BRBR Chu Feng raised his eyebrows, why Jiang? Does the sect master still want to keep me? BRBR I can't keep you. Jiangji's tone was calm, but with a hint of threat, but the dragon can. BRBR she paused and glanced at the dragon that was staring at her eagerly. BRBR if you and I ran away at the same time, who do you think would run faster? BRBR Chu Feng's face sank slightly, and the answer was self-evident. BRBR Jiangji is a monk in the void refining realm. Even if he is injured, his speed is definitely not comparable to his. BRBR and in the eyes of the demon dragon, he is just a piece of fat delivered to the door. BRBR seeing Chu Feng's silence, Jiangji continued. BRBR you should know that with your cultivation level, if you are targeted by this demonic dragon, you will only die. BRBR Chu Feng slowly clenched his fingers, secretly cursing Jiangji for being insidious. BRBR he took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in his heart. BRBR even if I stay, I will just die. BRBR I don't need you to kill it. A trace of determination flashed in Jiangji's eyes, you only need to help me hold it for one stick of incense, just for one stick of incense. BRBR hearing this, Chu Feng sneered. BRBR I'm afraid sect leader Jiang is too high-minded about me. I can't even catch one of its moves. So how can I hold it back? BRBR Jiangji's eyes narrowed slightly. If nothing else, the demon-locking net in Chu Feng's hand could trap the demonic dragon for a moment. BRBR I know you have a trump card. As long as you are willing to take action, you may not be able to contain it. BRBR she was indeed able to escape, but she was unwilling to do so. BRBR the reason why I entered the secret realm was to kill this demonic dragon and obtain its true dragon essence and blood. BRBR if she just ran away, then she didn't come in for nothing. BRBR moreover, all her disciples from the 10,000 Beast sect have died here. BRBR no matter what, this dragon must die. BRBR after the deed is accomplished, I will be very grateful. BRBR a trace of hesitation flashed across Chu Feng's eyes. He was indeed a little moved, and he couldn't escape now even if he wanted to. BRBR however, before he could speak, Jiangji's figure suddenly turned into a red light and flashed to Chu Feng's side. BRBR Chu Feng's expression suddenly changed, but Jiangji showed a sly smile towards him. BRBR Chu Feng, please excuse me. BRBR the moment he finished speaking, Jiangji's palm pushed hard on Chu Feng's back. BRBR a majestic spiritual power surged in, and Chu Feng had no time to react before he quickly fell towards the demonic dragon below. BRBR Jiangji, Maligo. The vortex in the sky exploded instantly, and countless purple lightning and monster shadows gathered together and turned into a huge beast seal. BRBR this is the killing move she prepared for the demon dragon. It condenses the inheritance power of the 10,000 Beasts sect and the power of thunder and lightning from heaven and earth, and is infinitely powerful. BRBR but it also requires a huge amount of spiritual energy and may even damage the foundation. BRBR roar. BRBR the demon dragon looked at the huge beast mark, suddenly opened its big mouth, and sprayed out a jet-black natal dragon breath. BRBR dragon breath and dragon tail attack the beast mark at the same time. BRBR boom, BRBR the beast mark and the dragon's breath collided with each other. BRBR there was a deafening loud noise, and the world changed color. BRBR a terrifying energy shock wave burst out instantly, sweeping away like a tsunami in all directions. BRBR the rocks on the river bank instantly shattered, the river water was evaporated without a trace, and the surrounding trees were uprooted and turned into powder. BRBR the smoke and dust filled the air, covering the sky and the sun. BRBR after a long time, the smoke slowly dispersed. BRBR I saw the body of the demon dragon flying backwards and falling heavily to the ground. Its tail had been shattered by the beast mark. BRBR Jiangji's spiritual energy was completely exhausted, and the huge repulsive force caused her body to fly backwards uncontrollably. BRBR however, the imagined pain did not come. BRBR Chu Feng stretched out his hands and firmly hugged Jiangji's plump body. BRBR what you get is warm and soft skin, fragrant and rich in the smell of blood intertwined. BRBR, is this your special move? BRBR Jiangji leaned in Chu Feng's arms. She raised her head and looked at Chu Feng's pale but still handsome face, with a complicated light flashing in her eyes. BRBR her eyes moved to the magic dragon not far away, and a trace of despair surged in her heart. BRBR although the dragon was seriously injured, it was still capable of fighting. BRBR but her spiritual power was exhausted and she could no longer fight. BRBR are they going to die here today? BRBR at this moment, the demon dragon lying on the ground let out a low roar. BRBR its body trembled violently, and a violent breath burst out from its body crazily. BRBR the dragon fell into a violent state. BRBR Jiangji leaned in Chu Feng's arms, her usually cold and aloof eyes were now covered with a layer of mist, with a hint of guilt. BRBR if she hadn't plotted against Chu Feng would not have ended up like this. BRBR I'm sorry. BRBR Jiangji's voice was very soft, her head lowered slightly, not daring to look into Chu Feng's eyes. BRBR I'm the one who got you into trouble, please leave quickly. BRBR Chu Feng's body stiffened slightly, and he looked down at Jiangji, who was about to cry. BRBR what are you talking about? BRBR he slapped Jiangji's peach but BRBR you promised to benefit me after the matter is completed. BRBR Jiangji pursed her thin lips tightly and took off her na ring. BRBR this is for you. As long as you can survive, everything here belongs to you. BRBR Chu Feng took the ring, and then stood in front of Jiangji again. BRBR take people's money and help them eliminate disasters. Next, it's my turn. BRBR Jiangji couldn't help but shake her head, with a hint of crying in her voice. BRBR you are no match for it, leave quickly. BRBR Chu Feng did not look back, but quickly formed seals with his hands. BRBR the stars are changing. BRBR the power of the stars in the sky is gathering again. BRBR a trace of disdain flashed in the eyes of the demon dragon, and he said coldly, BRBR, do you think that without the broken net to restrain me, your formation will still be useful? BR it suddenly raised its right paw and slapped it hard towards Chu Feng. BRBR Chu Feng. BRBR Jiangji let out a shrill scream. She closed her eyes in despair, not daring to look at the scene that happened next. BRBR Chu Feng is going to die. BRBR she is going to die too. BRBR however, at this moment, Jiangji suddenly felt that the spiritual power in her sea of consciousness was pouring out uncontrollably. BRBR the spiritual power surged out from her sea of consciousness and poured into the Dozhuanxing shifting formation. BRBR Jiangji's body trembled, and then she opened her eyes. BRBR her spiritual power flowed through the formation, and then entered Chu Feng's body. BRBR this formation can actually swallow my spiritual power. BRBR in Chu Feng's sea of consciousness, the originally depleted mental power instantly became full. BRBR the giant claw of the demon dragon was about to fall on Chu Feng. BRBR however, the giant claw stopped just inches away from him. BRBR the demon dragon its body trembled suddenly, and it looked down at its paws, its eyes filled with disbelief. BRBR powerful spiritual power penetrated its sea of consciousness. BRBR the spiritual power was more than 10 times stronger than Chu Feng's before. BRBR what's going on? BRBR the demon dragon tried desperately to shoot it, but his body couldn't move. BRBR what did you do to me? BRBR Chu Feng slowly raised his head, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised, already running the spiritual art of controlling beasts. BRBR invisible threads of mental power, like a tide, poured into the sea of consciousness of the demon dragon. BRBR before, he could not control the demon dragon because his mental power was not strong enough. BRBR but now, with the blessing of Jiangji's mental power, everything has become different. BRBR the star shifting formation is not only able to rebound attacks, but also has another effect. It deprives the people within the range of the formation of spiritual power and mental power, and uses it for oneself. BRBR Jiangji's mental power far surpassed that of the demon dragon. Chu Feng borrowed her mental power to activate the spiritual art of controlling beasts and instantly gained the absolute upper hand. BRBR roar. BRBR the demon dragon let out a shrill scream, and in its sea of consciousness, 2 powerful spiritual powers were colliding crazily. BRBR don't even think about it. Don't even think about controlling me. BRBR Chu Feng's face turned pale slightly, and then his expression became a little ferocious. BRBR submit to me. BRBR his threads of spiritual power were eating away at the power of the demon dragon's soul bit by bit. BRBR a trace of despair flashed in the demon dragon's blood eyes, and its soul was being controlled by Chu Feng bit by bit. BRBR no, BRBR surrender. BRBR Chu Feng's voice exploded like thunder in the sea of consciousness of the demon dragon. BRBR threads of spiritual power were like a tide, completely submerging the power of the dragon's soul. BRBR the demon dragon's blood-filled eyes gradually became calm and eventually became docile. BRBR he slowly lowered his head, and his huge body crawled in front of Chu Feng. BRBR master, BRBR Chu Feng's body went limp and he almost fell to the ground. BRBR he was breathing heavily, and his face was as pale as paper. BRBR success. BRBR he finally controlled this dragon that was infinitely close to the 6th level. BRBR Jiangji stood aside, looking at the scene in front of her, her red lips slightly opened, and she was silent for a long time. BRBR she never expected that Chu Feng actually controlled the demon dragon. BRBR this man is simply a monster. BRBR when the crisis of life and death came into contact, her tight string was instantly loosened. BRBR at the same time, her face became extremely rosy. Like a ripe apple. BRBR those cold eyes were flowing with a hint of seductive charm at this moment. BRBR Chu Feng also felt a strange feeling in his heart. BRBR a hot feeling rose from the dantian and swept through the whole body in an instant. BRBR what's going on? Why do you feel a little hot? BRBR Jiangji also felt the changes in her body, but she already understood what the problem was. BRBR if this were not the case, how could he be pressed down and beaten by that dragon? BRBR the blood of the dragon contains special power. Once it is contaminated, it will make people lose their minds. BRBR as soon as Jiangji finished speaking, her body trembled suddenly, and her consciousness became increasingly blurred. BRBR looking at Chu Feng's handsome face, a trace of confusion flashed in her eyes. BRBR Chu Feng asked with only a trace of reason left. BRBR what will happen after you lose your mind? BRBR you will be unable to stop. BRBR Jiangji's voice was trembling, and she reached out to hold Chu Feng's shirt. BRBR Chu Feng's pupils trembled, and he immediately understood the meaning of Jiangji's words. BRBR but if he really did it, wouldn't Jiangji kill him afterwards? BRBR just when he wanted to turn around and leave, his legs refused to obey him at all. BRBR looking at Jiangji's blurred eyes, his rational mind was completely broken. BRBR the river is still flowing slowly, and on the rocks on the shore, 2 figures are tightly entangled together. Put it on. BRBR Jiangji looked down at the dress in her arms. When she saw the style clearly, her cheeks turned redder. BRBR it was a long black skirt with a very high slit at the hem. BRBR this skirt was accidentally acquired during her travels. BRBR when she first saw it, she thought the dress was breathtakingly beautiful. BRBR due to her status as the leader of the 10,000 Beasts sect, she never dared to wear it in front of others. She could only secretly take it out for self-admiration when she was alone in private. BRBR unexpectedly, this skirt would be turned out by Chu Feng. BRBR Jiangji's fingers clenched the hem of her skirt tightly, a trace of resistance flashed in her eyes. BRBR she stared at Chu Feng, with a hint of grievance in her voice. BRBR this skirt is too exposed, I don't like it. BRBR Chu Feng only said 3 words. BRBR I like it. BRBR just 3 words, leaving Jiangji speechless. BRBR a moment later, a rustling sound came from behind the rock. BRBR Chu Feng waited leisurely, and soon, Jiangji walked out from behind the rock. BRBR the afterglow of the setting sun fell on her body, outlining her graceful figure. BRBR the long black skirt clung tightly to her body, vividly outlining her exquisite figure. BRBR the skirt swayed gently with her steps, revealing her fair and slender legs. BRBR there was still a hint of blush on that beautiful face. BRBR Chu Feng's eyes fell on her, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. BRBR sure enough, people with good figures look good in anything they wear. BRBR Jiangji noticed Chu Feng's gaze and subconsciously pulled the hem of her skirt, trying to cover the slit, but found that it was useless. BRBR, have you seen enough? BRBR Chu Feng withdrew his gaze, the smile on his lips not diminishing. BRBR, I haven't seen enough, and I will never see enough in my lifetime. BRBR Jiangji's heart trembled at what he said. And she quickly changed the subject. BRBR, I went to bury them. BRBR after saying that, she walked quickly towards the river bank not far away, where the bodies of the disciples of the 10,000 Beast sect were still lying. BRBR looking at the cold bodies of those disciples, Jiangji felt a sense of guilt in her heart. BRBR these disciples were all elites selected by her personally. They followed her into the secret realm in order to find opportunities, but they did not expect that they would eventually die here. BRBR if she had not insisted on hunting the demon dragon, if she had not been seriously injured by the demon dragon, these disciples might not have died. BRBR Jiangji's eyes were slightly red. She knelt down and carefully buried the corpses of the disciples. BRBR a tombstone was cut out of a huge stone, and it was written on it, Tomb of the Disciples of the 10,000 Beasts Sect. BRBR Jiangji bowed deeply to the stone tablet. BRBR, I have caused trouble for you. When I return to the sect, I will treat your family well. BRBR Chu Feng did not disturb her, but turned and walked to the other side. BRBR, there are a large number of monks' bones scattered there, which have obviously been there for a long time. BRBR Chu Feng glanced at the skeletons and began to rummage through them. BRBR, these monks are definitely not ordinary people who can enter the Yuntian secret realm. BRBR, maybe there is some treasure hidden in their bodies. BRBR, sure enough, Chu Feng's guess was correct. BRBR, he found a mina ring from each skeleton. BRBR Chu Feng collected them one by one, used his spiritual consciousness to erase the marks on them, and checked the contents inside. BRBR in the Neji, some contain heavenly materials and earthly treasures, some contain panaceas, and some contain secret books of exercises. BRBR, although most of them are not top-notch treasures, they can add up to a considerable amount of wealth. BRBR Chu Feng searched for half an hour and harvested a total of hundreds of na rings. BRBR, this trip is really worthwhile. BRBR Chu Feng stretched his body and inadvertently glanced at the river next to him. BRBR, the river water shone with little golden lights, and those golden lights reflected the entire river like a galaxy. BRBR, a trace of surprise flashed in Chu Feng's eyes. The next moment, he suddenly raised his head and looked at the top of his head. BRBR, on top of his head, countless golden light spots were seen floating. BRBR, at a rough glance, the number of these light spots is actually tens of thousands. BRBR, he remembered that when he first entered the secret realm, there were only a few hundred golden light spots above his head. BRBR, why did there suddenly become so many? BRBR, what are you looking at? BRBR, a cold voice suddenly came from the side. BRBR Chu Feng turned around and saw that Jiangji had already walked to his side. BRBR Jiangji followed Chu Feng's gaze and looked at the golden light spot above his head. BRBR, those golden spots of light above your head are called Yuntian starlight. BRBR, in the Yuntian secret realm, in addition to robbing other people's starlight, you can also obtain the corresponding starlight by slaying demons. BRBR, speaking of this, Jiangji took a deep look at Chu Feng. BRBR, if it weren't for Chu Feng, she might have died under the claws of the demon dragon at this moment, and there would be no way she could stand here. BRBR, you have tamed the demon dragon, which is a demonic beast that is infinitely close to the 6th level, so you have obtained these stars. BRBR, so that's it. Chu Feng suddenly realized, what is the use of this star? BRBR Jiangji's eyes looked into the depths of the secret realm. BRBR, you can enter the temple only if you have enough starlight. There are great opportunities in the temple. BRBR Chu Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. BRBR Chu Feng nodded and raised his hand to wave. BRBR, magic dragon, come out. BRBR, the moment the voice fell, the dark red river surged violently. BRBR, wow. BRBR, a huge black shadow slowly emerged from the river. It was the demon dragon tamed by Chu Feng. BRBR, its bloody eyes no longer had the fierce light they had before. BRBR, the demon dragon slowly emerged from the water, its huge head lowered slightly, and let out a low roar towards Chu Feng, appearing particularly respectful. BRBR Chu Feng turned to look at Jiangji and said, BRBR, let's go and take a look deep into the secret realm. BRBR, however, Jiangji stood there and did not move. BRBR, her brows wrinkled slightly, with a trace of hesitation in her eyes, as if she wanted to say something, but was embarrassed to say it. BRBR Chu Feng noticed her strangeness and asked with a smile. BRBR, we have all been honest with each other, what else can't be said? BRBR, however, now that the demon dragon has been tamed by him, it would be a pity if he killed it like this. BRBR, you don't want me to kill it, do you? BRBR Jiangji shook her head quickly. She looked at the magic dragon with a trace of desire in her eyes. BRBR, I want its essence and blood, just a small bottle is enough. BRBR, the demon dragon's essence and blood contains the rich original power of the monster beast, which is the key to her breakthrough to the integration stage. BRBR, the reason why she entered the secret realm was because of the dragon's essence and blood. BRBR, a flash of understanding flashed in Chu Feng's eyes. He turned to look at the demon dragon, took out a white jade porcelain bottle from the ring, and threw it into the air. BRBR, you heard it all. BRBR, the demon dragon's body trembled suddenly, and it looked at the white jade porcelain bottle in the air, with a trace of reluctance flashing in its eyes. BRBR, essence and blood are the origin of monsters. If a drop is lost, it will take a lot of time to recover. BRBR, however, it has been tamed by Chu Feng, and it does not dare to disobey Chu Feng's orders. BRBR, the demonic dragon roared helplessly. It opened its big mouth and spit out a small ball of blood. BRBR, the essence and blood flew towards the white jade porcelain vase like a living thing, filling the porcelain vase. BRBR the white jade porcelain bottle spun around in the air and landed in Chu Feng's hands. BRBR Chu Feng looked at the porcelain bottle in his hand, but did not rush to hand it over to Jiangji. Instead, he played with the porcelain bottle in his hand and looked at Jiangji with a half-smiling look. BRBR say thank you. BRBR Jiangji's eyes were fixed on the porcelain bottle in Chu Feng's hand. BRBR the dragon's essence and blood are too important to her. BRBR thank you. BRBR Chu Feng was obviously not satisfied with this answer and continued. BRBR in my hometown, people express their gratitude with kisses. BRBR don't push yourself too far. BRBR Jiangji's face instantly turned red. She puffed up her cheeks and glared angrily at Chu Feng. BRBR the scumbag. He went too far. BRBR she is the leader of the 10,000 Beasts sect, how could she kiss a junior? BRBR but yes, the bottle of demonic dragon essence and blood is in Chu Feng's hand. If he doesn't kiss, BRBR Chu Feng looked at Jiangji's tangled look, raised his finger and pointed at his cheek, and then slowly brought it to Jiangji's lips. His tone was a bit bewitching. BRBR just kiss here. BRBR Jiangji's heartbeat accelerated instantly. BRBR she looked at Chu Feng's handsome face, and the struggle in her heart became more intense. BRBR in the end, Jiangji gritted her teeth. BRBR for the sake of the dragon's essence and blood, she risked her life. BRBR Jiangji closed her eyes and pouted at Chu Feng's cheek came closer. BRBR however, the moment her lips were about to touch Chu Feng's cheek, Chu Feng suddenly turned her head. BRBR Jiangji's body trembled, and she subconsciously opened her eyes. BRBR what came into view was Chu Feng's deep starry eyes, which sparkled with cunning light. BR Jiangji's mind went blank for a moment. BRBR she wanted to scream, but found that her lips had been tightly sealed by Chu Feng. BRBR Jiangji let out a muffled groan, and her body instantly stiffened. BRBR then, her body softened uncontrollably. The consciousness gradually sank. BRBR the time of a cup of tea slowly passed. BRBR Chu Feng slowly let go of Jiangji and looked at her blurred eyes, becoming more and more convinced of his suspicion. BRBR he stuffed the white jade porcelain bottle in his hand deep into Jiangji's chest. BRBR this is an exchange of essence and blood. BRBR Jiangji looked at the porcelain vase in her arms, feeling angry and ashamed. BRBR she gritted her teeth, her voice trembling. BRBR in the future, you can never take advantage of me again. BRBR Chu Feng didn't take it seriously. After the first time, there will be countless times. BRBR do you want to go with me next? BRBR Jiangji's cheeks felt hot when she thought of the kiss just now. BRBR I don't want it. BRBR she snorted coldly, and her body turned into a red light and disappeared instantly. BRBR the blood-colored miasma filled the valley. In the center of the valley, a pool of blood surged with dark red water waves. BRBR pool above the water, there are wisps of white mist. BRBR in the center, a red lotus flower is blooming quietly. BRBR the petals are like blood, and there are several round lotus seeds hanging on the lotus pod in the center. BRBR Mengshirshir fell on the rock beside the blood pool. Her clothes had long been corroded by the miasma, and the exposed skin was covered with fine blood stains. BRBR the originally pretty little face was as pale as paper, and the lips were so chapped that they oozed blood, but those eyes were astonishingly bright. BRBR the master is saved. BRBR Mengshirshir carefully picked off the blood lotus flower, wrapped it in a silk handkerchief, and held it tightly in her arms. BRBR however, just as she turned around to leave, a burst of arrogant laughter suddenly came from the entrance of the valley. BRBR it's really hard to find anything without trying to find anything, and it takes no effort at all.